Across the world, anomalous phenomena began to appear, from gigantic mutated creatures to inexplicable geological shifts. At Shenwu High School, a crowd gathered, buzzing over rumors that the school beauty, Chu Qingli, was about to break up with her boyfriend. The gossip suggested the relationship was merely an act of charity, as Chu Qingli had been accepted into a prestigious university while her boyfriend had not. Amidst the whispers, a young man with red eyes named Fang Yi calmly stepped forward to confirm his identity. Facing him, Chu Qingli began to say that she had thought things through and realized their relationship wasn't practical. She argued that puppy love must eventually face reality, and compatibility was the most important factor. Chu Qingli decisively broke up with him, secretly thinking that Fang Yi would never be able to hold on to her. Contrary to expectations, Fang Yi remained silent, leading the surrounding crowd to assume he was too shocked to cope. While Chu Qingli confidently displayed her pride, everyone continued to mock Fang Yi, deeming him unworthy of her. Unexpectedly, Fang Yi simply replied nonchalantly, "Oh, all right," stunning everyone present. His calm reaction left Chu Qingli completely dumbfounded. As Fang Yi turned to leave, Chu Qingli quickly called him back, while the crowd grew suspicious of his attitude. Fang Yi coldly looked back and asked if she had anything else to say. Provoked, Chu Qingli warned him that no matter what tricks he tried, she would not take him back. Fang Yi looked at her condescendingly and replied, "School beauty. Don't overestimate yourself." He flatly stated that he was busy, leaving Chu Qingli speechless and humiliated. The student crowd could not believe Fang Yi's ruthlessness and decisiveness. Under the changing sky, Fang Yi thought to himself that no one here, including Chu Qingli, knew that the impending catastrophe would turn everything into dust. He knew clearly that he was a reborn individual from a disastrous future, and to him, Chu Qingli was merely a stranger from his previous life. Fang Yi strode away, convinced that he had more important things to do, and titles like school beauty were about to become meaningless. A warning echoed, stating that the true crisis was targeting all of humanity on the blue planet. Everything started last night, when the spiritual energy recovery event was detected, signaling a complete transformation of the world through chaotic imagery. Fang Yi woke up, his red eyes reflecting a sense of confusion. He briefly saw a future where social laws were rewritten, ushering in an era of cultivators where strength became the sole standard. Suddenly realizing he was in a strange space, Fang Yi tried to halt the flood of memories. Sitting in an illusory space, he faced a shattering orb of light and asked aloud about its identity. Fang Yi flinched as a blinding stream of light suddenly burst forth from the orb. A system panel appeared, introducing itself as originating from the edge of the universe and capable of autonomously creating cultivation techniques based on what the host touches. Fang Yi's hand cautiously reached toward the mysterious system interface. As he approached, the text on the screen suddenly transformed into an incomprehensible script, confusing Fang Yi even further. Suddenly, a ferocious monster with wide-open jaws and blood-red eyes lunged straight at him. The terrifying monster turned out to have emerged from the system panel itself, attacking Fang Yi while he sat motionless. Fang Yi's eyes widened, filled with horror at the sudden attack. He was forced to re-witness the scene of his death in his previous life, being swallowed by a monster, a fate shared by billions. The nightmare ended, and Fang Yi returned to reality, his entire body drenched in sweat from the shock. He clutched his chest, wondering if the weak person he just saw was his past self. Memories flooded back. He recalled that in his previous life, he was just an ordinary person, struggling to survive the catastrophe. He remembered the collapse of the nation, the suffering of the people, and how he ultimately failed to escape the hordes of mutated monsters. His final memory was the moment he died in despair, his heart filled with rage and a desire for revenge. With a determined gaze, Fang Yi realized that the system had chosen him, sending him back 1 year before the spiritual energy recovery to change everything. Fang Yi asserted that most people were unaware of the impending change. He resolved to exploit every anomaly caused by the spiritual energy to gain an advantage. Just then, the system announced that it was initiating a new assessment. His eyes flared with a brilliant golden light, signifying the activation of his power. The system confirmed successful binding and assigned him the mission to collect cultivation techniques and become a powerful cultivator to save the world. Meanwhile, the outside world began to face an unprecedented crisis, forcing humanity to adapt through its own efforts. Standing among the crowd, Fang Yi realized this was the moment the government began issuing vague warnings. News about strange creatures, once dismissed as absurd, was now being deliberately circulated as a subtle warning. The Xia nation chose a silent approach to keep the populace calm and trusting of the authorities. This method, though slow, was far more effective than the chaos and gunfire occurring in neighboring countries. Fang Yi deduced that if the system could utilize everything, he should go to places where anomalies were occurring. A sudden announcement advising Qingcheng University students to take precautions against sun exposure caught his attention. He immediately checked his phone and saw that the most trending news was the UV index at the university reaching a century-high record. Nearby, students merely scoffed, believing it was paid fake news designed to attract clicks, as that level of heat could be lethal. Fang Yi looked up at the overcast sky above him, which completely contradicted the heat warning. He checked the weather app again. It reported the UV index where he stood was 0, even though Qingcheng University was only a 15-minute drive away. More detailed information online confirmed the temperature at the university's north gate was 74 degrees Celsius, but the comments remained full of skepticism. Fang Yi smirked, thinking that when new anomalies appeared, everyone would just treat them as a joke, and only he knew the truth. He stood up with a determined expression, realizing his first opportunity had arrived. The scene of Qingcheng University's north gate appeared, deserted beneath a blazing red sky and deadly heat. Fang Yi panted under the scorching heat. He sensed that something unusual was happening in this place. While others rushed to find shelter from the sun, Fang Yi noticed strange, luminous particles floating in the air. Curious, he knelt down and reached out toward one of the luminous particles. The moment his finger touched it, the particle immediately flared up into a brilliant sphere of light. Fang Yi was utterly astonished by this sudden reaction. Immediately, the system announced that it had detected Yang attribute fluctuations and began unlocking a new data template, pulling him into an energy vortex. Fang Yi screamed in extreme pain as the powerful energy surged into his body. A massive explosion of golden light erupted from his location, engulfing the entire area. Passers-by were overwhelmed, one person exclaiming in shock that this was the descent of an apostle. Enduring the pain, Fang Yi's hair began to turn white due to the energy overload. Just as he felt he was about to die, the system finally announced that the compilation process was complete and he had received a Yang attribute cultivation technique. The new technique was named the 6 Yang breathing technique, and Fang Yi's appearance had completely changed with white hair and glowing eyes. The scene shifted to the main gate of Qingcheng University on the new student enrollment day. Amidst the crowded stream of new students checking in, offers of assistance rang out. A female student with striking red hair immediately became the center of attention, surrounded by many male students offering invitations. However, she coldly rejected all the offers. In another moment, she indifferently observed a couple happy to be attending the same school, secretly thinking they were truly blinded by love. Suddenly, the red-haired female student turned around, surprised to sense a burst of yellow energy in the distance. Simultaneously, the school's loudspeaker blared an urgent warning about abnormally high temperatures at the north gate, requesting everyone to stay away. Noticing strange things happening everywhere, the red-haired female student decided she had to investigate. Meanwhile, at the north gate of Qingcheng University, a massive explosion of yellow energy erupted from Fang Yi's location. His silhouette appeared amidst the smoke and dust, his physique seemingly larger. Fang Yi exhaled deeply, his eyes glowing golden and energy lines spreading across his face. The system announced that the cultivation technique he created had been unlocked, and he simultaneously received 50 compilation points. He looked at the system panel, wondering about the concept of compilation points. However, Fang Yi decided to put the question aside for now, as they were clearly very useful. As he absorbed the energy, the sky suddenly darkened, and the sun looked like a pale moon. Fang Yi took a deep breath, absorbing all the remaining energy. Immediately afterward, the brilliant sunlight returned, dispelling the darkness. This unusual change caused a stir among everyone at the school, who then rushed toward the north gate. A large crowd gathered in front of the gate, curiously peering inside. Suddenly, the principal of Qingcheng University appeared, along with a group of uniformed people and a mysterious hooded figure. The principal's group moved through the crowd, entering the area still shrouded in smoke and dust. The hooded figure ordered the principal to re-establish the perimeter and completely seal off the north gate area. At the same time, Fang Yi's system announced that he had purified an A-level contaminated zone. He was stunned when the system explained that contaminated zones were areas marked by the Xia nation government, realizing he wasn't the only one involved. Fang Yi's red eyes flashed when he heard the loudspeaker warning unauthorized personnel to evacuate. From a distance, he saw the group in uniform and wondered if they were the military. Realizing the incident had caused too much commotion and attracted attention, Fang Yi decided to leave quickly. Knowing it was time to go, Fang Yi forcefully leaped off the ground, rapidly leaving the scene. Immediately afterward, a mysterious cloaked figure landed exactly in that spot, kicking up a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, the person stood up straight, clad in a blue hooded cloak, silently observing the surroundings. The person bent down, touching the ground with their hand, where scorch marks left by Fang Yi's energy were still visible. Then, this person picked up a small clod of earth for closer inspection. With glowing eyes, the person concluded that these were traces created by a human, and wondered if anyone else had made early contact with spiritual energy. Meanwhile, the principal and the security guards were instructing the crowd of curious students to disperse in an orderly manner. Standing in the crowd, Chu Qingli overheard discussions about spiritual energy and artificial creation, and she couldn't help but be astonished. She suddenly saw a familiar figure leaving in the distance and realized it was Fang Yi. However, Chu Qingli immediately dismissed the thought, telling herself that given Fang Yi's academic standing, he couldn't possibly be at Qingcheng University. At his home, Fang Yi was lying on his bed, his body burning hot, as if on fire. He realized this heat wouldn't dissipate, despite trying everything from cold showers to using the air conditioner. Suffering greatly from the heat, he worried that he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Fang Yi suddenly remembered the commotion at the school and worried that he might have been noticed by someone. He quickly took out his phone to check, and was surprised to see that the #1 trending news was about the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association. He recalled that previously, everyone considered this association's announcements to be a joke by a web novelist. But then, the image of the mysterious cloaked figure at the school flashed in his mind, making Fang Yi start to doubt. He decided to click to see the details of the trending post. The screen displayed detailed information about the cultivation realms, accompanied by the seal of the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association. Although the comments below all claimed it was fake news, Fang Yi speculated that this announcement might have been issued by the Xia nation itself. Fang Yi recalled that in his previous life, struggling to survive as an ordinary person, he had never heard of this association. He figured this might be a signal from the government and decided to try operating the Jin-Yang breathing technique again. Fang Yi sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to focus his mind on cultivation. A stream of warm, yellow energy gradually radiated from his entire body. The power of the energy stream grew stronger, lifting his entire body to hover in mid-air. The first step of the cultivation method was to forge the body into a magical artifact capable of containing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Next, he controlled the massive spiritual energy, shaping it into the form of a mighty divine axe. His eyes flashed with dazzling light as the power within his body reached its peak. Energy erupted, his body was reinforced, and a notification appeared. He had broken through to the Do Shui realm. The system also indicated that he could use his current 50 editing points to forcibly embed data into any object. Fang Yi suddenly remembered the editing points and deduced that the data mentioned was the Jin-Yang breathing technique. He muttered the concept of forcibly embedding into any object and began planning an experiment. He reached out towards the cup on the table, wondering if it would count as a valid object. The system immediately responded, asking if he wanted to consume editing points to embed the Yang attribute into the cup. Fang Yi smiled confidently as he realized the immense potential of this new ability. He understood that this was like reinforcement, capable of turning an ordinary weapon into his own exclusive magical treasure. Fang Yi's gaze then turned toward a short sword used for decoration in the room. He clearly recognized that a specialized weapon carrying supernatural power would be a crucial factor for survival in the future. Therefore, he decided to experiment with this sword first to prepare for the upcoming battle against the mutated monsters. That night, a strange light flashed from his apartment window, signaling a new beginning. A furry creature with sharp claws stealthily moved outside an apartment complex at night. It was a gigantic, pitch-black mutated rabbit, with glowing red eyes, growling fiercely. Inside the quiet building under the moonlight, no one was aware of the lurking danger. In one room, strange noises began to sound. Fang Yi was woken up, letting out a soft groan of annoyance. With his red eyes glowing in the dark, he wondered where that rat came from. He sat up, figuring the sound wasn't coming from inside the house or the pipes. Perhaps just a neighbor's pet. Fang Yi stood up, reassuring himself that thanks to the Do Shui realm, his hearing was sharper, so hearing strange noises was normal. However, as the sound persisted, he began to feel that something was wrong. Suddenly, a dark shadow flashed past the hallway right outside his apartment door. The ferocious rabbit monster lunged straight toward Fang Yi, who was standing stunned. He realized with horror that it was a mutated creature affected by the anomaly. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a mysterious person recalled the terrifying speed of this rabbit during a previous encounter. That person sucked on a lollipop, wearing a pensive expression. With a decisive attitude, that person ordered the continued synchronization of all updated information regarding the target. Immediately afterward, that person launched themselves from the high-rise building, beginning the pursuit. While moving at high speed, that person sensed the spiritual aura of the mutated monster. That person's eyes lit up, having locked onto the target. That person landed softly on another rooftop, without a sound. While running along the wall, that person received a report that the monster had entered the residential area, and the order to pursue at all costs was issued. In the air, the hunter warned their teammate that the monster had completed its evolution after swallowing the night spirit fruit, and would be even stronger. As that person ran along the glass facade of a high-rise building, an office worker inside was startled to see a streak of light flash past. The employee wondered if he was hallucinating from overwork, just as someone urged him about the work progress. The hunter's shadow flashed across the moonlit background on the 65th floor, demonstrating incredible speed and altitude. Meanwhile, in Fang Yi's apartment, the shadow monster let out a savage roar and lunged straight at him. With his eyes flashing gold, Fang Yi calmly leaned back, smoothly dodging its pounce. He realized that his body was different after the breakthrough. He could see through the opponent's movements and react instantly. Pure yang energy converged in Fang Yi's palm, forming a brilliant sun seal. He was slightly surprised that the mutated monster appeared so early, but compared to what he had faced in his previous life, they were nothing. Fang Yi analyzed that this monster was not yet fully evolved. Its strength and frenzy were amplified by the darkness attribute. He decided he must destroy it immediately, or everyone in the building would become its prey. Fang Yi swiftly grabbed the nape of the monster's neck with his glowing hand. The monster tried to bite back in vain as it was completely restrained by Fang Yi. He pinned the beast down, his gaze unwavering. Remembering its weakness, Fang Yi used tremendous force to spin the monster in the air. Then, he slammed it violently into the apartment's glass window. The glass shattered into pieces under the horrific impact force. Fang Yi immediately hurled the monster out of the building through the broken opening. He clenched his fist, compressing a large amount of light energy. A stream of brilliant yellow energy shot out like a laser, piercing straight through the body of the free-falling monster. A powerful beam of light energy pierced through the monster's body in mid-air. However, it roared and tried to grab the energy orb with its claws to absorb it. Fang Yi noticed the monster was trying to devour his power. He thought to himself that with such violent yang attribute power, this rabbit was seeking its own demise. Immediately after, a dazzling explosion of light erupted, completely destroying the shadowy creature. In a nearby apartment, a man was woken by the loud noise and wondered if it was thunder. He then walked to the window and looked out but saw nothing unusual. Meanwhile, Fang Yi gently landed on a tree branch, pondering how the monster had tried to devour his energy like a hungry ghost. He landed in a nearby forest, a golden aura surrounding his body. A small black object, the remnant of the monster, fell to the ground right in front of him. Fang Yi silently observed the object with his glowing golden eyes. Then he decisively stomped his foot, crushing it into pieces. He realized this night attribute creature must have been very hungry to recklessly attack someone bearing the yang attribute that countered it. Fang Yi suddenly envisioned a brutal scene, realizing that the beast mutations had begun, and that without power, everyone would become their prey. With resolute eyes, he determined that he must gather more cultivation techniques to deal with these threats. At the same time, a nimble figure glided through the treetops and landed in the forest. It was the girl with 2 braids who had been pursuing the monster. She was stunned when she saw the devastated scene. Standing in the middle of the forest, she was astonished to realize her target had been eliminated. The girl then sat down, confirmed the target was dead, and decided to retrieve the remaining night attribute. The girl touched the ground, where the energy remnants were still sizzling. She immediately recoiled her hand, feeling an incredibly scorching aura. She realized this pure yang attribute was identical to the one at Qingcheng North Gate, and concluded this couldn't be a coincidence. Immediately, she activated her communication device to report. She informed headquarters that the rabbit had been eliminated by a new pioneer possessing a high-level attribute. From the other end of the line, a voice asked if the cleansing of the contaminated area and the elimination of the rabbit were done by the same person, even though their aura was only at the Ghost Mansion 1-star level. Meanwhile, at headquarters, an employee confirmed there was no record of this person, and suggested the association should seize the opportunity to connect with them. The girl agreed with this assessment while collecting the remaining energy remnants at the scene. She absorbed the yang attribute energy orb into her body. Her superior ordered her to suspend all missions, prioritizing the tracking and recruitment of this pioneer into the Spirit Energy Cultivation Association. That person leisurely unwrapped a lollipop while giving the order. The girl put the lollipop in her mouth and confirmed she understood the mission. However, she said she needed a bubble tea first. Elsewhere, a man in a suit stood amidst a brilliant golden energy flow, wondering who possessed this power. He admitted this was definitely a master and was determined to get acquainted with them. The next morning, Fang Yi woke up, stretching to greet the morning sun. He thought that waking up early was very beneficial for his cultivation. Standing by the window, Fang Yi performed the golden yang breathing technique, absorbing energy from the sun. His eyes flashed with brilliant golden light. Fang Yi was surprised to realize that his cultivation aura had transformed, and that he was showing signs of breaking through so quickly again. Inside Fang Yi, golden energy surged violently. He channeled power into his fist, feeling an explosive surge of energy. In his mind, Fang Yi swung his cultivation axe, noticing it was much lighter, and musing that cultivation was like chopping wood, requiring only perseverance. With a decisive chop, the system announced that he had broken through to the Ghost Mansion 2-star realm. Fang Yi's eyes blazed with golden fire, a testament to the power he had just attained. He clearly felt his body had become tougher than before. Fang Yi attributed this rapid breakthrough speed to the residual energy from his previous advancement. Now that that energy source was depleted, he resolved to cultivate steadily, one step at a time, from now on. After retracting his energy, Fang Yi realized his cultivation caused too great a phenomenon, and that he needed to find a quieter place. Meanwhile, At the association's office, a powerful man suddenly sensed something. This man received a notification about solar energy fluctuations and immediately wondered if it was that person again. Fang Yi had found a secluded spot by a stream, preparing for his next plan. He decided to use the editing point to infuse a sword with the Yang attribute. Fang Yi recalled a previous failed experiment with a dummy prop. It couldn't withstand the Yang attribute power, and he concluded that not every item could be used as a weapon. But this time, he felt that the sword and the power within his body shared the same origin, resonating strongly with each other. After successfully editing, Fang Yi excitedly declared it a good weapon and decided to test its power. He was utterly astonished by the result of the test. A dazzling golden energy explosion enveloped the entire space. Fang Yi landed on the ground, unleashing a fiery sword strike, releasing his full power. Looking at the colossal slash on the mountainside, he breathed a sigh of relief, realizing he had almost caused a forest fire. Realizing the explosion was too loud and might have attracted attention, Fang Yi decided to quickly leave the scene. Meanwhile, a girl with 2 braids rushed over, annoyed that she had missed the event. She lamented that she was late just because she went to redeem a milk tea coupon. Truly an unlucky day. Upon arrival, she was astonished to see that the terrible heat had turned the place into a hot spring. Seeing a destroyed Buddha statue, she sighed, wondering how to deal with this mess. She dejectedly thought that she was about to be reprimanded by the cleanup department and blamed for his appearance. Suddenly, she sensed a residual energy flow in the air. She was completely stunned, unable to believe what she had just discovered. She realized that the perpetrator not only broke through from Ghost Mansion 1-star to 2-star overnight, but also possessed a spirit artifact. She deduced that spirit artifacts were extremely rare. Even the association only had 2, and the manufacturing technology was still incomplete. So how did this person acquire one? She fell silent, trying to sort out the unbelievable information in her mind. Finally, she dismissed her speculations, assuming it was a misunderstanding, and began the cleanup by cooling down the hot spring. Elsewhere, Fang Yi walked and pondered that his weapon now possessed the Yang attribute. He wondered if he could implant other attributes into the weapon later and stack their powers. Suddenly, his phone received a message, and he realized he had forgotten to set his privacy settings. A user named YTUGG72 struck up a conversation, revealing that even those in the national team were only at the Ghost Mansion realm. Fang Yi was secretly astonished to learn that the rank of the regular army was only on par with his own. The stranger continued to message, inviting him to cooperate in exploring a newly formed polluted zone. Fang Yi requested the location to check it out, and immediately received a data file. He opened the file and read the information about the Hei Ronglong polluted zone, which was formed from an underground river that had turned into lava. Via message, Fang Yi confirmed his agreement to join the team. In Xinhai District, a member of the expedition team impatiently asked when Lao Li's friend would arrive. Lao Li reassured them that it would be soon, while another member thanked Xiao Ya for the detailed map that helped them find this place. The one called Xiao Ya replied that she was the one who should thank everyone for coming, and reminded the group to be careful for each other once inside. However, Zhang Xiaoya of the Spirit Energy Cultivation Association was secretly disappointed that she hadn't found any outstanding pioneers to recommend to the association. She pondered that the Cultivation Association was essentially a government agency, and becoming an official member was extremely difficult. Zhang Xiaoya sighed, worried she would have to work overtime if this trip yielded no results. When suddenly, a teammate cheered, recognizing Fang Yi's arrival. Fang Yi appeared, sword in hand, and introduced himself to everyone. Zhang Xiaoya was astonished to realize that he was young but had already reached the Ghost Mansion 2-star realm, and his aura, though powerful, was not oppressive but rather warm. After everyone had gathered, the group proceeded into a mysterious glowing portal inside the cliff. Inside the dark cave, Fang Yi offered to lead, while Zhang Xiaoya would be in charge of illumination. As they delved deeper, the group chatted about the strange things in the cave, and Fang Yi reminded everyone to prioritize safety. Fang Yi secretly appreciated the sincerity of his new teammates, then abruptly stopped. The group had arrived, astonished by a massive river of lava churning before their eyes. Suddenly, Fang Yi charged straight ahead, causing Zhang Xiaoya to frantically shout a warning not to act recklessly. Ignoring the warning, Fang Yi plunged his sword directly into the ground near the lava flow, making his teammates ask in horror if he wanted to die. A violent explosion erupted from Fang Yi's position, throwing the entire team far back in shock. At the same time, Fang Yi's system announced the detection of a world anomaly named Lianhuo, and began analyzing and encoding its power. The analysis results showed that this was manhua, a type of energy with extremely high temperature and explosive properties capable of terrifying destruction. The system continued to introduce a new cultivation technique, Qian Daofa, and Fang Yi gripped the hilt of his glowing sword. Fang Yi, with glowing eyes, realized this new power was perfectly compatible with his Tang Dao. Amidst the fiery vortex, Fang Yi absorbed all the lava energy into his weapon, astonishing the group as they saw him completely unharmed. His sword transformed, blazing with molten lava patterns, imbued with terrifying destructive power. As the flames subsided, Lao Li breathed a sigh of relief, assuming the incident was just a minor accident during Fang Yi's training. The group rejoiced as they felt the spirit qi in the cave had stabilized and was easier to absorb, ready to embark on their cultivation path. Zhang Xiaoya reassured everyone, saying she was only there to gather information and would stand guard for them while they cultivated. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaoya sensed new presences and looked up, realizing that other pioneers were entering. A group of 3 burly men appeared. The red-eyed leader disdainfully declared that this area now belonged to them. Worried for her cultivating teammates, Zhang Xiaoya assessed that they couldn't directly confront these powerful individuals. She stepped forward, politely explaining that her group had arrived first and offered to invite them to cultivate together. The eye-patched leader scoffed, disrespecting her rank, and growled, ordering the entire group to leave immediately. Zhang Xiaoya silently pondered the harsh rule of the new era. The weak do not deserve resources. However, as a member of the association, she was determined to act, but Fang Yi unexpectedly stepped forward to block her. Fang Yi calmly faced the leader, questioning why burly men like them would bully a girl, while his sword began to blaze. Without warning, Fang Yi unleashed a blazing slash towards the newly arrived group. The leader was utterly horrified as he felt the terrifying surge of power from the attack. He yelled, hastily retreating with his companions from the heat and might of the slash. Interrupted by the loud noise, the curly-haired young man awoke from his meditative state, bewildered by what had just happened. Fang Yi recalled the irreparable tragedies of his previous life, which stemmed from the ideology of the strong bullying the weak. He concluded that for this type of person, empty words and moralizing would never work. With a powerful warning slash, Fang Yi ordered the group of people to leave. The blindfolded leader was horrified by the second explosion, wondering what kind of monster Fang Yi was. Terrified, the entire opposing pioneer group quickly turned and fled the cave. Meanwhile, Fang Yi's teammates cheered excitedly, praising the recent slash as awesome. Fang Yi humbly replied that they had gone too far, and suggested the group leave, as they had absorbed enough spiritual energy. Zhang Xiaoya agreed that the spiritual area was depleted, but secretly thought that if that slash had hit her, only charred corpses would remain. She watched Fang Yi's retreating back, affirming that he was definitely a top pioneer with high-tier attributes and excellent talent. Realizing the importance of this, Zhang Xiaoya was determined to report it to the organization immediately. In the office of the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, a female employee listened to a report over the phone and asked Zhang Xiaoya in surprise about the appearance of another high-tier pioneer. The woman quickly calmed down, saying she had recorded it and requested to be notified immediately of any new developments. After that, she ended the call. The woman turned to report to her superior, excitedly asking if they were too lucky to have 2 high-tier pioneers appear consecutively. The leader, however, did not consider it luck. He believed that those with high-tier attributes would soon become the core of power. Feeling the situation was becoming increasingly complicated, the leader tiredly rubbed his forehead and inwardly lamented that he wanted to give up. Returning to the city, Fang Yi, in his new attire, attracted the attention of passers-by. People mistook him for a cosplayer and praised his prop sword and radiant aura. Fang Yi paid no attention to his surroundings, focusing only on his phone. On the screen were numerous news reports about strange phenomena: a golden light in a cave, a dragon flying in the sky, and a mysterious man chasing people away with a saber. He realized it was all caused by his inner fire, admitting he had underestimated the power of 2000 degrees Celsius, and believing old Li or Zhang Xiaoya would never reveal the information. Fang Yi felt that using the Kim-Yang absorption technique at this moment could help him break through. He decided to put everything aside and quickly headed towards the back mountain to cultivate. 5 minutes later, in a secluded area on the mountain behind, nearby, a garden restoration expert named Su Qingying had just finished her work and breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, she startled as she sensed something unusual. Su Qingying looked in astonishment towards a dazzling light source, sensing an overwhelming aura emanating from the mountain. She realized someone was preparing to break through to the third-tier ghostly mansion realm. Pushed back by the powerful energy, she couldn't believe that someone at the ghostly mansion realm could cause such a terrifying disturbance. Su Qingying decided she had to check immediately, suspecting it might be someone she knew. Meanwhile, Fang Yi was circulating his energy, drawing a massive golden energy stream from the sky. He meditated, concentrating intensely as the energy enveloped him and formed a complex hand seal around him. All the spiritual energy converged, forming the shape of a giant divine axe. Witnessing the scene, Su Qingying marveled at the other person's exquisite control of spiritual energy and wondered if they were an ancient monster who had cultivated for hundreds of years. She recalled her painful past when she herself had failed to break through to the second-tier ghostly mansion realm, suffering severe injuries and being bedridden for a week. Su Qingying was even more astonished by the power and refinement in every strand of spiritual energy of this person. Likening them to a descending deity, she commented that this person was not rushing but progressing steadily, with a mindset and profound experience like an ancient hidden master. Suddenly, Su Qingying noticed the divine axe beginning to move eastward. Fang Yi stood up, his entire body erupting with energy as a notification confirmed he had successfully broken through to the second-tier ghostly mansion realm. The shockwave from the breakthrough spread, causing Su Qingying to struggle to resist and gasp for breath. Su Qingying rushed forward with incredible speed amidst the chaotic energy flow. Gasping for breath, she was disappointed to have lost track of her target after only 30 seconds and realized she had been detected. Stopping at the edge of the forest, Su Qingying called out, hoping that the senior she was pursuing had not yet left. Hidden among the bushes, Fang Yi realized this was the person who had been investigating him for the past few days. Su Qingying introduced herself as the captain of the Firefly team from the nation of Xia's Cultivator Association and one of the early pioneers, extending an invitation to Fang Yi. She explained that she had been tracking him for 2 days, hoping he would join the association, and hoped he didn't have a bad impression. Inwardly, Su Qingying worried if she had offended or bothered the other person, telling herself to choose her words carefully and speak gently. Fang Yi coldly asked a single question. Why? Caught off guard, Su Qingying was flustered, wondering whether to tell the truth or not, believing polite words would be ineffective. She explained that the nation of Xia's goal was to gather early pioneers, to guide them along an organized path and protect them. Sitting down, Fang Yi bluntly replied that he did not want to and still could not fully trust her. Su Qingying was stunned, speechless at his blunt refusal. Taking out a card, she introduced herself as Su Qingying, a former athlete before the Spiritual Energy Revival era. Su Qingying held up the Spiritual Energy Association membership card and earnestly pleaded for Fang Yi to trust her. Fang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling as if he remembered something. He recalled Su Qingying being a runner-up in a long-distance running championship. Explaining her extraordinary speed, Fang Yi's expression became pensive as deeper memories flooded back. He recalled the apocalyptic scene in his previous life, when the nation of Xia failed, and all of humanity perished, concluding that now was not the right time to join. Hearing Fang Yi say that he truly remembered her, Su Qingying looked up, hopefully. Fang Yi announced he would consider the offer, and then quickly left. He set a condition that Su Qingying must keep his location secret, inwardly realizing the association dared not offend pioneers. Fang Yi decided he would exploit this weakness of the association. Su Qingying proposed submitting a half-true, half-false report to cover for him, and Fang Yi agreed. As soon as the agreement was made, she quickly called him back, but Fang Yi had already disappeared, leaving Su Qingying alone in the forest. She was annoyed at failing to keep up with Fang Yi again, and had to painstakingly erase his tracks. A voice over the comms advised her to stop thinking and announced that anomalous entities had reappeared. Su Qingying was stunned to hear they had returned. She recalled the strange, bloodthirsty creatures she could never forget. The voice explained that they absorbed energy from polluted areas, mutated into man-eating monsters, and caused deadly disasters. They continuously created new polluted zones, threatening to engulf the entire world if not destroyed. At the same time, a fierce thunderstorm suddenly struck the city. A red alert was issued, the mountain tourist area was closed, and some force sensed someone undergoing a lightning tribulation. Amidst the rain, Fang Yi stood silently, his red eyes glowing. He sensed a massive and furious concentration of lightning energy. He pinpointed the storm's center. It was the mountain where the lightning was converging. Without hesitation, Fang Yi immediately rushed towards the mountain. The system informed Fang Yi of a newly discovered polluted zone at Mount Yuhuang. Mount Yuhuang, a famous tourist spot, was now shrouded in a deathly atmosphere with an unknown pollution level. Fang Yi did not hesitate to venture deep into the dark forest under the pouring rain. His red eyes held a determined glint as he faced the danger ahead. On the mountaintop, a fierce, giant blue lightning bolt struck down. In a conference room, a screen displayed the danger level at Mount Yuhuang soaring with the spiritual energy concentration. A high-ranking leader ordered the mountain to be sealed off immediately and requested Su Qingying to report the situation. During the meeting, Su Qingying announced that the lightning energy had reached an explosive threshold, making access impossible, and the area ranked A. She further warned that the place could soon reach S-class, and even she couldn't get close. Other high-ranking members of the association were extremely worried to hear that even 3-star Ghostly Mansion adventurers had a 100% mortality rate. One member suggested immediately sealing off the mountain's base and deploying continuous patrols to prevent people from climbing. The leader agreed, deciding to completely seal the mountain until the energy concentration decreased. Meanwhile, on the mountain, the lightning energy erupted once again, with terrifying intensity. In the eye of the storm, Fang Yi practiced the golden yang breathing technique, his body emitting a brilliant golden light. He determined that was not enough. He had to reach the summit to absorb the purest lightning energy. Fang Yi reflected on humanity's weakness since the return of spiritual energy, where even small creatures could become threats. He knew that more terrifying enemies would appear in the future, and his current strength was still too little. Remembering his over-reliance on the Tang Dao, Fang Yi resolved to train himself to become stronger than the weapon. Facing the fury of heaven and earth, he declared this lightning energy was the perfect opportunity to temper his body anew. Fang Yi was determined to seek opportunities to become stronger amidst the shifting heavens and earth. He knew that if he didn't, he would only await death under the weight of future calamities. Roaring, Fang Yi used his golden energy to directly confront the massive lightning bolt. With a determined cry, he gritted his teeth, enduring the earth-shattering power of the lightning. His entire body was submerged in the violent torrent of lightning energy. The shock from the impact caused Fang Yi to cough violently, his body struggling to resist. He realized this was an extreme lightning attribute, a wild, divine punishment. This energy was exerting immense pressure, enraged by his intrusion and wanting to force him to kneel. Standing before the stormy sky, Fang Yi wondered how to subdue this power. Maintaining his composure and recalling the system's warning, he realized he had to touch the energy source itself and push the pure yang body tempering technique to its limit. Roaring again, he channeled all the technique's power into the thunderstorm. The collision between the two energies created a terrifying explosion. Fang Yi bit his lip until it bled, trying to endure the horrific backlash. He resolved to endure until he reached the summit, facing death to find a way to live. Another violent surge of energy struck, paralyzing his muscles and carrying clear killing intent. But he did not falter. In that perilous moment, his eyes blazed with brilliant golden light. He began to successfully absorb the chaotic lightning, drawing all its power into his body. While the system was compiling the lightning attribute, a group of people in the city watched in horror at the strange phenomenon, wondering if a deity was undergoing tribulation. In the center of the storm, the system announced that Fang Yi had obtained refined divine lightning power. The system announced Fang Yi had successfully tempered his body with heavenly lightning, rewarding him with 5 compilation points. Amidst the energy storm, Fang Yi realized the lightning attribute not only possessed destructive power, but could also refine the body into an indestructible state. He declared that from now on, lightning would be both his offensive spear and his defensive shield. Fang Yi felt the lightning energy purifying and regenerating his body, strengthening his bones and meridians without any pain. The system presented another option, allowing him to use compilation points to obtain pure judgment power, doubling critical damage against the wicked. After finishing his absorption, Fang Yi wondered if he should infuse the lightning attribute into the Tang Dao. He quickly realized that while it would make the blade harder, it would also break the purity of the inherent sun attribute. Furthermore, Fang Yi worried that infusing too many attributes could damage the weapon. After some thought, he came up with the idea of directly implanting lightning attributes into his right hand. The system displayed a confirmation prompt, and Fang Yi readily agreed with a confident smile. Immediately, powerful electrical currents began to converge and merge into his right arm. The next day, at Yuhuang Peak, a girl with braided hair reported to her superior that the pollution concentration had suddenly decreased, but there was still residual electricity in the air. Army Major Han Li immediately concluded that another seeker had appeared in the area. The girl appeared astonished, asking if it was another seeker and wondering if they had survived. After checking, she reported that all traces had been washed away by the rain and speculated that the person had left safely around 8 p.m. the previous night. Han Li requested an explanation, and the girl recounted the timeline from when the strange phenomenon began until the mountain was sealed off. Han Li added that the thunderstorm at 7 p.m. was completely unexpected, and the energy density had dropped sharply after 8 p.m., contrary to predictions. He deduced that this mysterious individual definitely possessed lightning-based powers and had turned nature's fury into their own opportunity. Han Li believed the person not only survived but was the cause of this change, questioning whether it was accidental or a deliberate plan. Han Li assessed that individuals like the mysterious person were the most dangerous because their affiliations were unknown, and if they became a threat, the disaster would be no less than anomalous phenomena, so they must be found quickly. Meanwhile, at home, Fang Yi suddenly sneezed as Han Li issued an order to hunt down this person at all costs immediately. Standing before his troops, Han Li announced the subject's temporary codename. The individual would be known as the Tyrant. A high-ranking official hoped the association could recruit the Tyrant as soon as possible, while also deciding to keep the information confidential and begin an investigation. On the mountaintop, a silver-haired official informed Han Li that a high-level pioneer was attempting to establish contact, then asked Su Qingying to report. Su Qingying was startled when her name was called. She awkwardly began reporting on the pioneer who had cleared the A-level contaminated zone at the north gate of Qingcheng University, secretly worrying about not revealing any loopholes. Su Qingying fabricated a story that she had tried to make contact but the person's movements were very strange, and based on the corpse of a mutated rabbit, she speculated the person had a yang fire attribute. She reassured herself that she had to mix truth with lies to make the story believable. Han Li pondered the information about the Yang Fire attribute. He thanked Su Qingying for her hard work and praised young talents like her, while she humbly replied that it was her duty. Han Li then told the official that they would issue a false signal about a natural disaster, while also expressing his disapproval of posting soul energy information online. In his home, Fang Yi began circulating his energy. He used the Kim Yang Ho Hup Thwat to dry his white coat. Fang Yi admiringly looked at his clean, pristine coat. Putting on the coat, he noticed a significant difference after infusing it with lightning attributes. Fang Yi observed his right hand, realizing it had undergone a physical transformation due to the lightning attribute, becoming the strongest part of his body. He felt he was once again on the verge of a breakthrough, and was surprised that the overbearing lightning attribute had become so obedient and easy to control. Fang Yi recalled the pain of his first cultivation attempt, while also realizing that the lightning attribute, which specialized in countering anomalies and evil entities, made him eager to test it out. Suddenly, the phone on the table vibrated, drawing his attention. Picking up the phone, Fang Yi wondered about the alert he had received, as he had set up special notifications for important news. He read the news and thought that governments would always issue danger warnings to protect people during these chaotic times. However, for pioneers like himself, such warnings held opportunities, and he was determined to try, regardless of the life-threatening danger. Fang Yi narrowed his eyes as he read the details of the news report on his phone. The official news announced an explosion at a chemical plant, but Fang Yi sensed something suspicious behind this large-scale event. While browsing the comments, he noticed that many local residents felt a chilling and malevolent aura. Fang Yi pondered, feeling that the malevolent aura described by everyone had a strange familiarity. He suddenly remembered. A terrifying memory of a ghastly evil entity from his past life flooded back. In his recollection, he was hiding behind rubble, fearfully watching a colossal monster hunt in the silence. As the monster growled, he realized these were the terrifying anomalous creatures. Returning to the present, Fang Yi was silent with an extremely serious expression. He remembered that these creatures, originally flora and fauna, would gain sentience and anomalous predatory abilities after mutating. Judging this threat to be 100 times greater than the mutated rabbit, Fang Yi decided he had to go out immediately that night to prevent them from evolving. His entire body enveloped in lightning, he declared it was time to test his 300% fatal blow in actual combat. Night fell, and a heavy rain began to pour down on the city. On a deserted road, the traffic light at the intersection was still signaling stop. As soon as the light turned green, a streak of light shot across the road, demonstrating incredible speed. In the pouring rain, the destroyer squad reported to headquarters that they had lost track of Candle Night Anomaly, an entity capable of blending into the darkness. A member of the squad added that this anomaly fed on humans and made a sizzling sound when nearby. Amidst the thunderstorm, the entire squad assessed that the current weather was ideal for the monster to hunt. Their captain firmly declared that they could not let a tragedy occur. In the headquarters control room, an employee confirmed receipt and updated additional data for the Candle Night file. A termination request was issued with priority level B, expected to be resolved within the next 12 hours. Headquarters ordered the destroyer squad to continue the pursuit, but to prioritize safety. A member of the squad responded with a clear, understood, while quickly moving across the rooftops. The captain mused, thinking that 12 hours was too long, but it was the headquarters limit as anomalies were rising everywhere. Unexpectedly, headquarters warned that the area they were approaching had the presence of agents from the Spirit Energy Cultivation Association. They were informed that Su Qingying was nearby and could be dispatched for support. The captain agreed and asked Su Qingying to come quickly. While from another location, Su Qingying wondered why she was so famous. The captain and another member suddenly looked up in astonishment. On another rooftop, Su Qingying and her team appeared, asking defiantly if they had called her in for overtime. A member of the destroyer squad tried to explain the danger of the Candle Night Anomaly, but Su Qingying coldly questioned their attitude. With a sarcastic tone, Su Qingying declared that the Ying squad would withdraw, leaving her teammates both admiring and worried. The captain of the destroyer squad quickly apologized and earnestly begged for her help, emphasizing that the lives of the city's residents depended on her tracking skills. After the plea, the two teams finally stood together on the rooftop, ready to cooperate. Immediately, Su Qingying used her abilities and announced she had located the target. A vortex of energy signaled the appearance of an anomalous entity in the city. The monster was identified as File No. 7, Candle Night, a dark-dwelling, man-eating creature. Su Qingying confirmed she understood the situation and ordered the destroyer squad to commence the operation. On top of a building, Candle Night, with its glowing red eyes, warily surveyed the city. It soon detected the enemy and charged with terrifying speed, forcing the destroyer squad to immediately deploy their formation. A team member moved like lightning to approach the target. The person dashed past the giant monster, amazed by their own speed. Other members of the Destroyer Squad quickly moved to their designated positions in the north, west, and south. With strong determination, the entire team confirmed in unison that they had completed the full encirclement. From above, Su Qingying, with energy wings, swooped down to attack Candle Knight. She delivered a powerful kick directly to the monster's head. The immense impact slammed Candle Knight hard onto the rooftop. Enraged, the monster let out a deafening roar, unleashing a wave of dark energy. Su Qingying immediately shouted, warning everyone to dodge the sonic attack. However, the attack still hit, scattering the team members. A member rushed to support their captain, anxiously asking if he was alright. The captain of the Destroyer Squad got up, thinking to himself that Candle Knight was too powerful and would cause a catastrophe if not stopped. Meanwhile, the monster began to accumulate a terrifying green energy in its throat. It spewed a destructive beam of dark energy down onto the street below. The monster Candle Knight used corrosive dark energy to melt the ground, attempting to dig a tunnel to escape. A team member warned Captain Su Qingying that this was a corrosive attribute they couldn't counter. From above, Su Qingying ordered everyone to maintain the Destroyer Squad's encirclement formation while her team gathered information. A member of the Destroyer Squad took a stance with a knife, their face showing clear tension. Candle Knight's glowing red eyes flickered in the darkness just before it acted. The monster suddenly lunged, using its wings to fling a soldier into the air. The captain of the Destroyer Squad angrily shouted, ordering everyone to pursue and not let it escape. Candle Knight flew down a narrow street between buildings, leaving a trail of green smoke as the Special Forces teams followed closely behind. Standing on a tall building, Su Qingying sensed a surge in spiritual energy concentration and decided to follow it inside alone. Meanwhile, another team led by a girl with braided hair entered an abandoned factory, preparing to scan the energy levels there. The captain of the Destroyer Squad inquired about the association's new equipment, and the girl explained that Candle Knight's energy levels were originally within the safe range. Suddenly, the girl's device blared red, with the anomalous energy index skyrocketing above 80. The entire team looked up in horror, discovering another giant shadow monster lurking on the ceiling, and the girl realized there was more than one anomaly. Both the captain and the girl were stunned by the sudden appearance of the second enemy. Realizing that Candle Knight had deliberately lured them into a trap, the captain of the Destroyer Squad frantically ordered an immediate retreat. The braided girl immediately acted, firing a guided energy arrow towards the main entrance so the team could break through the encirclement. Elsewhere in the factory, Su Qingying suddenly cried out in pain. She collapsed to the floor, realizing all 5 of her senses had been invaded by the toxic gas from the shadow monster. Completely isolated, Su Qingying desperately called for her teammates but received no response. Su Qingying realized Candle Knight had lured them into the territory of another anomaly, a giant python. Before her, the python monster appeared, and she understood that this black mist was poisonous, causing them to be poisoned as soon as they entered. She felt the toxic gas paralyzing her senses and draining her spiritual energy, making her fear she would soon become a corpse. Completely helpless, Su Qingying collapsed and wondered if this was the end. Suddenly, a blinding light shone down from a hole in the ceiling. Su Qingying weakly opened her eyes and looked up towards the source of the light. A massive explosion shook the entire factory as the ceiling was blown apart. Her eyes reflected the light from above as a figure appeared. Fang Yi leaped down from the hole, landing gently on the ground. He landed, facing the python, and confirming it was a dark attribute anomaly. The python lunged to attack, but Fang Yi agilely dodged its strike. Just then, Candle Knight suddenly emerged from the shadows and bit his shoulder, making Fang Yi realize there were 2 anomalies. He calmly deduced that one monster was used as bait, and the other was for the harvest, explaining the dense spiritual energy flow here. Fang Yi smirked in challenge, and then his entire body flashed with purple lightning bolts. A powerful surge of lightning was unleashed, blasting Candle Knight far away. He then turned to the python, declared it was its turn, and enveloped his sword in blazing flames. The monster shrieked in pain as Fang Yi's blazing blade struck its body. Fang Yi spun around, delivering a powerful slash that created a massive streak of fire. He raised his fiery sword, commanding the monster to look at his blade. The gigantic snake monster lunged forward, its emerald eyes glowing maliciously. Fang Yi, in his enhanced state, charged straight toward the python's head with his lightning sword. His fiery blade sliced through, causing the monster's dark body to disintegrate. After the attack, Fang Yi suddenly realized something was wrong. Astonishingly, the python's severed head was regenerating itself. It had anticipated the next attack and fully regenerated. But suddenly, a powerful bolt of lightning struck its head from the inside. The monster roared in agony as the electrical current spread throughout its body. Fang Yi merely sneered at the situation. He had sensed it beforehand, realizing that this snake's dark aura was even denser than Candle Knight's. He revealed that he had used his sword to channel the lightning power inside the snake's body. He compared Candle Knight to a weak anomaly, while this snake was completely different. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain and was astonished to find snake scales growing on his shoulder. He assessed that this was a cunning, highly intelligent mutation capable of deadly sneak attacks. Its venom caused paralysis, silently killing victims without a trace. However, thanks to the golden yang qi nurturing art, he could still feel the pain, a sign that his body was resisting. He explained that the yang fire attribute could detoxify, the golden yang art protected and healed, and the lightning attribute purified. He deduced that for others, this venom would be nearly incurable, and the snake must have relied on ambush hunting to evolve. Furthermore, when combined with Candle Knight, they formed a perfect trap to hunt even the most elite pioneers. Fang Yi thought that no matter how cunning the monster was, it would eventually be burned to ashes. He was confident that his current combat ability was already quite high among pioneers. Standing before the flames, he remained silent for a moment. As he turned to leave, he suddenly stopped. He sensed something unusual. His eyes narrowed as he realized someone was still here. Hearing a cough, Fang Yi looked toward the smoke and saw a figure. It was Su Qingying, sitting amidst the smoke, looking extremely exhausted. He recognized the girl from the association along with her 2 unconscious teammates and told her she didn't need to pretend anymore. Fang Yi approached, mocking Su Qingying's act of playing dead. Su Qingying covered her face in embarrassment, explaining that she woke up because of the smell, not because she was pretending. Fang Yi praised her strength for still having enough energy to defend herself while her teammates had collapsed, which flustered her. Su Qingying secretly admitted that she had held back some spiritual energy and was astonished that he had noticed. While still confused about how Fang Yi had defeated the 2 monsters, she was asked by him to promise to keep his identity a secret. Fang Yi said it was late and he would leave first, making Su Qingying realize he had become friendlier. She frantically called out to him when she saw him preparing to leave. However, Fang Yi leaped through a hole in the ceiling, saying he would leave everything to her. He quickly moved across the rooftop, leaving the scene. After leaving, Fang Yi secretly thought it was fortunate that Su Qingying hadn't tried to absorb the dark attribute and recalled its chilling, terrifying sensation. While departing, Fang Yi speculated about the failed absorption of the dark energy and decided he would revisit the matter later. At the scene, Su Qingying regretted not getting a clear look at her savior's face, while also realizing he remained wary of the association. A moment later, she woke up the unconscious destroyer squad captain. The captain slowly opened his eyes, still dazed from the battle. As soon as he woke up, he frantically shouted that the entire squad had been ambushed. However, looking around, the group only saw themselves standing on the gigantic skeleton of a monster. The captain, astonished, asked about the overwhelming yang energy source, and Su Qingying explained that a pioneer had come to help. She secretly thought that person was the high-level target she had been assigned to monitor. Su Qingying continued to explain that she had been tracked in return by the opponent, while a team member secretly shuddered at the thought of someone defeating 2 anomalies alone. The captain then asked about Candle Knight's corpse and prepared to clean up the remnants for the report. He began using his ability to collect what remained on the ground. Suddenly, a fierce electrical surge from Fang Yi's residual energy erupted from the ground. The captain was pushed back by the force of the electrical surge in astonishment. He realized the intense electrical charge covering Candle Knight's skeleton and questioned Su Qingying about the other person's attributes. Standing before the electrified corpse, the captain speculated that perhaps 2 different high-level pioneers had intervened. Su Qingying immediately denied, stating there was only one person, and wondering in surprise if he possessed both extreme attributes. She realized a dual attribute pioneer was almost unheard of. An image of a snake skeleton burned by a yang fire practitioner flashed in her mind. Then came the image of Candle Knight's skeleton destroyed by a thunder tyrant, making her wonder what kind of monster Fang Yi truly was. Outside the factory, the association's support team arrived, originally dispatched to collect the bodies of Su Qingying's team. However, the members of the Ying team were overjoyed to see their captain still alive. Meanwhile, the association's scout team had changed their mission, beginning to scan the residual energy to reconstruct the battle. They carefully collected data from the colossal skeleton of the anomaly to report back to their superiors. A scout team member reported to both captains that all traces pointed to a single individual having eliminated both anomalies. The destroyer squad captain and Su Qingying were both stunned to hear the confirmation that there was a 99% chance the perpetrator was one person. The destroyer squad members were astonished, acknowledging the power of this high-level dual-attribute pioneer, realizing the immense gap in strength. Realizing that the surveillance target had appeared with new data, Su Qingying immediately made contact to report to her superiors. She reported that both assigned targets, the Tyrant anomaly and the anomaly at Qingcheng University's North Gate, had been dealt with. On the other end of the line, a high-ranking association leader understood the situation and ordered Su Qingying to suspend her mission. The leader explained that since that person had saved her and cleared the area, he was not an enemy, and asked her to avoid contact to leave a good impression. Su Qingying agreed but still presented her hypothesis about the incident that occurred earlier on the mountain. The leader curiously asked what that hypothesis was. Su Qingying revealed that she had once sensed an extremely powerful aura, and suspected that person possessed a spirit weapon, which now seemed plausible. The leader was astonished by the information, asking again if that person truly had a spirit weapon. He argued that it would be difficult without external assistance, and the scout team also found no traces of a third energy attribute. Su Qingying countered, clarifying that the spirit weapon aura she sensed carried the yang attribute. The leader suddenly realized that if the weapon's attribute came directly from that person's own yang energy, then theoretically, a cultivator at the spirit creation realm could absolutely achieve it on their own. Su Qingying was stunned upon hearing spirit creation realm, an extremely rare level worldwide. The association leader stated that, if that person possessed a third attribute, the balance within the pioneer community would be completely shattered. He explained that, according to research, different attributes would conflict within the human body, and so far, no pioneer had been confirmed to possess 3 attributes. Meanwhile, Fang Yi was showering, and the leader's thoughts echoed, hoping such a powerful pioneer would never become an enemy of humanity. After showering, Fang Yi mused that there was less than a year until the official revival of spiritual energy, while anomalies had already begun to act aggressively. He looked at his hand, radiating golden energy, knowing that many pioneers like him had begun their own cultivation paths. Recalling the pioneers he had met at the underground river, he understood that once the door between the physical body and the spiritual world was opened, humans would become more sensitive to the changes in heaven and earth. As he picked up his jacket, he speculated that most self-cultivating pioneers had already reached the 1-star Ghost Axe realm. He believed that the Xia government approaching free pioneers like himself was a sign that both sides were in a phase of peaceful mutual exploration. As he put on his turtleneck, he noticed that, although the anomalies were still under control, and there were no serious conflicts among pioneers, the government's Spirit Energy Cultivation Association had not yet been made public. Throughout the city, hidden warnings appeared, indicating the government's efforts to protect humanity and issue early alerts. Fang Yi, now dressed in black, stood alone, and realized the problem lay precisely here. He envisioned a city engulfed in flames, feeling that the government lacked the confidence to usher in a comprehensive cultivation era, fearing that once public, the information would sow chaos and death. Standing amidst illusions of monsters and skulls, he worried that the development of anomalies was exceeding his expectations. Fang Yi analyzed the information about the mutated creature he had faced, identifying it as a dark attribute entity, a natural enemy of pioneers, and that they could even cooperate to set traps for prey. However, he knew that these anomalies still couldn't compare to the true dark-type anomalies he had once seen, entities capable of destroying an entire nation. He recalled the recent battle, convinced that if he hadn't been watching them, Su Qingying's team would not have survived the colossal monster. He pondered the dark attribute, which the system noted as temporarily unabsorbable, wondering if it held the key to turning the tide. Fang Yi unleashed his power, confident that with the Golden Yang Earth Absorption Art, Lightning Attribute, and Scarlet Flame Blade Technique, along with his current 3-star Ghost Axe realm, very few pioneers could be his match. Yet, despite possessing immense power, he still felt it wasn't enough. His train of thought was abruptly cut short by the ringing of his phone, the screen displaying an incoming call from his aunt. Fang Yi was surprised to receive a call from his aunt. On the other end, his aunt kindly inquired about his health, and asked if her daughter, his cousin, could stay with him for a few days as she was coming to the city for her studies. Fang Yi asked about his cousin in surprise, only a faint image appearing in his mind. He tried to recall and realized he only knew his cousin as someone studious. He couldn't even remember her face. Nevertheless, Fang Yi happily agreed, and asked his aunt when his cousin would arrive. Meanwhile, elsewhere, his cousin was typing on a keyboard when she heard her mother announce over the phone that she would personally give her the address. That person, Feng Heihu, was sitting in front of her computer in bare-eared pajamas, listening to the phone call between her mother and her cousin, knowing she would arrive tomorrow afternoon. On the computer screen, Feng Heiju had just finished a conversation in a martial arts chat group, announcing that she would be staying at her cousin's house and had to play her role well. After ending the call with her mother, she hung up. Immediately after, Feng Heiju noticed news about Hua Town, dubbed Death Town due to mysterious disappearances. Her mother entered the room, asking if she had finished packing, startling Feng Heiju. Feng Heiju suggested staying at a hotel to avoid bothering her cousin, but her mother firmly refused, concerned for her daughter's safety. The mother carefully instructed her daughter to be well-behaved and help with chores while staying there. When the room door closed, Feng Heiju breathed a sigh of relief. She pushed up her glasses, her eyes filled with determination, and told herself that no matter what her cousin was like, he couldn't be harder to deal with than an anomaly. The next day, in a bustling city, Feng Heiju, in activewear, pulled her suitcase down the street. She stopped when the map app on her phone indicated she had arrived at the correct address. Standing before a large building, Feng Heiju looked up, confirming this was the place she needed to be. Just then, She was surprised to see Fang Yi stepping out of the building and hesitantly called out to him. Fang Yi looked at the girl in front of him and asked if she was Lin Yi, secretly thinking he didn't recognize his cousin at all. Feng Heiju just silently looked back at him. Inside the apartment, Fang Yi asked if his cousin was here for summer camp and told her to call if she needed anything. He gave Feng Heiju a spare key and said he would go back to his room across the hall. As Fang Yi turned away, Feng Heiju secretly thought her cousin seemed easygoing and wouldn't interfere with her business. However, Fang Yi secretly observed from afar, recalling that he had sensed a strange spiritual energy from her and wondered if she had also become a pioneer. His suspicion grew as he envisioned her energy, realizing that the summer camp reason might just be an excuse. Unaware, Feng Heiju sat down and started using her phone. In a chat group, she discussed high-level pioneers, then told herself to temporarily stop cultivating to avoid being discovered by her cousin. 3 days later, living together began to cause annoyance. Fang Yi's cultivation was constantly interrupted, such as when Feng Heiju had just finished bathing. Even when meditating in his room, he worried that the brilliant glow from his golden yang earth absorption art would be discovered. But the most terrifying thing for him was his cousin's thoughtfulness when she cheerfully called him out to eat the lavish dinner she had prepared herself. At the dining table, Fang Yi offered to wash the dishes, but Feng Heiju politely refused, making him secretly remark that she was too perfect to the point of being obsessive. Nevertheless, Fang Yi's suspicion did not vanish. He decided to let her show her thoughtfulness, seeing it as part of a plan to make her drop her guard. Fang Yi believed that only by doing so could he uncover her true identity. Suddenly, Feng Heiju's phone on the table vibrated and lit up. Both were startled, and Fang Yi spoke up, asking if her friend was calling. He stood up, said he would let them talk, and returned to his room. Left alone, Feng Heiju picked up her phone with a thoughtful expression. Feng Heiju was on the phone, confirming a world anomaly that would occur at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Outside, Fang Yi hovered and overheard that the meeting location was Hua Town, a place only an hour's drive away. With a pensive expression, Fang Yi processed the information he had just heard. He used his abilities, saw the powerful spiritual energy emanating from his cousin, and confirmed that she was also a pioneer. Fang Yi secretly assessed Feng Heiju's strength, astonished to learn that she had reached the 2-star Ghost Axe realm despite still being a student. He deduced that the summer camp trip was just a cover. Her true purpose was the upcoming world anomaly. Fang Yi clenched his fist, seeing this as a great opportunity to acquire new techniques and enhance his power. He wondered what attribute would appear in Hua Town this time. With high determination, Fang Yi rushed off, telling himself that no matter what it was, it would belong to him. In her room, Feng Heiju suddenly opened her eyes, feeling that something strange had just happened. She looked out the window, wondering suspiciously if she had just been watched by someone. The next day, Hua Town appeared, a peaceful scene nestled among the mountains. At the town entrance, a cheerful female voice called out Yi Yi's name. A girl wearing a visor put her arm around Feng Heiju and curiously asked about her cousin. Feng Heiju described Fang Yi as just a good person with an ordinary appearance. Definitely not the hot boy type her friend liked. Her friend looked disappointed, while a charming red-haired woman standing nearby just smiled with amusement. The red-haired woman, Yi Yi, reminded them that she herself had once claimed to be ordinary, despite actually being a captivating 81-year-old woman. When the whole group had gathered, Yi Yi declared it was time for them to get down to business. A group member asked about an absent person, and Yi Yi confirmed that their group still only had 6 people. Yi Yi said, that person was always so mysterious, and the group was used to it, then led everyone on their way. From a distance, Fang Yi watched his cousin's group entering the town. He remarked that his cousin's team seemed quite low-key. Fang Yi calculated that the weakest person was at the 2-star Ghost Axe realm, another had reached 3-star, and there was still another powerful member absent. He shifted his attention to the mountain above the town. Suddenly, a gigantic green vine descended from the sky, which Fang Yi likened to the beanstalk in a fairy tale. He analyzed that this was a floating world anomaly, a contradictory existence beyond ordinary comprehension. Meanwhile, Yi Yi's group had reached the foot of the mountain and began to enter the dangerous area. Yi Yi exclaimed in astonishment as she witnessed the colossal anomaly firsthand. Another group member also couldn't believe its grandeur. Suddenly, a girl in the group hesitated and suggested everyone stop, making Feng Heiju wonder why. That person explained that upon seeing the vine, a cold and uneasy feeling enveloped her. She asked the group about rumors on the internal forum related to this anomaly. She recounted that a pioneer team much stronger than them had tried to approach the vine during its previous appearance. But after arriving here, all of them disappeared, evidenced by the skeletons entangled in the roots. Overwhelmed with fear, she believed their entire group would meet a similar fate. A terrifying vision appeared, where they would die dismembered. She admitted her instinctive fear, realizing this was a high-level and extremely powerful anomaly. In tears, the girl declared she wasn't ready to die and wanted to retreat. Feng Heiju immediately reassured her, confirming that everyone in the group felt the danger. She explained that the uneasy feeling came from desolation, a sense as if life had withered, emanating from the vine itself. Feng Heizhu grabbed her trembling friend's hand, cutting off her panicked words. With a determined expression, Feng Heizhu declared that this was the path of martial arts pioneers. From a distant cliff, Fang Yi observed and sensed the heavy, suffocating death energy emanating from the giant vine anomaly. He secretly thought that the other group was truly brave to decide to cultivate in such a place. Fang Yi analyzed that despite being a plant, this vine had no life force, resembling a disguised dead object, devoid of spiritual energy. Meanwhile, Feng Heizhu gathered the group, declaring they didn't have much time to hesitate, and Yi suggested they should only sense the energy in the surrounding area. Following Feng Heizhu's instructions, the group spread out to meditate, advised to always stay within each other's sight. Feng Heizhu believed this approach would be relatively safe for everyone. Immediately after, she sat cross-legged on a tree branch, entering a meditative state within a blue energy sphere. Witnessing this, Fang Yi nodded in approval, thinking his cousin had calculated the optimal range, neither reckless nor timid. Suddenly, the energy around Feng Heizhu became intense, and blue lightning bolts began to flash. Fang Yi turned back in surprise, wondering if she was about to break through. Nearing the 3-star realm, the energy exploded violently, and Yi and Feng Heizhu's friend watched in astonishment as she successfully broke through to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. The powerful energy fluctuation awakened the anomaly, causing its giant roots to begin glowing and writhing. The disheveled-haired young man was the first to notice the change, looking back at the vine in panic. He shouted a warning that the vine was moving towards them, while Yi couldn't believe it had sensed them from such a distance. Immediately, tree roots burst from the ground, coiling around the group members amidst desperate screams. Yi realized that Feng Heizhu's breakthrough had caused too great a disturbance, and warned everyone not to let themselves be entangled, or they would be corroded by the death energy. The roots lunged towards Feng Heizhu, who was still immersed in her breakthrough state, and began to crack her protective energy barrier. Yi tried to pull Feng Heizhu's friend away to flee, but the girl resolutely refused to abandon her friend, making Yi angrily snap that she wouldn't die for someone else's choice. The disheveled-haired young man tried to convince Yi that life and death are fated. They were just acquaintances, and shouldn't die with Feng Heizhu. Immediately after, he was struck away by a root. Despite the danger, Yi angrily shouted that she wouldn't abandon her teammates. From above, Fang Yi observed the chaotic scene, secretly thinking that his cousin probably didn't even realize she was in danger. He anxiously watched the roots tighten around Feng Heizhu's energy barrier, realizing that the anomaly's power was too great for his current strength, but time was running out. Recalling his promise to his aunt, Fang Yi tightened his grip on his weapon, determined that a promise made could not be broken. Meanwhile, Yi kicked and fought against the attacking roots, while the bespectacled young man had already been captured behind her. However, her efforts were futile, as she was quickly seized and tightly bound by countless other roots. A powerful root struck Feng Heizhu's barrier directly, shattering it. At that very moment, Fang Yi plunged down from the cliff, the sword in his hand blazing with brilliant golden light. Feng Heizhu's friend screamed Yi's name in horror as she watched her being squeezed by the roots until she coughed up blood. A stream of golden energy in the shape of a fire phoenix shot out, heading straight for the mass of roots. The massive energy explosion engulfed the entire area, incinerating the roots. Fang Yi landed on the ground as the roots began to retreat, causing the two conscious group members to exclaim in astonishment. The pure golden light continued to spread, forcing the vine anomaly to retract. Fang Yi's shadow darted like lightning amidst the dazzling halo. The disheveled-haired young man wondered if this was another pioneer, while Yi recognized it as the purest yang attribute, the only thing that could suppress the vine. He couldn't believe his eyes, secretly thinking that he himself was an outstanding talent, having reached the 3-star Ghost Axe realm at a speed few others in the country could match. He thought Yi's talent was also on par with his, yet both were completely helpless against this anomaly. Looking up at Fang Yi's figure on the mountaintop, he felt his confidence crushed, wondering if they were merely faint stars beneath a brilliant moon. While the survivors were still astonished, Fang Yi's system detected the extreme wood attribute and began automatic compilation. The system quickly completed, creating a new cultivation method called Endless Vitality, capable of absorbing life force to heal injuries. Immediately after, the system continued the process of extracting attributes from the remnants of the vine anomaly. Fang Yi closed his eyes, absorbed the energy, and successfully extracted the desolation attribute, a power capable of corroding life. When he opened his eyes, they had turned a brilliant green, reflecting the newly absorbed attribute. Standing amidst the withered vines, Fang Yi realized this attribute was why the anomaly could only thrive in barren lands. He pondered the deadly power of the desolation attribute, an overbearing ability that could forcibly seize life force over a vast area. Just then, a voice rang out from behind, thanking the brother for saving the entire group. Yi stepped forward, expressing deep gratitude on everyone's behalf, and asking how they could repay this kindness. Fang Yi coldly refused, said goodbye, and secretly thought that he was the one who benefited from this encounter. As his figure faded, he decided that from now on, he would have to keep a closer eye on his cousin after witnessing the conflicts within her group. He quickly departed, inwardly assessing that such a disorganized team would hardly survive the major upheavals to come. Feng Heju's friend was confused about what to do, then was mocked by the disheveled-haired young man for her earlier hesitation. The disheveled-haired young man thought the best option now was to stay with the group, as Yi Yi had broken through to Tier 3. Just then, Feng Heju's eyes, meditating within the energy sphere, suddenly opened, emitting a blue light. She immediately sprang up, causing everyone to cheer joyfully, while the disheveled-haired young man was still preoccupied with the mysterious man. Feng Heju looked at her unconscious teammates on the ground and asked in shock what had happened. She quickly sensed the remnants of an extremely powerful yang attribute left on a tree trunk, radiating intense heat. The disheveled-haired young man offered to explain everything to her, recounting the events of the recent battle. After listening, Feng Heju was completely shocked, unable to believe that someone as monstrously strong truly existed. The disheveled-haired young man recounted that the vine, which they couldn't do anything about, was repelled by that person with just a single slash. He added that the vine had now completely retracted into the sky, no longer daring to approach them. Arriving back at the apartment, Feng Heju opened the door, thinking about that person's intimidating presence, which kept the anomaly docile even after he had left. She was surprised to find Feng Yi already inside, and he asked why she was back. Feng Yi remarked that she looked pale. Feng Heju quickly made an excuse, saying she was just a little tired from studying. Feng Yi told her to rest and offered to order takeout, which she agreed to before heading to her room. As soon as she entered her room, Feng Heju felt utterly exhausted, thinking to herself that breaking through was more tiring than staying awake for a month. Lying stretched out on her bed, she pondered the fate of the pioneers and the changing world. Meanwhile, Feng Yi walked alone, knowing that a normal life was no longer for him. Back in her room, Feng Heju was surprised to see a new message in the group chat. Someone named Garan spoke up for the first time, asking everyone to report any further traces of that powerful individual. Garan's message was clearly displayed on the phone screen. Feng Heju immediately messaged back, asking Garan if the person who saved them was the famous figure from the Hei Hei Ronglong event. An image appeared, depicting a high-level Yang attribute powerhouse, whom no pioneer of the same rank dared to confront. That night, Feng Yi rode his bike alone, thinking that leaving Xiaolu at the hospital was also a good option. He continued cycling on the deserted road, contemplating the next evolutionary direction for the desolation attribute related to plants. He realized its essence was corrosion, an evil attribute that could lead to dire consequences if used by himself. Furthermore, it could conflict with the lightning attribute he currently possessed. Feng Yi concluded that the best way was to find a host similar to the demonic vine, and he smiled, knowing where to go. Under the moonlight, Feng Yi cycled alone on a deserted mountain road. He stopped at the entrance of the city forest park, preparing for his plan. Amidst a bed of flowers, Feng Yi thought that he needed to find a plant species that could resonate most strongly with spiritual energy to serve as a host. He closed his eyes, concentrating on releasing his energy into the surroundings. A stream of green spiritual energy spread throughout the forest, and he realized this was the plant's reaction. Feeling it wasn't enough, Feng Yi decided to release an even greater amount of spiritual energy. Suddenly, he sensed a peculiar reaction and opened his eyes in surprise. He discovered a tiny wildflower glowing brightly and wondered if this was what he was looking for. Feng Yi curiously brought his finger closer to that special flower. As his finger touched it, the flower immediately closed, seemingly absorbing energy. Immediately after, it bloomed radiantly again, full of vitality. He remarked that even though it was just a wildflower, it was highly spiritual, acting like a puppy when exposed to spiritual energy. The flower affectionately rubbed against his hand, showing intimacy. Smiling with satisfaction, Feng Yi decided that this strong reaction made it the perfect host for implanting the desolation attribute. He declared that he had chosen it and prepared to begin the process, causing a vortex of energy to envelop them both. A system notification appeared, and Feng Yi confirmed the forced implantation of the attribute into the flower. Instantly, a colossal pillar of energy descended from the sky, aimed directly at the flower. Feng Yi seriously observed the transformation process unfolding. The wildflower began to change its form, transforming into a new blossom that resembled a lotus. The process complete, the flower had transformed, and a patch of grass beneath its base withered, demonstrating the power of the desolation attribute. Feng Yi stood amidst the barren land, feeling a terrifying surge of desolation power, like the hand of a devil. He was astonished that in just 3 seconds, it had almost completely drained the life force from an entire belt of the city forest, and was still frantically spreading. The flower glowed, then shrank, seemingly having stabilized its energy. Fearing it would attract the spiritual energy association if it continued, Feng Yi decided to pluck the flower from the ground. On his way, He realized he was in the city center, and the association would surely notice, also recalling seeing more surveillance cameras and the park being strangely deserted. Fang Yi was surprised to see the flower still absorbing energy, even after being uprooted. He smiled, remarking that the absorption rate had slowed, and it was astonishing that its spirituality hadn't weakened at all, despite having been just an ordinary wildflower before. He speculated that being granted the attribute had broken some evolutionary shackles, but then a warning light flashed in the distance. Realizing he might have activated the surveillance system, Fang Yi decided it was time to leave and quickly leaped away. Meanwhile, at the Bureau of Spiritual Plant Restoration Research, blaring alarms sounded about abnormal values exceeding limits, causing the staff to panic. An order was issued, requiring everyone to wear armbands, enter the park, and immediately cordon it off, preventing outsiders from entering. A wearable device displayed the number 30 inches glowing red, signaling the level of danger. An investigation team in protective gear entered the forest, and a member remarked that this index of 30 was truly terrifying compared to previous anomalies. Another person used a scanner and added that when spiritual energy anomalies exceeded 10, the military would take over, and this park had never surpassed that threshold. An investigation team member reported that humidity, ground temperature, and sunlight were all normal, but it seemed all the plants had been drained of life in mere seconds. Another member wondered what kind of attribute could cause this, and suggested proceeding to the center to investigate. The elderly team leader suddenly shouted, ordering them not to get any closer. He sternly warned them not to touch anything, as this was precisely the desolation attribute. The team leader asked if they remembered the vine that descended from the sky. The two remaining members realized in shock that it was the demonic vine, which had been classified as a Class A mutation. The captain explained that the demonic vine was ranked A because it possessed the desolation attribute, capable of draining the life force from everything around it. A team member realized in horror that they had just narrowly escaped death. This person asked again, and the captain confirmed that anything that entered the dead zone created by desolation plants would have its life force devoured. He also recounted a giant, decaying desolation tree in Xia country that had polluted an entire forest. The captain concluded that the desolation attribute was the strongest type, and now a new source had appeared. Suddenly, a hand was placed on his shoulder, and a voice stated that the situation was understood. Major Han Li, along with a light blue braided girl, unexpectedly appeared, astonishing the investigation team. Immediately after, Han Li ordered all researchers to put on protective gear and follow his team into the contaminated zone. The young researchers hastily prepared their equipment with worried expressions. A military boot stomped heavily onto the barren ground, signaling the start of the investigation. The mixed team entered the dead forest, and the researchers reported that no desolation source was detected, and the aura concentration was rapidly decreasing. Han Li ordered an investigation, and the braided-haired girl immediately complied. Both simultaneously channeled their power, punched the ground, and unleashed powerful energy currents. Their energy spread across the ground, converging at a single point. Both Han Li and the girl were stunned to realize that the anomaly's source had been dug up by someone. The investigation captain couldn't believe it, while Han Li remarked that whoever could do this had a very suspicious identity. The girl reported that there were no traces of high-level spiritual energy, but big data had pointed to a suspect whose actions matched both incidents. On the tablet screen, the person's profile appeared, named Fang Yi. Han Li listened thoughtfully, as he was informed that Fang Yi was very likely the pioneer they had encountered before, and how to handle it would be up to the association. The braided-haired girl stood alone in the desolate forest, confirming she understood the order. 2 hours later, Fang Yi brought the anomalous flower home. He happily placed it in a pot, seeing it as a powerful new assistant with the desolation attribute capable of self-cultivation. Fang Yi believed that the flower's special power would be useful in combat, and its ordinary appearance was the most perfect camouflage. He told himself that possessing hidden trump cards was even more important than pure strength. Suddenly, his phone rang, showing the caller as next-door old Wang. Fang Yi was surprised to realize it was his childhood friend who had joined the army 3 years ago. He recalled Wang Liang, his deskmate and neighbor, who had suddenly left to join the army instead of continuing high school. Fang Yi answered the call and immediately invited his friend out for a drink. On the other end, Wang Liang happily agreed, arranging to meet at their old usual spot. He also excitedly said that he had a shocking secret to tell Fang Yi. After hanging up, Wang Liang placed his phone on the table. It turned out, he was reporting to a red-haired female officer, with the braided-haired girl beside her. Wang Liang requested that Fang Yi's safety be ensured if he wasn't the target. The female officer showed her authority by pressing her hand firmly onto the table, causing it to crack slightly. She coldly ordered Wang Liang to simply complete his mission, and said that if Fang Yi was innocent, she would give him some advice. Later, at a bar, Fang Yi and Wang Liang clinked glasses. Fang Yi secretly thought that the army had made his once foolish friend much more mature. Wang Liang confided about his experiences during 3 years in the military, while Fang Yi recounted that he had entered a vocational college. Fang Yi suddenly realized that in his previous life, he had never had the chance to meet Wang Liang again amidst the chaotic times. He believed that Wang Liang, as a soldier, had probably sacrificed himself in an unknown battle, and wondered if this time he could change his friend's future. The conversation suddenly turned serious when Wang Liang directly asked Fang Yi if he had encountered anything strange recently, like monsters or zombies. Fang Yi secretly analyzed, suspecting that Wang Liang's questioning was a test. He then directly asked his friend what he really meant. Wang Liang seriously warned that in the near future, all values like diplomas and wealth would become meaningless when the world order was overturned. Fang Yi listened in silence, processing the shocking information. He quickly deduced that he was already on the military's watch list, and Wang Liang had been sent to probe him. Wang Liang instructed Fang Yi to keep what he had just said a secret to ensure his safety. Fang Yi realized that even while on a mission, Wang Liang still risked violating discipline to warn him about the anomalies. Suddenly, Wang Liang's phone rang loudly. He received an urgent summons and had to be at the target location within 10 minutes. Wang Liang hastily apologized and ran off, saying the mission was urgent and he couldn't see his friend off. Fang Yi immediately called out to him, frankly asking if the mission was related to spiritual energy recovery, and offered to go along. Wang Liang turned back, stunned by Fang Yi's words. Fang Yi grabbed his friend's collar, asserting that he knew this meeting had been arranged, and he trusted Wang Liang wouldn't harm him. He declared he wanted to witness firsthand how the military dealt with the changes in heaven and earth. Both arrived at a gigantic military base, where Wang Liang was astonished to sense an unusually dense concentration of spiritual energy. Upon reporting their presence, Wang Liang remarked that the energy level here far surpassed even a contaminated zone. After verifying their identities, they were allowed to proceed inside through a strictly guarded corridor. As soon as they entered, a powerful surge of energy from the battle ahead rushed towards them. Before their eyes was the sight of dozens of soldiers struggling to control a gigantic anomalous monster with energy whips. Standing next to the red-haired female officer, Fang Yi was astonished to realize that the monster's power was a fusion attribute. Female officer Jilan confirmed the monster was a product of an anomalous fusion of darkness and fire, making it extremely violent and having severely injured many soldiers. Then she called Wang Liang. Jilan angrily questioned Wang Liang for bringing unauthorized personnel into the restricted area. Ignoring that due to the emergency, she ordered Wang Liang to take his combat position immediately. Jilan glanced at Fang Yi, mentally assessing his spiritual energy as unremarkable and temporarily setting aside her doubts. She turned to warn Fang Yi that once inside, survival was their own responsibility and everything must be kept secret, which he calmly accepted. Jilan slung her heavy weapon over her shoulder, loudly calling out the names of two soldiers, Zhang Mi and Li Yu, to their positions. Immediately, Zhang Mi and Li Yu charged forward, launching a coordinated attack on the anomalous monster. Jilan also fired her energy cannon, unleashing a beam of bright projectiles towards the beast. Hit by the attack, the monster roared to the heavens, showing no signs of weakening. It began to mutate more violently, causing a soldier to cry out in fear that the mutation had worsened. The monster, with its glowing red spikes, swung its claws at Li Yu, prompting Zhang Mi to shout a warning. Li Yu managed to raise his arm to block the attack just in time but was still overwhelmed by the monster's power. Jilan ordered the soldiers to maintain distance and to finish the monster before it completed its evolution. Meanwhile, Fang Yi observed quietly, silently admiring the disciplined coordination and overall strength of this well-trained army. Suddenly, Fang Yi's eyes widened in shock as he realized something terrible. He shouted in panic, warning everyone to run because they were no match for it. As soon as the warning ended, the monster unleashed a massive purple energy blast, sending both Zhang Mi and Li Yu flying. Jilan gritted her teeth and ordered the alert level raised, increasing the area's mutation level and forbidding any retreat. The monster had completed its evolution, becoming colossal with a dark coat and a fiery mane, having fully merged with the dark attribute. Its glowing red eyes locked onto Wang Liang, causing him extreme pain and terror. Jilan screamed Wang Liang's name in horror, while Fang Yi's eyes flashed with lightning as he realized the dire situation. Immediately after, Wang Liang was violently sent flying by the evolved anomalous monster. Jilan immediately ordered the entire unit, announcing that the monster had mutated to B-class, and the combat plan needed to be updated. While Fang Yi observed silently, Wang Liang collapsed, spitting blood from his severe injuries. Fang Yi rushed to support the exhausted soldier, asking about his condition. Wang Liang explained that he suffered backlash after channeling spiritual energy into the monster's control collar, revealing an arm covered in bulging veins. Despite still bleeding from the mouth, Wang Liang tried to reassure them that the officers and soldiers of Zone 19 could handle it. Fang Yi listened with a cold expression, his red eyes reflecting skepticism. Meanwhile, Jilan decisively slammed her heavy weapon onto the ground, preparing to lead the charge. Standing between soldiers Li Yu and Zhang Mi, Jilan declared they must use every tactic and method possible. Facing the colossal monster, she continued her order, stating they must fight even if it meant sacrificing their lives. Suddenly, Fang Yi grabbed Jilan's shoulder just as she finished speaking, determined not to let the B-class monster escape the restricted zone. Jilan turned back in surprise, questioning Fang Yi's actions as he gathered a ball of lightning energy in his hand. Fang Yi displayed his arrogance, enveloping his body in a powerful aura of lightning. He charged directly at the anomalous monster, confronting it head-on as it swung its claws. Fang Yi agilely dodged the attack, leaping over the beast's head and preparing to unleash his thunderous power. He channeled all his strength into a devastating lightning strike, aiming directly at the monster's head with the intent to crush it to pieces. The divine lightning bolt struck its target, engulfing the monster in a cataclysmic blue energy explosion. The shockwave from the blast sent Wang Liang, Li Yu, and Zhang Mi flying backward with terrified screams. Zhang Mi exclaimed in horror that this was a B-class mutation that even Officer Jilan couldn't handle alone. Wang Liang anxiously asked his superior, and Jilan sternly confirmed that what they had just witnessed was real. As Fang Yi stood before the fallen monster, Jilan realized he was the legendary Tyrant. Noticing the enemy was not completely dead, Fang Yi, with his eyes glowing blue, asked Jilan and Wang Liang to retreat. Jilan and her team withdrew. She thought to herself that dealing with a B-class mutation usually required an entire formation and sacrifice. Yet Fang Yi had done it alone. She wondered in amazement what kind of power this was. Meanwhile, Fang Yi gathered lightning energy, a power Jilan admitted was top-tier and unparalleled in the lower kingdom. Jilan watched in stunned silence as Fang Yi raised his hand, crackling lightning enveloping him. In the sky, a massive energy vortex formed, making Jilan wonder how terrifyingly Fang Yi could evolve. He stomped his foot on the ground, preparing for the finishing blow. A colossal pillar of lightning erupted from the ground, proving Fang Yi was truly worthy of the title Tyrant. His eyes flashed with powerful blue light as the attack was unleashed. From afar, Li Yu felt a chill down his spine, while Zhang Mi fearfully wondered why this lightning attribute was more terrifying than the dark attribute. When it was all over, Fang Yi signaled to Wang Liang that everything was fine, causing his approaching friend to shout in sheer fear. Wang Liang happily clapped Fang Yi on the shoulder, saying he never expected his brother to be so formidable. Afterward, Wang Liang sincerely apologized for doubting Fang Yi was a pioneer due to military orders, but Fang Yi affirmed he had always recognized his friend. Fang Yi turned to face Jilan, his eyes having returned to their usual red hue. Jilan formally extended her hand and thanked Fang Yi for his assistance. Fang Yi simply replied with a slight smile. Fang Yi took Jilan's hand, humbly stating there was no need for thanks. It was just saving a friend. Jilan then introduced herself as the person in charge of Restricted Zone 019 and offered to exchange contact information for reporting purposes. While Fang Yi agreed, Wang Liang secretly thought it was strange to see an officer salute his childhood friend. Jilan admitted that Fang Yi's strength far surpassed many specially recruited individuals, and sincerely invited him to join the military, even though she felt her invitation might not carry enough weight. She was secretly astonished to realize that Fang Yi's cultivation had far exceeded the 3-star Ghost Axe realm, reaching the level of a Spirit Creation realm master. Fang Yi asked directly if Jilan felt unqualified to invite him, and she confirmed that there was nothing shameful about it. Jilan explained that her superiors would personally invite him, and her task was merely to gather information, not to drag him into the incident. Fang Yi replied that he deeply respected the soldiers' courageous sacrifice, and witnessing them fight had moved him. Jilan and Wang Liang were both slightly surprised by his words, and she could only offer her thanks. Fang Yi then offered to help in the future on the condition that they do not interfere with his cultivation or restrict him. Jilan was completely stunned by Fang Yi's bold condition. Afterwards, Fang Yi said it was time for him to leave, and Jilan agreed to have someone escort him back while she and Wang Liang handled the scene. As he turned and walked away, Fang Yi secretly thought that he finally understood the true role of the military. He realized they were stationed in spirit energy-rich but dangerous lands, both for cultivation and to create a defensive line protecting civilians. Watching Fang Yi's retreating figure, Jilan told Wang Liang that his friend was far from simple, and the power displayed today was just the tip of the iceberg. She continued to muse that even that much was enough to leave them far behind, and to grow strong so quickly, Fang Yi must possess extraordinary perception, destiny, courage, and ability. Wang Liang immediately suggested increasing the recruitment offer, and if Jilan felt it was inappropriate, to let him, Fang Yi's childhood friend, step forward to persuade him. Jilan immediately tapped Wang Liang on the head, telling him to stop talking nonsense and to help her clean up the scene. Returning home at night, Fang Yi considered that although his identity had been exposed, he had not revealed any powers other than the thunder attribute. While meditating, Fang Yi thought that the military's attitude towards him might not be a bad thing. He realized his rare thunder attribute was highly valued by the military because it countered the dark attribute. Fang Yi deduced that they would use their influence to draw him in, which was the fastest way for him to gain strength and intelligence. He also understood the roles of the two major forces. The military served as the nation's secret shield, while the Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association cleaned up threats within the city. He observed that the government was employing a two-pronged strategy, both protecting civilians with restricted zones and buying time for them to adapt to the resurgence of spiritual energy. Meanwhile, a brilliant golden energy sphere began to converge in his dantian. Fang Yi told himself that even though he had absorbed the desolation attribute in the spirit energy-rich restricted zone, he still hadn't felt any signs of a breakthrough. But just a moment later, the spiritual energy inside him surged, signaling an imminent breakthrough. At the same time, his cousin, Feng Heihu, was walking home and wondering if he had returned yet. She thought about letting Fang Yi taste her improved cooking skills. Suddenly, a gigantic golden pillar of light shot up into the sky from a nearby building, causing her to stop in astonishment. Feng Heiju was stunned, trying to comprehend the phenomenon unfolding before her eyes. Initially, she thought it was a breakthrough to the Ghost Axe realm, but quickly realized this terrifying aura far surpassed that. The massive energy pillar made her wonder if a pioneer was breaking through to the spirit creation realm. As the energy transformed, she became even more certain that this power did not belong to the Ghost Soldier realm. A gigantic energy hand formed in the sky, terrifying her as she realized such a powerful pioneer was right next to her. Feng Heiju looked up, completely overwhelmed by the magnificent sight. At a command center, alarms blared as the anomaly value reached 99, pinpointing an extremely strong spiritual energy fluctuation in the southeast of the city. A panicked officer ordered all units to the target area, while a blue-haired female investigator worried that an anomaly strong enough to destroy an entire city had not been detected sooner. In the control room, staff members stared in horror at the energy anomaly, wondering if this was the birth of a new powerhouse or the omen of a disaster. Han Li immediately yelled into the radio, requesting support from headquarters and deploying all cutting-edge equipment to the scene. However, a subordinate rushed in to report that the alarm had been lifted because it was merely a pioneer's breakthrough. In his apartment, Fang Yi breathed a sigh of relief after completing the breakthrough process. He realized he had reached the one-star spirit creation realm, feeling lighter but without many obvious changes. Just then, his phone received a new message. It was a message from Wang Liang, reporting an anomalous fire at Qingcheng University and warning that Fang Yi was already too strong, to the point where even his superior could no longer cover for him. Fang Yi pondered, admitting his friend's warning was correct, which was why he always concealed his true strength to avoid the attention of the military and the association. He messaged back, reassuring Wang Liang that he would be careful and still had many unused trump cards. The room door opened, and his cousin Feng Heiju announced that she was home. Feng Heiju brought food in for her cousin, but Fang Yi remained glued to his phone and told her to just leave it. She secretly sighed, thinking her cousin was a good person but far too lazy. In her eyes, he was just someone who didn't attend school, stayed home all day, and was glued to his phone. Feng Heiju found it ironic that pioneers like her had to struggle everywhere while her cousin lived a carefree life. Lying on her bed, she thought about the Spirit Creation Realm Master who had just appeared and resolved to protect her cousin in return for his kindness. Meanwhile, Fang Yi was analyzing a video of the fire, realizing it was another Yang attribute anomaly with rapidly spreading flames. His phone screen displayed people's astonished comments about the scale of the fire and the presence of special forces. He felt this incident was even more serious than the anomaly at the North Gate, and decided he needed to contact Jilan to investigate. The next morning, the gate of Qingcheng University was sealed off by the military, while a crowd gathered outside, buzzing about rumors of the fire. As Fang Yi and a red-haired woman walked by, the crowd whispered about the undisclosed incident. When the two approached the sealed school gate, the guards immediately opened the way for them, making the crowd even more curious. Leaving the surprise stares behind, Fang Yi and the woman named Jilan confidently walked inside. Looking at the devastated scene, Jilan confirmed the cause was a phenomenon known as heavenly fire. She explained that heavenly fire is an unquenchable flame that only stops once it has burned everything it desires, illustrating this with the image of a valley engulfed in fire. Jilan said she needed to go to the principal's office, and Fang Yi decided to stay at the scene to investigate himself. Alone, Fang Yi began walking along the devastated area that had been cordoned off. He knelt down to examine the scorched earth, realizing it had cooled and contained no residual energy, foiling his collection plan. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out Fang Yi's name from behind. He turned around and was surprised to see Chu Qingli, his ex-girlfriend, standing there with a friend in school uniforms. Chu Qingli's friend immediately recognized Fang Yi, and whispered if he was the ex-boyfriend who only managed to get into a vocational college, which Chu Qingli reluctantly admitted. The friend immediately adopted a condescending tone, advising Fang Yi to give up because he was no longer worthy of Chu Qingli. Fang Yi was utterly bewildered, completely failing to understand why he was assumed to still harbor feelings for Chu Qingli. Meanwhile, other students nearby began gossiping, dismissing Fang Yi as just another mediocre stalker of the campus beauty, Chu Qingli. Chu Qingli's friend stepped forward, pointed directly at Fang Yi, warned him about her friend's current status, and demanded he explain how he entered the restricted area. With a complicated expression, Chu Qingli secretly called Fang Yi a hypocrite, believing he was deliberately seeking her out after expressing regret. Just then, Jilan returned and asked Fang Yi if the girl was his friend, startling Chu Qingli. Fang Yi coldly replied that Chu Qingli was merely an old classmate, nothing more, leaving the girl stunned by his attitude. Jilan smirked meaningfully, observing the situation with amusement. Chu Qingli and her friend were overwhelmed by Jilan's powerful aura, wondering why this woman knew Fang Yi. Jilan announced that the Skyfire situation was more serious than expected, and requested Fang Yi, in his capacity as the special consultant designated by the military, to accompany her to inspect the ignition point. Meanwhile, the school's security forces quickly cordoned off the sports field, instructing everyone to keep away. Chu Qingli exclaimed in astonishment upon realizing the principal had arrived. The principal of Qingcheng University, a man known for his strictness and rare appearances, was personally present, leading students to secretly guess he was there because of Fang Yi and Jilan. Chu Qingli's friend smugly thought the principal had come to arrest the two intruders, while Chu Qingli silently watched. Fang Yi and Jilan stood facing the principal and his security detail. Contrary to expectations, the principal proactively greeted and shook hands with Fang Yi, calling him Consultant Fang and expressing gratitude for his assistance. The respected principal unexpectedly bowed, formally entrusting Fang Yi with handling the incident at the sports field. Chu Qingli was dumbfounded by the unbelievable sight, while the security forces began instructing the crowd to step back. As the student crowd was pushed back, one person wondered in shock if they were seeing things, witnessing the principal bowing to a young man. Chu Qingli realized that Fang Yi must possess a special status to be treated in such a manner. Amidst the crowd, there were whispers asking who had just called Fang Yi Chu Qingli's ex-boyfriend, or stalker. Another voice immediately refuted this, suggesting that even if Chu Qingli pursued him, she wouldn't be worthy. The gossip continued to focus on the fact that Fang Yi had completely ignored the campus beauty, leaving Chu Qingli feeling isolated amidst the crowd. At Qingcheng University, the principal began explaining the chain of anomalous events. He recounted that after the Golden Sun anomaly dissipated, an inextinguishable fire erupted on Court 1, which they fortunately managed to cordon off in time. Afterward, strange incidents continued on Courts 2 and 3, culminating when he personally witnessed crimson flames inexplicably falling from the air. Jilan added that fortunately, the fires on the other courts had been extinguished, leaving only this area remaining. Fang Yi stood before the devastated basketball court, commenting on the strong smell of burning in the air. The principal pointed to the burning basketball hoop and confirmed it was the ignition point of the inextinguishable fire. Jilan held up a device, whose screen displayed an anomalous energy reading of 11, piquing Fang Yi's curiosity. She explained it was a spirit energy detector, warning that a reading above 10 was already catastrophic for ordinary people. Suddenly, the number on the device skyrocketed to 60, astonishing everyone. Jilan and the principal panicked, fearing the anomaly would spread throughout the city, and hastily planned to mobilize the military for a lockdown. Amidst the chaos, Fang Yi unexpectedly leaped over the barrier, charging straight into the danger zone, stunning the principal. He landed in the sea of fire, causing a powerful energy shockwave. Immediately, the reading on Jilan's device surged to 110. Jilan horrifyingly announced that the anomaly had escalated to S rank, while the principal frantically wondered what to do. Standing outside, Jilan anxiously watched the fire forming a monstrous entity, unable to understand why Fang Yi dared to charge in alone. Inside the sea of fire, Fang Yi's silhouette stood calmly. He confidently thought that since his Yang attribute had protected him from lightning before, it would also protect him from this skyfire. However, when a massive fire dragon appeared, he realized the Yang attribute was hindering him and decided he needed to reach the source flame. The fire dragon lunged to attack, and Fang Yi raised his hand, exerting his strength to defend himself. He was thrown backward by the force of the attack. A fierce fire explosion engulfed the area, blasting Fang Yi away. He braced himself, resisting the surging streams of fire energy attacking him. At the same time, a system notification appeared, indicating the detection of intense fluctuations of the Skyfire attribute. Amidst the flames, Fang Yi excitedly acknowledged the power of the Skyfire and resolved to absorb it at all costs. The system immediately activated its ultimate calculation ability, completing the compilation of a new cultivation technique for him. He received the 9-Dragon Skyfire Sealing Technique, a skill capable of exorcising evil and suppressing demons. Without needing practice time, a fire dragon immediately coiled around Fang Yi's arm as the technique was unlocked. A massive fire dragon manifested above him as he began the process of extracting the attribute from the anomaly. After successfully absorbing it, crimson streaks appeared on Fang Yi's face, signaling his mastery over the skyfire. He clasped his hands together, loudly proclaiming the name of the newly acquired technique. From behind him, countless strands of crimson energy chains shot out with overwhelming momentum. The chains shot straight into the sea of fire, beginning to surround and bind the anomalous flame. From afar, Jilan realized with astonishment that this was the aura of a seal, secretly comparing it to a high-level pioneer she had once witnessed. Fang Yi hovered in midair, commanding the chains to tighten. Immediately, they contracted, compressing the entire flame into a single point. The sealing process was complete, trapping the fireball within a dense network of chains. Fang Yi gently extended his hand, controlling the sealed fireball to hover before him. He landed, explaining to the principal that the heavenly fire had been temporarily sealed, and the area must be quarantined. Jilan observed silently, her sharp eyes full of contemplation behind her sunglasses. As the principal was making small talk, Jilan interrupted, requesting to speak with Fang Yi privately. The principal happily agreed, leaving the two of them space to converse. Jilan looked straight at Fang Yi, remarking that he was very good at hiding his true strength, but he humbly replied that the heavenly fire was not easy to deal with. Jilan looked straight at Fang Yi, stating that she knew he was concealing his talent and cultivation level. Fang Yi replied that it was normal for powerful pioneers to keep secrets, then suggested Jilan listen to his thoughts. He explained that during this turbulent period, the nation desperately needed top talents, analogizing that when the spiritual energy fully revived, someone like him would be equivalent to a nuclear deterrent. Fang Yi asserted that whether it was the military zones or the Spiritual Energy Association, all would scramble to recruit him, and even foreign powers would make generous offers. Jilan admitted she had her own motives. His joining would be a huge advantage for her sector, so she advised him to start considering it now. After a moment of silence, Fang Yi wondered why she and Wang Liang had never tried to recruit him into their sector, as if he wasn't qualified. Jilan explained that the legendary military zone they belonged to was extremely powerful, and she thought he might be more interested in them. Fang Yi smirked, asking again if it was a top-tier organization. Jilan confirmed it, adding that although she had never seen them in action, she heard that the nation's most elite unit had been extremely busy lately, to the point that officers in other sectors had caught wind of it. Afterwards, Jilan suggested putting the matter aside to go to the cafeteria as invited by the principal, but she muttered that it seemed they were also facing serious trouble. In Fang Yi's mind, a scene appeared of powerful pioneers battling terrifying anomalies, far exceeding the strength of current pioneers. He deduced from Jilan's tone that those pioneers must be at the spirit creation realm or higher, and felt anxious because the day of the spiritual energy revival was approaching, and he was still not fully prepared. Amidst the sea of fire, Fang Yi pondered the best way to utilize the newly acquired heavenly fire attribute, noting its wild nature was perfect for dealing with incessantly multiplying anomalies. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared in his eyes as an idea struck him. He realized that the heavenly fire was a perfect match for his crimson flame saber technique, and thought of adding other enhancements. Upon arriving at the back mountain area, Fang Yi was slightly surprised by the scene. He entered the forest, already wearing a suit and carrying his sword, sensing something unusual. Fang Yi approached a danger warning sign and deduced that only the Spiritual Energy Association, who knew his schedule, could have sealed off this area so quickly. He smiled, realizing the association seemed to have tacitly given him this land for free experimentation, and he decided he would happily accept. As soon as he stepped into the back mountain, Fang Yi sensed another presence. He annoyedly wondered why even trash could sneak into this area. Suddenly, he recognized a familiar aura, identical to the one at the factory but less intense, emanating from a dark shadow. On a branch, a monkey-like anomalous monster with glowing red eyes was growling and observing him. Noticing the monster assessing his strength, Fang Yi smiled and drew his sword, challenging it to watch closely. A system panel appeared, suggesting infusing the heavenly fire attribute into the Tong saber, and he decisively accepted. As the saber burst into brilliant flames, Fang Yi eagerly wondered what effect the combination of heavenly fire and the crimson fire saber would create. With his eyes turning brilliant gold, he faced the snarling monster head-on. Fang Yi charged to attack, declaring he would use the monster to test his new saber. The monster was stunned by the massive surge of flame rushing toward it. It only managed to let out a miserable shriek as it was completely engulfed by the flames. Fang Yi remarked with satisfaction that this firepower was twice as strong, even surpassing the original Crimson Fire Saber technique. Furthermore, this powerful energy had absolutely no effect on him. Sensing a cold aura, he decided to hunt down that trash to take a closer look. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the forest, a live stream was taking place with the broadcaster claiming she was simply lucky. A female streamer confidently boasted that even though it was her first day, content just found her, despite skeptical comments from viewers. Suddenly, she flinched upon hearing a strange noise from behind. The monkey-like monster unexpectedly lunged to attack, causing her to scream hysterically. It swung its claws, smashing the phone she was live-streaming with. Through the shattered phone screen, livestream viewers mocked the clumsy performance as the monster pinned the female streamer to the ground. Overwhelmed with terror, the girl could only cry and beg for her life. The monster roared, its jaws full of fangs and drool preparing to strike. Abruptly, a powerful surge of fiery energy struck the creature, sending it flying away in pain. The female streamer and her online audience watched in awe as a gigantic golden energy dragon appeared behind the monster. Drawn by the spectacular sight, the number of viewers on her channel immediately surged to over 13,000. Still stunned, she looked up and saw the silhouette of her mysterious savior. With renewed determination, she gripped her phone, trying to record this incredible event. She stood amidst the towering sea of fire, astonished to realize she had captured footage of a person standing calmly within the flames. Through the camera lens, she saw Fang Yi holding a blazing sword and believed he must be an immortal deity. The footage quickly spread across social media, propelling the mysterious Fire King to the top of the trending charts with over 13 million views. In an office, Chu Qingli's friend excitedly showed her the video, but Chu Qingli merely sneered, believing it was just a staged production using special effects. However, upon looking closer at the screen, her indifferent expression began to change. While her friend continued to praise the footage, Chu Qingli stared blankly at the screen as a shocking truth slowly dawned on her. She desperately tried to convince herself it was fake, unable to accept that the hero in the Sea of Fire could possibly be Fang Yi. Elsewhere, Yi Yi showed Feng Heiju the video, and Feng Heiju not only recognized the person who had saved them previously, but also connected him to the recent realm breakthrough near her home. Zhang Xiaoya and Old Li also watched the footage. Old Li recognized the familiar sword-swinging technique and understood the true stature of their new ally. In a towering headquarters building, an unnamed official lamented the city's impending crisis and the severe shortage of talented pioneers. During a high-level meeting, an association leader informed Su Qingying about the military's discussions with Fang Yi, and she confidently replied that she believed he would help them. At a military meeting, Jilan commented on Fang Yi's terrifying power and limitless potential, stating that recruiting him was the only option. Han Li wondered if the higher-ups would personally approach Fang Yi, but Jilan revealed that they were still hesitant because, historically, the top pioneers had always originated from the military. Han Li decided to provide Fang Yi with weapon prototypes and training environments, while also ordering the thorough removal of the circulating videos about him. Jilan secretly thought that the entire cultivation world of the nation was focusing its attention on Fang Yi, a person whose next actions she greatly anticipated. In a hospital room, a purple-haired woman looked at the heart monitor, telling her comatose teacher that the Xia nation had found a new hope. She believed that with the appearance of such a powerful individual, her teacher's chance of waking up had increased. One day later, at his apartment, Fang Yi ate breakfast while thinking about the commotion caused by a reckless streamer yesterday. He realized that the videos and live streams had been completely removed, guessing this was the work of the military or the Spirit Energy Association. His red eyes flashed with sharpness. Suddenly, Fang Yi realized that Lin Yiyi had not returned all night and had not sent any message beforehand. Sensing something was wrong, he immediately called her, but the operator reported that the number was out of service area. With a determined expression, Fang Yi concluded the situation was serious and decided he must go look for her. In a gloomy forest, Feng Heiju asked Yi Yi how long they had been trapped there. Yi Yi tiredly replied that it had been about 10 hours, while Feng Heiju blamed herself for dragging her into danger by misjudging the enemy. Yi Yi let out a groan, clutching her side, which appeared to be injured. Feng Heiju told her to stop apologizing, admitting that she herself wasn't strong enough, and reminded Yi Yi to stay vigilant. She recalled the image of the powerful expert who had saved her, secretly wishing she possessed that same strength. Just then, a gigantic shadow monster with glowing red eyes silently appeared behind the two of them. The shadow monster suddenly lunged out, swinging its sharp claws at the two. "Careful!" Feng Heiju screamed, immediately pushing Yi Yi away and raising her hand to create a blue energy shield. A beam of light shot from the shield, knocking away another deformed humanoid creature. Feng Heiju delivered a kick to the face of another monster, realizing these were the very people who had been trapped and died in this place. After taking down an enemy, she explained that they had turned into walking corpses, while Yi Yi desperately added that their attacks were useless against the black mist that was draining their spiritual energy. Yi Yi realized the enemy was toying with them like mice, waiting for them to exhaust themselves, and seemed invincible in its domain. The tension was evident on Yi Yi's face as a drop of sweat rolled down her cheek. Suddenly, both looked up in horror as a giant red eye appeared in the sky, making Feng Heiju scream Yi Yi's name. The giant eye began to bubble and transform grotesquely. From a single entity, it multiplied into a writhing swarm of red eyes, causing Yi Yi to curse in anger. Feng Heiju sternly warned Yi that the enemy was losing patience and they couldn't let their guard down. She silently observed, seemingly calculating something in desperation. A massive surge of energy suddenly crashed down, stunning Feng Heiju. She found herself surrounded by countless red eyes in the darkness, and wondered if this was the end. Shadowy arms began to reach out and grab Feng Heiju. She realized she had been swallowed by the darkness. Filled with regret, she blamed her overconfidence and accepted that the path of cultivation was inherently fraught with danger. As she was pulled into the darkness, she regretted that she would never witness the future of the world and the pioneers. Tears streamed down Feng Heiju's cheeks as she faced death. But then, a brilliant blue light suddenly tore through the night, making Feng Heiju look up in astonishment. Fang Yi emerged from the light, his eyes and hands glowing with blue energy, ready to intervene. With eyes blazing with blue energy, Feng Yi declared he had arrived just in time. Teary-eyed, Feng Heiju uttered cousin in stunned disbelief. Immediately, a massive surge of blue energy erupted from Feng Yi, sweeping away the surrounding darkness. When everything settled, Feng Heiju looked at her cousin who had saved her, and realized he was far from ordinary. Suddenly, an anomalous entity with countless blood-red eyes emerged from the darkness right behind Feng Yi. Feng Heiju hastily shouted a warning, and at the same moment, Feng Yi's hand burst into brilliant flames. Facing the monster, Feng Yi smirked, deciding to test his heavenly flame against the darkness attribute. He lunged forward, delivering a fiery punch straight into the anomalous entity's mouth, creating a terrifying explosion. Amidst the lingering sea of flames, Feng Heiju helped Yi up and bewilderedly wondered if they were dead. Yi reassured her panicked friend that they were still alive, despite the hellish scene around them. Feng Yi stood before them, casually announcing that everything was handled and he hadn't even had breakfast yet. Yi's eyes widened in astonishment as she began to recognize the person who had just saved them. She joyfully confirmed that Feng Yi was the one who had saved them in Hua Town, making him a little embarrassed. Feng Heiju was dumbfounded when Yi revealed that the fire attribute benefactor they admired was none other than the cousin she always considered ordinary. Exposed, Feng Yi could only scratch his head and give a wry smile. Yi excitedly continued to recount Feng Yi's extraordinary feats to Feng Heiju. In Feng Heiju's mind, the pieces began to fit. Her cousin was both a powerful fire attribute cultivator and possessed pure lightning energy. She was utterly stunned to realize that the divine being who had broken through to the spirit creation realm in their neighborhood was Feng Yi. Feng Yi interrupted them, acknowledging everything, then seriously asked why only two of them were here facing such a dangerous anomaly. Yi explained that the other team members all had their own reasons and couldn't be present. Yi admitted she had underestimated the challenge of breaking through to the Ghost Axe realm. Feng Yi mused, remembering that Yi's teammates all had their own agendas, yet she still defended their honor, proving her loyalty. He turned to Feng Heiju, saying that since they knew his identity and he trusted them, he had a proposition. Feng Yi officially invited them to form a team, on the condition that they keep it absolutely secret. Yi excitedly agreed immediately, while Feng Heiju rejoiced at this stroke of luck. Feng Heiju blushed, secretly thinking that her powerful cousin must have known she was a pioneer for a long time and had always secretly protected her. She realized that on the lonely path of cultivation, having a trustworthy relative was an immense blessing. Tears welling up, Feng Heiju thanked her cousin and promised to fry him 2 extra eggs for dinner. Suddenly, Yi announced that someone named Ji Lan had just posted a new mission. The phone screen displayed a notification about a mission in the extreme shadow zone, accompanied by a warning to think carefully. Feng Yi asked about the place, and Feng Heiju explained it was an absolutely forbidden area where the power of darkness was overwhelming. She added that most of the anomalies in the city leaked from here, and the authorities had encountered serious accidents when attempting to explore it. Yi suggested asking for more details, but Feng Heiju believed Jilan was very mysterious and wouldn't answer. Feng Yi deduced that Jilan's ability to assign a mission in such a dangerous place indicated her very special status, possibly military or a high-ranking member of the association. He believed the second hypothesis was more likely. Immediately after, Feng Heiju messaged Jilan to inquire about the mission details. Unexpectedly, Jilan replied with details, stating the mission was to collect the lost swamp flower and advised them to go as a team because it was very dangerous. Both Feng Heiju and Yi were stunned by this unusually detailed response. Jilan sent an additional warning that the mission might involve an S-rank anomaly with a very high mortality rate, and they should only participate if they had strong, reliable teammates. Feng Yi smirked, thinking that Jilan's message was actually a direct challenge aimed at pioneers like them. Feng Yi realized that Jilan's message was a direct reference aimed at him. He was intrigued by the extreme dark zone and decided to go check it out. Meanwhile, Jilan walked down a corridor with 2 assistants, confident that if Feng Yi was worthy, he would surely come. An assistant worried about the consequences if he didn't show up, but Jilan calmly replied that it would simply mean the time wasn't right yet. Jilan asked if they thought the mission to collect the lost tempering flower was just a trap to eliminate powerful pioneers. She explained that the true purpose of this near-suicidal mission was completely contrary to its appearance. It was a necessary step to build strength for the nation, and only that flower could save more pioneers. On the subway train, Fang Yi stood silently among the oblivious civilians, while Jilan's narration spoke of protecting the future pillars of strength. She and her assistants visited a patient, and her words continued, speaking of core forces who had fallen or gone missing. Jilan grasped the patient's hand, reinforcing her determination to collect more lost tempering flowers at any cost. The assistant revealed that the patient was their teacher, the only pioneer in Xiaguo to reach the King Kong realm, and they needed the flower to awaken him. Such a powerhouse was worth as much as a nuclear weapon, so sacrificing a few squads, even Jilan herself, was worthwhile to save him. Hearing this, a worried assistant reminded Jilan that her health was also very important. Jilan asked back coldly, seemingly disbelieving what she had just heard. She suddenly yelled angrily that her life was, of course, important, because it had been bought back by the sacrifice of her comrades. After the outburst, Jilan's face was etched with pain and confusion. She quickly apologized for losing her temper, while the assistant anxiously inquired about her recurring headache. Jilan waved her hand, saying that everything was in the past, but memories of her old comrades flooded her mind. In the flashback, a dying soldier from the Swordbearer squad ordered the entire team to retreat immediately. Another comrade told a younger Jilan that the lost tempering flower mission now rested solely on her shoulders. In the flashback, a desperate young Jilan screamed that she would not abandon her captain. A dying comrade transferred his soul energy to Jilan, instructing her to survive and return. Back in the present, Jilan thought about their sacrifice and understood that the mission to harvest the lost tempering flower could not fail. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, Fang Yi, Feng Heju, and Yi Yi walked through a desolate area, and Feng Heju began complaining about the distance. Yi Yi explained that even pioneers couldn't fly freely because the spiritual energy wasn't dense enough yet. Fang Yi focused his gaze forward, his red eyes gleaming with vigilance. The group finally reached the edge of the pitch-black zone, a base surrounded by an energy barrier. Fang Yi sensed an unpleasant dark aura emanating from within, even through multiple layers of shielding. Yi Yi also shuddered at the disgusting presence, which was 1,000 times more terrifying than the anomalies they usually faced, and she reassured Feng Heju. Looking ahead, they saw many other pioneers had gathered there, surprising a silver-haired female pioneer. Feng Heju noted that the dark attribute was extremely dangerous and hostile to humans, which was why many people still risked participating. Recently, dark attribute anomalies have continuously erupted right within the cities. Fang Yi confirmed this, revealing that he had directly confronted 2 such anomalies. He recalled the battle with a mutated rabbit beast, which looked more like a giant rodent. The second was a cunning snake in a factory, so intelligent that it nearly wiped out an entire association squad, and they always deliberately avoided military bases. Fang Yi explained that anomalies were appearing more and more frequently in the city, and the situation was gradually spiraling out of control. Therefore, he asserted that they were obligated to make this trip to prevent a catastrophe. Meanwhile, at an observation post, a military officer was monitoring the gathered pioneers, including Su Qingying. Su Qingying suddenly looked surprised as she realized something. She was astonished to see that Fang Yi was also present, and accompanied by 2 other women. A squad member anxiously called out to Su Qingying when they saw her looking dazed. Su Qingying nervously clasped her hands in prayer, hoping Fang Yi wouldn't notice her, but he walked over and greeted her. As the 2 groups met, Su Qingying tried to appear professional to welcome Fang Yi, while Feng Heju was curious about their relationship. Su Qingying panicked, realizing the situation was being severely misunderstood. Fang Yi explained that Su Qingying was just an association captain who helped him run errands, an explanation that further annoyed Feng Heju. Suddenly, a condescending voice rang out, calling them a bunch of bragging brats. A seasoned pioneer captain appeared with his squad, lecturing the younger group for their disrespectful attitude in such a dangerous place. Yi Yi was enraged by the insult and was held back by Feng Heju. While Feng Yi's eyes flashed with a cold gaze, Yi Yi confronted the man, warning him to mind his own business before he died of fright. The confrontation was interrupted by the arrival of a transport vehicle, drawing the attention of the arrogant captain. A woman with an overwhelming aura stepped out of the vehicle. It was Lan. Those nearby whispered in astonishment, recognizing the newcomer as the famous Sister Lan. Lan strode forward with her troops, asserting her authority. The other pioneers were overwhelmed by her grand entrance, and Fang Yi guessed that she was the one who would open the gate for them. Lan began exerting her power, concentrating a massive stream of blue electrical energy. Standing between 2 large metal structures, she generated a gigantic sphere of lightning. Lan used a glowing object inscribed with ancient runes to control the terrifying energy source. Under Fang Yi's focused gaze, she unleashed her full power, opening a lightning gate in midair. The The gate opened, revealing a dark, chaotic space filled with malicious red energy currents. Jilan announced that everyone could enter, while also reminding them of a special condition. The lost tempering flower must be collected intact, and must not be stained with human blood. A pioneer complained about the commander's attitude, pushing them toward death without any compensation. As the pioneer teams began entering the gate, another person advised Old Dung to shut up, because if they died, they would only be reported as missing. A young pioneer wearing glasses bitterly remarked that the government compensating their families was no different from admitting they had killed them. Meanwhile, Su Qingying analyzed for Fang Yi that among the teams, there was a middle-aged man who had reached the one-star spirit creation realm, along with many other masters who had concealed their true strength. Fang Yi secretly thought that this mission was truly difficult, gathering so many elite teams, while also doubting the man's not-so-powerful aura. In the control room, an assistant reported to Ji Lan that the exploration force consisted of cultivators ranging from the Ghost Axe realm to the Spirit Creation realm, facing anomalies ranked B to S. Inside the gate was a desolate, dead land beneath a gloomy sky. The moment Fang Yi's group stepped inside, Su Qingying felt unwell. Yi also started feeling nauseous, forcing Fang Yi to remind everyone to stay close together so they wouldn't get lost in the darkness. Su Qingying reassured Yi that it was just the stench of corpses and brain fluid, a very normal reaction. She pointed ahead, where other pioneers were also suffering and vomiting, unable to withstand the foul smell. Su Qingying explained that the dark attribute here acted like a type of pollution that suppressed pioneers, and it was where the anomalies were most active. Fang Yi continued, classifying anomalies from rank B as equivalent to the Ghost Axe realm and manageable. He further explained that rank A anomalies were on par with the Spirit Creation realm, rank S had catastrophic destructive power, and here, their strength was boosted by at least one level. Yi and Feng Heizhu surprisingly asked Su Qingying why she wasn't being polluted by this environment. A blonde-haired member of the group explained that Su Qingying's team was used to this, and revealed that she had broken through to 3-star Ghost Axe and mutated her attribute to ice. The blonde young man asked Fang Yi if he felt the suppression, while Fang Yi secretly realized that his aura had diminished even more severely than during the previous mission. The group advanced deeper, and Fang Yi instructed everyone to conserve energy and focus their aura to resist the black mist. Fang Yi realized his body was completely unaffected, perhaps because his yang and thunder attributes countered the darkness, or because the Spirit Creation realm had strengthened his aura. Elsewhere, Old Deng faced a shadow monster alone, and scoffed that the anomalies here were nothing special. In another area, Old Deng led 2 teammates, shouting to charge forward to seize the lost tempering flower and show the others their true strength. Meanwhile, Yi in Fang Yi's group started coughing dryly due to the toxic air, causing Feng Heizhu to anxiously call her name. Seeing that scene, Fang Yi secretly thought that even though Yi was older, she still reacted like a child. He gently placed his hand on the head of his bewildered cousin, Feng Heizhu. Immediately, a warm halo radiated from Fang Yi, dispelling the nausea and coldness for the entire group, making Feng Heizhu realize in astonishment that this was the power of the Spirit Creation realm. Feng Heizhu secretly compared it, noticing that this fire attribute was distinctly warmer and more advanced, while also thinking about her own wood, grass attribute, and Su Qingying's mutated ice attribute. Fang Yi corrected her, stating that it wasn't the fire attribute but the yang attribute, and admitted that he was the one who suppressed the anomaly at Qingcheng University. He further explained that the yang attribute and heavenly fire were slightly different, shocking Yi when she learned he possessed 3 types of rare, high-level attributes. Fang Yi secretly decided to hide his desolation attribute, only mentioning it vaguely before bringing up the ice attribute. Feeling cold, Yi immediately flattered Fang Yi, calling him the omnipotent cousin and asking him to warm her up. Fang Yi agreed, placing his hand on Yi's shoulder and transmitting a pleasant warmth to her. 2 members of Su Qingying's team approached, curiously asking what Yi was doing with Fang Yi. Fang Yi immediately invited Su Qingying's entire team to try it, and she agreed that the feeling wasn't bad, while the other members eagerly pleaded for warmth. The entire Ying squad happily enjoyed the warmth from Fang Yi's energy. Suddenly, a giant monster foot with sharp claws stomped heavily onto the ground nearby. Fang Yi immediately sensed danger and warned mentally that an anomaly was approaching. Su Qingying reacted extremely fast, rushing forward to attack the monster, while Feng Heizhu screamed a warning that Yi was in danger. A giant, bear-like shadow monster appeared right in front of Yi, causing her to cry out in terror. The rank A anomaly let out a deafening roar, its entire body erupting with dark energy. Immediately, Su Qingying rushed forward to shield them from the monster, creating an icy structure and declaring that she would handle it. Su Qingying launched an icy strike directly at the shadow monster. However, she realized that the difficulty level of this opponent was far from simple. The monster suddenly vanished, and Fang Yi sensed another threat as an army of red-eyed corpses appeared. The entire group was immediately surrounded by the anomalies, screaming in despair. Fang Yi stepped forward, ordering everyone to retreat, and warning them to be careful. His eyes flared with brilliant yellow flames. Immediately afterward, a massive pillar of fire erupted from Fang Yi, engulfing the entire horde of corpses. The anomalous creatures shrieked in the sea of fire as they were completely incinerated. Fang Yi stood amidst the flames, declaring that this wave of anomalies had dissipated, and warning them not to be fooled, as there were actually only two entities. Su Qingying wondered in astonishment how they could imitate human voices, and Fang Yi suggested that perhaps they learned after eating too many people. From afar, a female pioneer wearing a mask secretly thought that with just one strike, Fang Yi had crushed two rank A illusionary beasts. The masked woman admitted that even she would need at least a few moves to deal with them. Feng Heiju worriedly said that if what Su Qingying said was true, they needed to stick even closer together, guarding against anomalies infiltrating their ranks. Meanwhile, Yi Yi collapsed onto the ground, feeling suffocated by Fang Yi's overwhelming aura, which was even more terrifying than cat demons or zombies. Fang Yi suddenly turned his head, seemingly having sensed something. Feng Heiju asked if he also heard a sound like ocean waves coming from ahead. The ground suddenly shook violently, causing the entire group to lose their balance. Fang Yi quickly stabilized himself on the ground. Elsewhere, two pioneers were fleeing in panic, shouting that what they were facing was too sinister. They screamed for help in despair, believing it was a ghost, while Fang Yi, Su Qingying, and Feng Heiju stood there with serious expressions. A pioneer in red armor realized that the surging black energy wave was the terrifying dark tide. While other pioneers were swept away and desperately cried for help, one remained confident that he could handle it. The pioneer in red armor unleashed green energy from his sword, arrogantly declaring that everything here belonged to him. He bravely charged straight into the center of the dark tide. However, he was quickly seized by the dark tentacles and realized something was wrong with these anomalies. Before being completely swallowed by the darkness, he realized in horror that their power far exceeded even S rank. The other pioneers shared the same fate, screaming tragically as they were submerged by the darkness. Witnessing the scene, Fang Yi turned to ask Su Qingying about the nature of the dark tide. Su Qingying explained that it was the pinnacle of dark attribute power, a corrosive force that could devour everything, making Fang Yi worry about the fate of the pioneers who went ahead. Feng Heiju frantically suggested retreating, realizing this power could wipe out an entire city-state. But Fang Yi had already begun gathering his strength. He reassured everyone by creating a spiritual energy barrier, enveloping the group, declaring that it could withstand the dark energy. Su Qingying objected, arguing that the dark tide was unstoppable, especially since it had just devoured a high-ranking elder. Fang Yi calmly replied that if it was concentrated energy, he would destroy it, then unleashed the power of fire and lightning. He launched a destructive energy blast straight into the dark tide, astonishing Su Qingying and Feng Heiju. The powerful energy stream pierced through the dense layer of darkness. Fang Yi charged into the heart of the energy storm, enveloped in protective light. Inside, he smiled confidently, realizing everything was exactly as he had predicted. He observed the horde of monsters and concluded that they were not ordinary anomalies but evolved composites under the dark energy. Fang Yi analyzed that their combined power could reach SSS rank, explaining why they could easily devour a top pioneer. Immediately afterward, a brilliant blue energy explosion erupted from deep within the darkness. Countless blue lightning bolts tore through the screaming dark entities. Fang Yi stood firm, his red eyes confronting the growling anomaly. He recalled the sight of the A-rank pioneer being instantly swallowed, a power far beyond the norm. Staring intently at the dark vortex, Fang Yi noticed something unusual. He recognized the familiar figure of the pioneer from earlier and called out to see if the person was still alive. Inside, the pioneer was being corroded, but Fang Yi noticed that his spiritual energy had not been completely extinguished. There was still a glimmer of hope. Deciding to act, Fang Yi raised his hand, summoning the power of divine thunder. He released the full lightning energy of the 100 Refinements technique, creating an earth-shattering explosion. After the attack, the pioneer fell to the ground, unconscious but freed from the darkness's control. Fang Yi landed beside him with his blazing sword, confirming that the person could still be saved. Amidst the desolate scene, the ghostly figures of the monsters began to gather behind him again. The monsters regenerated almost instantly, making Fang Yi realize this was a special ability of anomalies above S rank. He smirked, decided to try a different approach, and released his spiritual energy barrier. However, the system reported that this dark attribute was too unique, and the extraction failed. Even at the spirit creation realm, Fang Yi could not absorb this energy source, confirming it was more anomalous than anything he had encountered. Nevertheless, he just smiled confidently. Fang Yi concluded that if he couldn't eradicate or absorb it, he would have to find another way. He briefly regretted not bringing the small white flower with the power of desolation, then wondered what else he could use. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind, as he realized the answer was right in front of him. Fang Yi contacted Su Qingying's group, who were safe inside the barrier, and asked if she had ever seen this phenomenon. But she admitted she had never known of it. Fang Yi used the energy barrier to block the dark tide, surprised that it was effective. Meanwhile, Feng Heiju stood inside the protective barrier, worried that this uneasy feeling was worse than facing the ghostly vines. Su Qingying reassured Feng Heiju, suggesting they use their spiritual energy to reinforce Fang Yi's barrier. She analyzed that Fang Yi's power already far surpassed theirs, and those in the Ghost Axe realm could not possibly intervene. Hearing this, Feng Heiju laughed, teasing that Captain Su's humor was deadly. Replying from afar, Fang Yi said his teammates thought so too, then unleashed a massive surge of firepower. He executed the 9 Dragons Heavenly Fire Seal technique, creating a blazing dragon-shaped seal. Hovering in midair, Fang Yi shouted, commanding the fire dragons to rise. Yi Yi excitedly pointed out her cousin's power to Feng Heiju, while Su Qingying was stunned by the technique. The whole group was overwhelmed by the sight of the surging fire dragons, thinking to themselves that it was too mighty. From afar, a masked female pioneer also recognized this as heavenly fire with sealing power. She fearfully wondered if Fang Yi had truly just sealed the dark tide. Fang Yi continued to channel his power, injecting streams of blue lightning into the sealing orb. He named the next part of the technique 9 Dragons Edict, concentrating all his energy. He plunged down, driving the fire and lightning energy orb deep into the ground. With a decisive shout, Fang Yi completed the sealing of the dark tide. The energy vortex violently surged before contracting. Finally, the fire and lightning orb stabilized, completely imprisoning the darkness within. After the danger passed, Fang Yi discovered that the pioneer who had been swallowed earlier was still alive, lying unconscious. Feng Heiju happily ran to her cousin, while Su Qingying offered to let her team take care of the injured person, calling Fang Yi boss. Su Qingying wondered why Fang Yi wasn't happy after sealing the high-level dark attribute, astonished that he had actually wiped out the dark tide. Fang Yi explained that the seal was only temporary, and they had to quickly retrieve the lost tempering flower, while Su Qingying's team agreed to take the injured back to the association. Looking at the desolate scene, one person in the group sadly thought about the other pioneers who had been devoured bone and all by the dark attribute. Fang Yi decided to stay behind as rearguard, asking Yi Yi and the others to go ahead with Captain Su because the real danger was still in the dark pool. Standing alone, Fang Yi received a warning from the system about another intense dark attribute fluctuation. Purple dark energy began surging up from the ground around him, and the system announced that the detection was complete. As gigantic pillars of dark energy erupted, the system began the ultimate calculation and compilation process. Fang Yi closed his eyes, allowing the swirling streams of purple dark energy to coil around his body. After the compilation process succeeded, Fang Yi's eyes opened, glowing brightly with dark energy. He had received a new dark attribute cultivation technique named the Boundless Dark Abyss, a special type of domain. Fang Yi realized this technique could erode spiritual power and cut off the opponent's energy source, helping him deal with even stranger anomalies. Suddenly, Su Qingying called out, asking Fang Yi if he felt the black mist reforming. She was horrified as she realized what was happening. Su Qingying was stunned watching Fang Yi's spiritual power fluctuation, realizing he was breaking through again even without any external influence. She couldn't believe her eyes, wondering if Fang Yi had absorbed the boundless power of the S-rank dark tide. Su Qingying recalled that the dark attribute, born from negative emotions, was the most terrifying thing and strictly forbidden by the authorities to absorb. Past research efforts to purify it had come at a catastrophic cost. Even a D-rank anomaly was enough to torment a pioneer, let alone an S-rank dark tide that could swallow dozens of powerhouses. She recalled a case where a 3-star Ghost Realm pioneer, who absorbed just a trace of C-rank residue, went mad and decayed, having to live in an asylum ever since. Meanwhile, Fang Yi let out a sigh of relief, the last wisps of dark aura dissipating from his palm. Having just finished dealing with the dark energy, Fang Yi immediately spoke up, demanding that the person who had been following them for a long time show themselves. A mysterious woman appeared, recognizing Fang Yi as the one who had sealed the dark tide. Su Qingying gasped, calling the person Garan. While Garan questioned Fang Yi about having just absorbed the dark attribute, Fang Yi casually admitted it, further shocking Su Qingying with his recklessness. Instantly, Garan lunged forward with astonishing speed. She drew a gun and aimed it directly at Fang Yi, making the atmosphere tense. Yi Yi and Feng Heiju panicked, Yi Yi shouting and asking Garan what she was doing. Su Qingying immediately shielded Fang Yi, pointing her gun at Garan and sharply demanding her purpose, reminding her that both the military and the association wanted to recruit Fang Yi. Fang Yi, in turn, mocked Su Qingying, saying their mission was to find the flower. But she seemed disappointed that the entire team hadn't died here. Garan remained silent, the barrel of her gun beginning to glow. Yi Yi angrily challenged Garan, saying that without Fang Yi, they would all have been annihilated. yet she just stood by, and now challenges him. Garan smiled, saying that his teammates seemed very fond of Fang Yi, and then congratulated him on passing the test. The whole group was bewildered, Yi asking what test he had passed, and Su Qingying sharing the same confusion. Fang Yi looked directly at Garan, asking if she had only come here to test him. Garan explained that given Fang Yi's talent, she didn't want to rely solely on reports, but wanted to see for herself what kind of person he was. She also said that this was the answer to why she hadn't intervened, leaving Su Qingying and Yi stunned. Releasing powerful purple spiritual energy, Garan declared that pioneers must adhere to the world's law of survival, where fate can change in an instant. She said the team was lucky to have a strong person protecting them, and revealed that nothing had attacked them because the creatures were genuinely terrified that Fang Yi had sealed the dark tide. Fang Yi calmly concluded that the dark tide itself was like a bully, only afraid of the strong and oppressing the weak. Garan turned away, offering to lead them to the lost tempering flower, because she knew the place better than anyone. While observing, Fang Yi secretly thought that the woman leading the way seemed unstable. Recalling that she was the only survivor after her team faced the dark tide, he deduced that her absolute adherence to rules, coupled with the sacrifice of her teammates, had pushed Garan to the brink, forming a self-destructive tendency. However, Fang Yi decided to let it go, telling Yi and Su Qingying to be understanding towards Garan. Yi wondered if Garan was injured, and Fang Yi confirmed that her spiritual power barrier was severely damaged, dropping at least 2 tiers from the 2-star spirit creation realm. That meant Garan was very seriously injured. Garan stumbled slightly, showing she was trying to endure her injury. She offered a brief thank you, but secretly thought that her injury didn't matter. The group entered a new area, the extreme dark zone, a vast graveyard. Garan led the procession, including Fang Yi's group and other pioneers, across the desolate land. Fang Yi maintained a serious expression, vigilant of everything around him. He suddenly noticed the skeleton of a fallen warrior along the way. Garan announced that they had arrived, specifically at the graveyard. In the distance, the lost tempering flower was radiating a brilliant light. Both Fang Yi and Garan stood silently, looking at their target. Suddenly, countless shadowy creatures with blood-red eyes emerged from the ground, surrounding the flower. Garan looked at the flower with a frenzied gaze, whispering that she had finally found it again. Fang Yi immediately sensed that something was wrong with Garan's behavior. A mysterious figure with blazing hands suddenly appeared and shouted loudly. The entity threw a fireball directly at Garan, yelling for her to wake up. When the fireball exploded, Garan was astonished to realize this was the power of the extremely rare Yang attribute. Garan struggled to defend herself as the Yang attribute fireball exploded right in front of her. She was stunned to realize the attacker was Fang Yi, standing there with his sword radiating energy. Garan wondered in disappointment if her preparations were still too inadequate. Feng Heiju and Su Qingying rushed over, with Su Qingying warning that Garan had been invaded by the dark attribute. Fang Yi declared that he alone was sufficient to handle the lost bloom. He confidently advanced deeper into the desolate region alone. Fang Yi stopped before the lost tempering flower, which was emitting a mystical blue light. Amidst the gloomy scenery and the beginning rain, he remained vigilant. Suddenly, a giant fox-like dark monster lunged out of the darkness to attack him. The fox daemon roared, revealing countless suffering souls imprisoned within its mouth. Fang Yi remained calm, summoning divine thunder with a blazing blue flame in his hand. He unleashed a rain of lightning bolts that struck the colossal monster directly. Struck by the blow, the fox daemon screamed in agony, leading Fang Yi to realize this was another S-rank anomaly. Determined to end the battle quickly, Fang Yi prepared a new skill and challenged the still undefeated monster. He deployed the Boundless Dark Abyss, an explosive purple energy domain that enveloped the fox daemon. The S-rank monster was completely trapped inside the dark energy sphere. The power of the domain began to erode and disintegrate the fox daemon's body. The monster could only let out a weak groan as its power rapidly diminished. The Boundless Dark Abyss downgraded the half-corrupted fox daemon from S-rank to B-rank, leading Fang Yi to realize its cultivation foundation was inherently unstable. Holding a blazing sword, Fang Yi declared the battle over as he launched the final attack. Observing from afar, Su Qingying noticed something different about Fang Yi's dark energy, and Garan agreed that it lacked the usual cold, suffocating aura. Garan explained that it was Fang Yi's personal domain, astonishing Su Qingying, who realized he had created it himself without a master's guidance. Garan continued that creating a domain using spiritual energy was a remarkable feat, and previously, the only person she knew who could do it was her master. She recalled the scene where her master had to deploy his domain to suppress a terrible catastrophe threatening the capital. As the domain dissipated, Fang Yi stepped out with incredible speed, causing Garan to exclaim in admiration. He smiled confidently, declaring that the final trouble in this mass grave area had been resolved. Then, Fang Yi advanced toward the lost tempering flower, which was glowing brightly amidst the desolate scenery. He carefully used both hands to gently pluck the precious flower. Holding the item, he confirmed that this was exactly what they were looking for. Garan watched him with a tense, expectant expression. Fang Yi handed the flower to Garan, declared the mission complete, and urged everyone to retreat immediately. He glanced behind him and said they still had a tail, referring to Lao Deng's group secretly following them. Garan thanked Fang Yi, admitting the mission would have been impossible without him, then ordered everyone to move out. As the group left, Garan lingered and once again expressed her sincere gratitude to Fang Yi. She revealed that Elder Wu, the only person to reach the King Kong realm in Jiaguo, was in critical condition, and the lost bloom was the only cure that could save him. Fang Yi silently pondered the phrase King Kong realm that he had just heard. As the group escaped the anomaly zone, Yi joyfully exclaimed that they finally saw daylight and were safely out. Outside, a military unit led by Wang Liang was waiting, happily confirming that they had indeed retrieved the lost bloom as Jilan had reported. Fang Yi's group stepped out of the anomaly zone, facing a crowd of waiting pioneers who were discussing who had found the item. Feng Heju was astonished by the scene before her eyes. She recognized the armored vehicle and the soldiers belonging to the Star God War Zone, the nation's most elite force, and suddenly realized Garan must be a high-ranking official. The Star God War Zone was introduced as the #1 force of the Xia nation, gathering the most elite talents and guarding precious cultivation lands. Fang Yi handed over the lost tempering flower, preserved in a special container, to an officer. The high-ranking officer of the Star God War Zone received the flower with a solemn expression. At the officer's command, all the soldiers simultaneously raised their hands in a respectful salute to Fang Yi. The officer assured Garan that he would immediately transport the flower to the hospital, and Garan stated she would follow shortly. Garan stood watching the armored vehicle carrying the lost bloom drive away. Garan turned to Fang Yi, admitting that his strength and achievements had likely spread throughout their war zone. She stated frankly that Fang Yi's strength alone was enough to overwhelm their most elite troops. Garan invited Fang Yi to join, promising the best cultivation resources and generous rewards, but he refused, wanting to follow his own path. Garan explained that the biggest threat currently was the rapidly increasing dark attribute anomalies. She emphasized that their sphere of influence was spreading like a tumor, forcing them to establish restricted zones to contain them. Garan clarified that she had no intention of pressuring him, but simply felt that an outstanding pioneer like Fang Yi deserved to know the truth. Fang Yi understood, and assured her that he would not ignore an anomaly if he encountered one, even if it involved strangers. Garan smiled, satisfied with his answer. She said she was happy to meet Fang Yi, and gave him a card as a token. Garan explained that this card allowed him free access to any restricted zone for cultivation, and then asked if he would like to meet Elder Wu. Fang Yi was surprised to learn that the person Garan wanted to introduce was the venerable King Kong realm expert, while Garan confirmed it was her master and offered to be friends. Hearing this, Fang Yi put the card into his pants pocket. He agreed to go with Garan, reasoning that having more friends meant more options, and then summoned a stream of blue lightning in his hand as a reciprocal gift. Fang Yi unexpectedly placed his hand on Garan, releasing a surge of lightning energy, and declaring that he could purify the remaining dark attribute toxins in her body. Garan was astonished as she felt the lightning attribute healing her, a warm, tingling sensation spreading throughout her body, dispelling discomfort and pain. She clearly felt the wounds caused by the corrosive dark energy healing, and the meridians and blood vessels in her body being purified. With tears streaming down her face, Garan felt reborn as all the toxins were completely eliminated by the rare lightning attribute. As the energy dissipated, Fang Yi inquired about her condition, and Garan joyfully confirmed that the remaining dark attribute was not only removed but completely shattered. Meanwhile, Su Qingying was observing an ambulance, where medical staff were providing emergency aid to a severely injured pioneer, wondering if they would survive. When she turned back, Su Qingying was surprised to see Fang Yi and Garan still there, and she noticed that Garan's injuries seemed to have vanished. Garan confirmed that the rare, pure lightning attribute had completely purified the remnants of the dark attribute in her body. Su Qingying stared at Fang Yi in astonishment, realizing that the Tyrant's lightning attribute could not only destroy but also save lives, which made him uncomfortably ask what she was looking at. Immediately, Su Qingying turned and called over the medical staff near the ambulance. She excitedly proposed collaborating with Fang Yi, believing that combining his spiritual energy with medical equipment could save many pioneers tormented by the dark attribute. Faced with Fang Yi's silence, Su Qingying bowed deeply, earnestly pleading for him to demonstrate his power once more. Fang Yi sighed, then released a massive vortex of lightning energy, asking if that was enough. A medical staff member exclaimed in astonishment that this was entirely possible. Such pure and high-level lightning attribute could indeed counteract the dark attribute. Garan explained to Su Qingying that Fang Yi had directly channeled energy into her to defeat the dark attribute, which gave Su Qingying the idea for him to shake hands with the injured pioneers. However, Su Qingying quickly dismissed that thought, realizing not everyone could withstand such power, while the medical staff reported that Garen's injuries were now only minor. The medical staff explained that to treat the unconscious pioneer, The required amount of lightning spiritual energy was 10 times that of Su Qingying's. And even if they survived, full recovery would be difficult. Fang Yi immediately asked how to transfer his spiritual energy, likening it to a blood transfusion, and was invited to follow a medical staff member. He was instructed to place his hand on a special device and release his spiritual energy, then calmly agreed. From a distance, Feng Heiju was secretly astonished to learn that Garan was a high-ranking official of the Star God War Zone, and that her cousin was so favored by them. She was even more surprised to see the usually aloof Garan actively making acquaintance and even giving a token to her cousin. Fang Yi turned to look, seemingly sensing his cousin's gaze. He asked Yi Yi and Feng Heiju how they were, and Feng Heiju replied that they had stabilized. Feng Heiju then declared that she and Yi Yi would go on missions by themselves to train, as they couldn't always rely on him, and were determined not to become a burden. Fang Yi smiled, instructing both of them to be careful while releasing energy into the device. He secretly thought to himself that these children were truly growing up. Afterwards, Su Qingying bid farewell to Fang Yi and Garan, while Garan invited Fang Yi to visit Elder Wu. The Ying squad's vehicle drove away, while Su Qingying irritably complained about Garan's group's aloofness. Inside the car, Su Qingying angrily gripped the steering wheel, lamenting that all her efforts were in vain, as Fang Yi had been snatched by the Star God War Zone. While her team members tried to calm her down, she bitterly reflected on the chaotic structure of the Spirit Association, where those in power were even more arrogant than the military. Su Qingying thought that the top elite squads were all a mess, and it was a great stroke of luck that they hadn't come to cause trouble for Fang Yi. Meanwhile, Garan and Fang Yi arrived at the Star God War Zone's medical base, home to its highest-level treatment area. Both entered the sick room, and Garan remarked how strange it was that a powerhouse of the King Kong realm was now just a withered old man. Garan explained that Elder Wu's condition was even worse before, looking like a zombie, and he hadn't woken up since using the Lost Bloom. Fang Yi looked at Elder Wu lying on the sickbed with a serious expression, wondering what he had endured. Garan began recounting the past, when a dark attribute catastrophe struck the capital, and her teacher, Elder Wu, used his own body to seal the rift in the sky. She explained that they had prepared a special method beforehand to transfer spiritual energy to him. That anomalous disaster was rated far beyond S-class, with destructive power many times greater than the dark tide they had previously faced. Garan emphasized the capital's importance, for once it was destroyed, the entire country would fall into chaos. She recounted that Elder Wu had to use his own domain to forcibly seal the anomaly, but unexpectedly, it was even more terrifying than they had judged. As a result, her teacher was corroded by the dark attribute, and if not for his King Kong realm, he would have turned to dust. After hearing the story, Fang Yi looked at the unconscious man on the bed and acknowledged Elder Wu as a truly respectable pioneer. He fell into thought, recalling the heroes of his previous life, and speculating that in that timeline, Elder Wu had likely sacrificed himself long ago. Suddenly, Fang Yi reached out towards Elder Wu, startling Garan, who asked what he intended to do to her teacher. Fang Yi placed his hand on Elder Wu's chest, reassuring Garan that he wanted to try removing the stubborn dark attribute from his body to help him wake up faster. Garan was astonished as Fang Yi channeled a blue stream of energy into Elder Wu's body, and she frantically reminded him that this was a lingering effect from an S-class disaster. For a moment, Garan recalled the image of Fang Yi holding the lost bloom. Finally, she decided to trust him and allowed him to try, whereupon Fang Yi poured all his energy into it. Garan secretly hoped Fang Yi could be a miracle, but still warned him to be careful because this dark attribute was even more terrifying than the dark tide. Fang Yi asserted that he knew, he could feel the power of darkness within Elder Wu's body. He remarked that even though it had been suppressed by the purifying power of the lost bloom, it still exuded immense pressure. Garan watched, holding her breath, with a tense and worried expression. As streams of dark energy began to spread and affect Fang Yi, Garan hastily yelled at him to focus. In response, Fang Yi closed his eyes, calmly activating his own brilliant golden spiritual energy to resist the invasion of darkness. When Fang Yi's golden eyes flashed, he realized he was in another place. His mind was drawn to a ruined city, where a giant red eye hovered in the sky. Fang Yi quickly understood that this was merely an illusion caused by contact with the dark attribute within Elder Wu's body. He confidently channeled a blue stream of energy, declaring he would eradicate this entity. Suddenly, the anomalous eye launched an attack with sharp dark tentacles. With sharp eyes, Fang Yi activated the Jin Yang Tu Na Gong, using protective energy to dodge. He moved agilely through the dark lightning streams, realizing they were no less powerful than the divine thunder he had once absorbed. The anomalous entity immediately summoned countless smaller, insect-like dark monsters. Fang Yi was astonished to see thousands of monsters pouring down, engulfing the entire city. Without hesitation, he switched to using Yang Fire, and the golden flame erupted brilliantly. Facing a gigantic demonic face formed from the darkness, Fang Yi created a sword of fire and resolved to eradicate them. He shouted and swung the fire sword, leaping into the air. A powerful slash created a massive golden streak of light that swept across the darkness. Fang Yi judged that this entity had been weakened by the illusion or by the effect of the lost tempering flower. He sensed that its power was now only equivalent to grade A, and was astonished to realize the scale of the battle Elder Wu had faced. Speculating that the real situation was even worse, Fang Yi deployed the boundless dark abyss technique. Sucked into the dark vortex, the anomalous entity cried out in horror, questioning if Fang Yi was even human. Fang Yi merely clicked his tongue and curled his lip in disdain. Returning to reality, Fang Yi's eyes glowed red as he declared he had found the target, much to Garen's astonishment. Inside the spiritual space, Fang Yi unleashed his full power, causing the dark entity to scream in agony. Before completely vanishing, its glowing red eye left a warning that they would soon return. Fang Yi realized that it was the residual consciousness left behind by the dark attribute anomaly. He pondered the threat, worrying that other catastrophes might also return in the same manner. Deciding he had to get out first, Fang Yi hovered amidst the desolate, ruined landscape. Returning to reality, Fang Yi's eyes shone brightly as he snapped them open. He raised his hand, summoning a stream of azure lightning, and pulled a mass of dark energy out of Elder Wu's body, astonishing Garan. The mass of dark energy, enveloped by the lightning, struggled violently. Fang Yi immediately deployed the Nine Dragons' heavenly fire seal, using fiery red chains of fire to seal it. He explained to Garan that this was the dark attribute residue remaining in Elder Wu's body, a remnant of a catastrophe-level anomaly. The dark sphere was sealed by the flames, its power greatly diminished thanks to the lost tempering flower and Elder Wu's own efforts. Garan looked at her teacher lying still, admiring that he had used his own body as a vessel to suppress the darkness, and affirmed that Fang Yi had saved his life. Fang Yi humbly replied that, without the lost tempering flower weakening it beforehand, he wouldn't have been able to completely purify the darkness either. He clenched his hand, and the azure lightning flared up, completely crushing the dark energy. The energy mass turned to dust, and Fang Yi declared that it had been completely neutralized, but he had one more thing to say. Standing beside the sickbed, Fang Yi warned that the dark residue in the recent illusion seemed to foreshadow their return, so they must always be ready. Garan replied that she had also heard that rumor. Fang Yi asked in surprise about the rumor she was referring to. Garan explained that there was a worrying rumor that, with the current reserve strength, Xia Nation might not survive the first year of a full-scale spiritual energy recovery. Garan asked Fang Yi if he believed that worrying rumor. Fang Yi sank into thought, wondering if his rebirth had changed the future, recalling the scene of Earth being nearly destroyed in his previous life. Garan placed a hand on Fang Yi's shoulder, advising him not to overthink things and informing him that Elder Wu would soon wake up. Fang Yi resolutely promised Garan that if the catastrophe returned, he would fight alongside her. He resolved that this time, he would definitely change the outcome of the inevitable battle against the calamity. That night, at an apartment complex, Fang Yi returned home. Meditating on a chair, he sensed he was on the verge of breaking through to the 2-star spirit forging realm, but still felt his current strength was insufficient. He recalled the terrifying power of the anomaly and the illusion, which manifested even after multiple layers of suppression. Suddenly, Fang Yi's attention was drawn to the glowing wild flower pot on the table. He smiled, admitting that not bringing it along last time was a mistake. Fang Yi decided to take the flower outside so it could have a chance to shine and level up. He went to the back mountain area, noting that the association's plant research center had restored the forest very well. In a secluded spot, Fang Yi placed the flower pot on the ground, silently thanking Su Qingying and the others for taking care of this place. He instructed the flower to only nibble a little, because with its appetite, it could drain the entire forest. Immediately, the flower's roots stretched out, plunging deep into the earth to begin absorbing energy. A massive stream of green energy erupted from the flower, draining the vitality of everything nearby. When the surrounding vegetation had withered, Fang Yi stood watching with his arms crossed, judging that it was enough for this time. He pulled the flower, now brilliantly glowing, out of the ground and decided to find another place for it to continue absorbing. Fang Yi mused, judging that a desolation attribute anomaly like this flower should at least qualify as grade A. Fang Yi walked on the mountain, holding the flower pot, and noticed that the animals had fled in fear of the desolation energy radiating from him. Suddenly, a terrifying howl echoed throughout the forest, startling him. He quickly identified the sound as the howl of a wolf. Before his eyes, a pack of dark wolves was undergoing a horrifying evolution under the blood moon. Fang Yi confronted them, realizing the pack leader was the Wolf King and it was about to complete its transformation. With a sky-shattering howl, the Wolf King completed its evolution, its entire body erupting with a menacing stream of green aura. Sensing the surging spiritual power, Fang Yi wondered if the monster was breaking through to grade A anomaly status. He analyzed that the Wolf King had likely absorbed dark energy during its evolution to gain the corrosive poison attribute. Observing the poisonous smoke rising from the Wolf King, Fang Yi concluded that the dark attribute had become too strong, pushing it to become a dual attribute creature. Nevertheless, he calmly assessed that its power was only equivalent to an A-rank anomaly. Deciding to act, Fang Yi pulled the flower out of the soil pot, preparing for battle. He plunged the flower straight into the ground, concluding that the real danger was the entire wolf pack, which could cause terrible devastation if they descended the mountain. "Let's begin," Fang Yi whispered, as the desolation energy erupted from the flower, ready to meet the charging Wolf King. From the foot of the mountain, a group of mysterious cloaked figures witnessed the gigantic column of emerald green energy shooting straight into the sky. A green-haired member of the group commented that the Wolf King had finished evolving, and asked about the contamination level. Another replied that the number was 90. The green-haired man screamed in horror, saying that the Wolf King's base strength alone was already close to the peak of the Ghost Axe realm. He desperately concluded that their entire squad couldn't win, as their strongest member, a blonde youth, had only just broken through to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. Another member with a sword on his back realized that the energy surge was the dark attribute, explaining the unusually high contamination level. The blonde youth snapped out of his daze, shouting that the Wolf King had evolved into a dual attribute anomaly, an extremely rare mutation. The blonde youth determined that they couldn't win, but they had to stop the wolf pack from evolving, or the entire city would be in danger, and immediately requested backup. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, causing the entire pioneer team to lose their balance. They realized this was a completely different anomaly, unrelated to the wolf pack. The reading on the captain's device skyrocketed to 1000 as a massive column of emerald green energy erupted from the mountain, making the entire team realize in horror that it was desolation power. The surging desolation energy coiled like living vines, rushing toward the panic-stricken pioneer team as they fled. The blonde captain yelled, ordering his teammates to quickly evacuate all residents in the vicinity. However, he suddenly paused when he realized the desolation power was not spreading toward them. The entire team watched the strange energy sink deep into the mountain, making the danger seem to vanish. Beneath the ground, roots sprouted, blossoming into white flowers before the desolation energy erupted, turning the entire forest into a sea of flowers. Amidst that scene, Fang Yi stood calmly, watching the Wolf King, which had just completed its evolution. The monster roared and charged forward, swinging its razor-sharp claws at Fang Yi. Fang Yi coldly explained that these spirit flowers would continuously regenerate and multiply until they drained the life force of their enemies. Vines from the central flower reached out, seizing the entire wolf pack, while Fang Yi pointed out that the Wolf King might resist, but its pack could not. A wolf, tightly bound by the vines, howled in pain as the flowers clung to its body. In just a moment, the wolf's life force was completely drained, leaving only a dry skeleton, before turning to dust. After absorbing the wolf pack's life force, the white flowers turned blood red, staining the entire forest in a deadly crimson hue. Enraged, the Wolf King opened its mouth and fired a stream of emerald green toxic energy toward Fang Yi. The destructive energy stream collided with the vines, creating a massive explosion. But Fang Yi remained unharmed, declaring that the attack was useless because the desolation attribute of the flowers had taken deep root in this forest. The Wolf King looked up in horror at the mountaintop, where a gigantic red flower had sprouted, turning the entire mountain into an endless sea of flowers. Fang Yi mocked the Wolf King, saying that even with intelligence, it didn't understand the law that a wildfire never truly dies, and the spring wind will make it bloom again. Realizing that the small red flower was the source of power, the Wolf King roared and charged straight toward it. Fang Yi challenged the small flower, wondering what it would do now that it had been discovered. In response, the red flower suddenly swelled abnormally, extending massive roots to seize Fang Yi. It lunged straight at the astonished Wolf King. Its gigantic petals enveloped the monster. The Wolf King struggled desperately as it was completely swallowed by the flower. Inside the bloom, the Wolf King's dark energy was drained, causing it to disintegrate. Fang Yi observed the scene, wondering why the Wolf King allowed the dark attribute to completely corrode it. The deep red petals coiled tightly, imprisoning and digesting the monster within. The Wolf King was completely trapped, bound by strands of red energy. Fang Yi was astonished by the overwhelming desolation energy. Realizing that the flowers had created their own cultivation technique, he declared that once trapped in this sea of flowers, no anomaly could escape. Soon, the Wolf King was reduced to a dry skeleton. Fang Yi explained that the flowers would regenerate and turn everything into dust. After the enemy was destroyed, Fang Yi stood before the gigantic, brightly glowing desolate spirit flower. He decided to name this cultivation technique the Endless Spirit Sea. A notification appeared, confirming that the spirit flower had successfully inscribed the desolation attribute cultivation technique, Endless Spirit Sea. Amidst the fluttering petals, Fang Yi looked directly at his creation. He commanded the small flower that it was time for it to evolve. At the command center, a red alert sounded as staff detected an A-rank anomaly, along with 2 completely different streams of spiritual power. A high-ranking leader immediately requested the location of the new threat. The staff reported that it appeared in the forest at the foot of the mountain, exactly where Captain Su was monitoring, and simultaneously questioned the mission status of the destroyer squad. The leader frowned, listening to the urgent report transmitted through his earpiece. From the scene, a destroyer squad member reported that a massive stream of desolation energy had wiped out the A-rank Wolf King and then burrowed straight into the mountain, causing strange flowers to bloom everywhere. The destroyer squad was forced to maintain distance, not daring to approach due to concerns about the unpredictable effects of the desolation energy. Recognizing a danger even greater than the previous demonic vine incident, the destroyer squad captain requested backup, prompting the leader to order the deployment of elite units. However, the pink-haired girl accompanying him had a familiar feeling. Realizing that this incident was connected to that person, she quickly interrupted, asserting that this desolation energy source definitely came from Fang Yi, and the leader confirmed that the boy's home was right in that area. The pink-haired girl trusted that Fang Yi would protect everyone. Meanwhile, on the mountain behind them, countless crimson petals fluttered in the air. Fang Yi stood before the spirit flower, which had evolved into a gigantic red bloom, realizing it was absorbing the Wolf King to gain a second attribute. The gigantic flower trembled, radiating powerful energy. Fang Yi was slightly surprised to realize its new attribute was fire. He touched the stem, astonished by its absurdly simple method of evolution, merely devouring others. The evolution was complete. The spirit flower was now an A-rank anomaly, named the Desolate Flame Spirit Flower, possessing the dual attributes of desolation and fire, and could be nurtured within the Boundless Dark Abyss. Fang Yi was surprised to see the name Boundless Dark Abyss appear. He suddenly had the idea to place the spirit flower into his own Boundless Dark Abyss, speculating that it might absorb dark energy to evolve once more. Immediately, Fang Yi enveloped the spirit flower in a sphere of dark energy to begin the new cultivation process. While preparing, Fang Yi suddenly sensed a powerful surge of energy and wondered about it. His eyes glowed as he realized someone was breaking through to the 2-star spirit forging realm. In a nearby forest, a strange man was absorbing a massive stream of energy from the sky. He felt the new power surging through him. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth seemed to merge with his body. After the breakthrough, he stood up, declaring that he had found his goal. He was ecstatic upon realizing he had reached the legendary 2-star spirit forging realm. In a room, he looked at the screen, swearing to crush that fire attribute pioneer to become number 1. Sensing the stranger's presence, Fang Yi cautiously asked if anyone was there. Instantly, a massive fireball shot toward him, making Fang Yi realize his opponent was a fire attribute pioneer. He quickly generated a sphere of dark energy to counter it. Fang Yi rushed forward, using dark energy to block the fireball. Realizing the opponent had finally revealed himself, he coldly stated that the other person had been hiding there for a long time, without concealing their spiritual power. The stranger landed, secretly assessing Fang Yi as a cultivator who had just recently broken through. His entire body ablaze, he introduced himself as a battle-hungry freelance pioneer and asked how Fang Yi had managed to dodge his attack. Fang Yi remained silent, scrutinizing his opponent. The stranger sneered, realizing he had forgotten to introduce himself. He roared his name, Jiang Lu, then charged to attack, forcing Fang Yi to leap into the air. Hovering in the air, Fang Yi raised his hand, preparing to summon divine thunder in response. A massive bolt of lightning struck down from the sky directly onto Jiang Lu's position. Jiang Lu was startled by the incoming lightning energy. He asked himself in horror what this thing was. A gigantic pillar of lightning slammed down exactly where he stood. After the attack, Jiang Lu coughed up a plume of smoke. He struggled to stand amidst the residual electrical sparks. Jiang Lu couldn't believe what had just happened, wondering why his opponent possessed the lightning attribute. Suddenly, Fang Yi appeared right behind him like a ghost. He grabbed Jiang Lu's head and slammed his face into the ground with immense force, releasing another surge of electricity. Fang Yi coldly asked for the opponent's name again. Pinned to the ground, Jiang Lu could only remain silent in terror. He couldn't accept defeat, telling himself he was a 1-star spirit forging cultivator, the fastest among the pioneers. In his delusion, he recalled the pride of possessing the rare fire attribute, believing everyone should bow before him. Fang Yi merely clicked his tongue in annoyance. Jiang Lu screamed in extreme pain as the electric current tortured his body. Fang Yi recognized his opponent's confusion and silently affirmed that this was his true power. He mocked the excessive confidence of today's youth. Jiang Lu panicked as he felt Fang Yi's pressure surpassing his own by 2, perhaps even 3 realms. He desperately believed that he, Jiang Lu, was about to die here. Completely overwhelmed, Jiang Lu frantically begged Fang Yi not to kill him. Fang Yi silently looked down at his defeated opponent with cold eyes. Releasing him, he advised that a pioneer's power should not be used against other people. Fang Yi turned and walked away, telling Jiang Lu to go clean up some anomalies if he had the time. He clicked his tongue, showing his displeasure. Left behind, Jianglu wondered in astonishment how someone's spiritual energy could be so powerful. He was stunned, unsure if his opponent was too extraordinary or if he himself was too weak. Elsewhere in the city at night, the story continued. Jianglu gloomily returned to the base, attracting the attention of his two teammates. His expression was completely devastated and absent-minded. A red-haired teammate scoffed, while the other reminded him that picking fights never ends well. The red-haired teammate continued to scold Jianglu for his recklessness, warning that he was only making more enemies for himself. He warned that Jianglu's belligerence would one day bring disaster. Suddenly, Jianglu slumped silently onto the sofa, surprising the other two. A teammate approached, asking what had happened and why Jianglu was acting so unusually. The red-haired teammate asked about the challenge match, and Jianglu mumbled that he had been defeated in a single blow. The other person was stunned and demanded that Jianglu explain clearly. Jianglu burst into tears, repeating that he had been defeated in the blink of an eye. He clutched his head in despair, regretting that he hadn't recognized the disparity and brought this humiliation upon himself. Recalling the terrifying moment, Jianglu remembered how his strongest technique had been shattered by his opponent's lightning. A teammate tried to comfort the distraught Jianglu, suggesting that only someone from a high-level combat zone could rival him. The other remained skeptical, reiterating that previous assessments showed the opponent's strength was inferior to Jianglu's. Jianglu angrily yelled that they couldn't understand because they hadn't witnessed it firsthand. In a panic, he recalled facing a true monster, whose terrifying lightning pressure made his head feel like it would explode. The two teammates were speechless when Jianglu insisted his intuition couldn't be wrong. He recounted that the opponent was a top-tier dual-attribute pioneer, and their true power must be at least at the 3-star spirit-forging realm. The red-haired teammate was aghast, believing that if it were true, that person would become the nightmare of every pioneer. They realized that power and talent were terrifying, while Jianglu admitted he had been crushed by a single move. Surprisingly, Jianglu suddenly asked if he should go and learn from the very person who defeated him. Meanwhile, Fang Yi, who was meditating, felt his chance for a breakthrough suddenly vanish. He realized the problem was not with his own body. After regulating his breath, Fang Yi, with fiery eyes, concluded that the cause was external. The surrounding spiritual energy was no longer resonating, preventing him from condensing the energy needed to advance. Fang Yi had a premonition that a massive incident was about to occur. The city sky was suddenly covered by lightning, making him fear that the spiritual energy recovery was starting earlier than anticipated. Fang Yi immediately called Jilan to check on the military situation but couldn't connect. He worried about the worst-case scenario, a mandatory information blackout due to a severe anomaly. Suddenly, his phone rang with an incoming call from Su Qingying. Over the unstable line, Su Qingying reported that the situation had changed and urgently requested assistance. As Fang Yi tried to listen, a bat-like anomaly smashed the window behind him, and Su Qingying's signal was completely lost. A bat-like anomaly suddenly slammed hard into the window, cracking the glass. Fang Yi's fiery red eyes turned sharp as he recognized the danger. The monster shattered the window glass and lunged straight into the room at terrifying speed. Still seated, Fang Yi calmly remarked that its action was reckless. He touched the floor, summoning streams of blue lightning. With just one strike, Fang Yi used the lightning to cleanly destroy the monster. Hearing the noise, Feng Heizhu rushed out in a panic, intending to warn her cousin about the anomaly. She was stunned to see Fang Yi standing amidst the residual electrical sparks and asked what had happened. Looking through the broken window, Fang Yi explained that an anomaly attacking the house was a very bad sign. They both looked out at the city, which was covered by a lightning storm, worried about an impending catastrophe. Fang Yi judged that the behavior of attacking a pioneer's home was extremely unusual for a ghost-carving realm anomaly. He turned and ordered Feng Heizhu to gather all the pioneers she could contact. Then, Fang Yi stepped onto the windowsill, preparing to leave to deal with the situation. He entrusted the protection of the house to Feng Heizhu, confident in her impending breakthrough power. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Su Qingying's team reported unstable communication signals. Standing on the rooftop, the team worried about a high-level disaster as their equipment alerted them to an anomaly of an unknown rank. Su Qingying looked up at the swirling sky, secretly hoping it was just a false alarm. She immediately contacted them via radio, requesting patrol units to continuously report on the contamination status. Suddenly, a swarm of bat-like anomalies burst out of the vortex in the sky, terrifying the entire team. Across the city, an urgent announcement was broadcast, warning of the heaviest rainfall in 50 years and urging everyone to stay indoors. Under the pouring rain, people on the street felt uneasy about the terrifying atmosphere, wondering if the apocalypse was near. Meanwhile, Zhang Lu and his teammates were also speeding through the city on motorcycles, complaining about the unusual weather. The teammate looked at Jiang Lu, wondering whether to continue or stop amidst the raging storm. Suddenly, a bat-shaped dark anomaly swooped down directly at Jiang Lu, initiating the attack. Without hesitation, Jiang Lu roared and summoned a fireball in his hand, ready to retaliate. He unleashed a powerful barrage of flames towards the monster, while his teammate was astonished that the anomaly dared to challenge a fire element user. However, Jiang Lu's attack seemed ineffective, and he was shocked to realize the bat was not incinerated. The teammate was utterly terrified upon discovering that the anomalies could regenerate after being burned, and quickly shouted for everyone to go home. A few hours earlier, in a high-level meeting, leaders were discussing cooperation with Fang Yi. The meeting was abruptly interrupted by an emergency warning, startling the leader and the girl with pink hair. On the screen, a reporter from the scene with bleeding eyes announced that an A-class anomaly was about to descend, and a swarm of giant bats had gathered on the outskirts. The leader immediately ordered the deployment of teams and declared he would personally lead the charge, while the girl beside him remained stunned by the news of the A-class anomaly. The situation worsened when the reporter screamed that the latest prediction indicated this was an S-class anomaly, just as a colossal monster appeared behind him. With a last dying word of no limits, the reporter's signal was cut off, leaving only the image of the monster's glowing red eyes. In a military zone, the high-tech corridors were deserted, signaling an all-out mobilization. Outside, a swarm of giant anomalous bats was surrounding a military base, forcing them to use heavy energy weapons for defense. Amidst the chaos, Garan appeared. She charged into the swarm of bats and unleashed purple energy slashes. With sharp and determined eyes, Garan focused her power. She unleashed a massive energy net, tearing through numerous anomalies in a wide-area attack. Garen's ability was revealed to be Soul Energy Mutation, a high-level variant of the metal attribute, allowing her to shape and amplify spiritual energy up to 200%. Garan noticed the dark element bats were continuously multiplying, seemingly trying to prevent them from achieving some objective. The blonde teammate smiled, remarking that Commander Garan's wounds had not only healed, but her power had also grown stronger. However, he reported that the situation was not optimistic, with only 2 high-ranking officers left to defend the area, and asked Garan for her next orders. Garan announced that their signals were completely jammed by anomalies, while a swarm of giant bats was charging in to attack. She immediately ordered the first and second teams to hold the line, while the rest would follow her to break through and rendezvous with teams from other sectors. Looking up at the sky, Garan was horrified to realize that the anomaly's ultimate target was not the Forbidden Zone, but the entire city. Meanwhile, on the ground, civilians fled in panic under the torrential rain, with only a female streamer and her colleague remaining. Despite the danger, the female streamer decided to continue filming, believing this terrifying weather was a hot topic for views. She told herself she had to risk everything for a valuable shot, just like her previous success. Suddenly, her colleague was utterly horrified as a terrible scene reflected in his eyes. A panther-shaped dark monster lunged out of the rain, attacking the colleague, causing him to scream in agony. The female streamer fell to the ground, screaming for help amidst the swarm of anomalous bats attacking civilians and the sound of gunfire from afar. Another bat attacked a woman, sinking its fangs into her shoulder amidst screams. Just as a bat was about to pounce on the female streamer, a blue energy blade suddenly appeared, blocking the attack. A mysterious figure landed, using a powerful kick to send the monster flying, saving the female streamer at the last moment. Su Qingying appeared with 2 members of the Ying team, telling the female streamer that her teammates would escort her home safely. While ordering the 2 members to take the female streamer away, Su Qingying received a report that the number of mutated bats was increasing and showed signs of evolution. Su Qingying angrily yelled into the communicator, ordering the immediate evacuation of civilians as the evolved bats fed on humans. Standing on a high road, the Ying team received a report that their area had the highest level of anomalous contamination, and they unanimously confirmed the mission. Immediately, a team member leaped from high above, heading straight for the heart of the battle. Amidst the ruined city, Fang Yi charged into an attack against a giant anomalous bat. Standing among the monsters, he wondered if they had evolved close to the 3-star Ghost Axe realm. He swung his sword, creating a brilliant blaze that incinerated the enemy. With determined eyes, he silently observed the situation. Fang Yi assessed that this anomaly was very different, constantly mutating and appearing in all densely populated areas. He calculated that locating his teammates would be difficult, and decided to handle each area himself. Then, he unleashed the Boundless Dark Domain technique, ordering the anomalies to become nutrients for his spirit blossom. Meanwhile, Fang Yi recalled his old teammates, and feared that the worst-case scenario would come true. 10 minutes later, elsewhere, Su Qingying was fighting on top of a building, frustrated by her inability to eliminate the endless swarm of bats. Her spiritual energy was gradually depleting, making her worried about the safety of her 2 missing teammates. Suddenly, a desperate cry for help echoed from behind. Meanwhile, Han Li also recognized the severity of the situation, recalling the disaster that had occurred in the capital. He unleashed sharp energy blasts towards a colossal monster. However, he was quickly surrounded and overwhelmed by a swarm of dark bats. Han Li's eyes showed clear fear as he realized the critical situation. Su Qingying looked up at the sky in horror, realizing that countless anomalies were gathering to form an anomaly king. The city was gradually collapsing under a seemingly unstoppable disaster. 2 female pioneers hid in despair, believing the entire city was about to be destroyed. Reports from the battlefield continuously updated on the sacrifices of pioneer teams and the appearance of an SSS-class anomaly, codenamed Locust. At the command center, staff reported that casualties were too heavy, and reinforcements would not arrive in time. At the command center, a subordinate reported to the high-ranking leader that the city was surrounded by black fog, cutting off all external communication and reinforcements. The panoramic view showed the city was now completely isolated, submerged in the dark mist and swarms of bat anomalies. The leader declared this a life-or-death moment, and as a pioneer, he was ready to live and die with the city alongside everyone else. He asserted that the anomalies would have to step over their corpses if they wanted to destroy this place, while another report indicated that the spiritual energy reserves were nearly depleted. On the battlefield, Su Qingying was overwhelmed by the bat swarm and ordered preparations for the final option, the Scorched Earth Protocol, to prevent the disaster from spreading. She concentrated all her remaining spiritual energy into her palm, preparing for a decisive attack. A massive stream of icy energy shot straight into the sky, aimed at the invisible enemy. Her attack collided with a giant bat monster, a powerful entity at the 3-star spirit-forging realm. The monster roared terrifyingly, easily shattering her technique. Struck by the backlash, Su Qingying coughed up blood and realized she was almost completely drained of spiritual energy. The anomalous Bat King swooped down, preparing to finish off the free-falling Su Qingying. Despite being severely wounded with no retreat, her eyes still shone with a look of grim determination. She gathered her last reserves of strength, ready to sacrifice herself to unleash a final attack. Just then, a brilliant streak of fire suddenly shot forward, cutting between her and the monster. A fierce fire explosion erupted, leaving Su Qingying astonished. Fang Yi appeared with his blazing sword, standing in front of Su Qingying, who, astonished, called him boss. Fang Yi's eyes flared with 2 distinct energies, yang fire on one side and thunder, lightning on the other. He swung his sword, which was amplified by the power of divine thunder. Fang Yi faced the anomalous Bat King alone, his aura completely unshaken. He unleashed a powerful lightning slash, carrying strength that had been tempered 100-fold. The core burst attack swept through the city, creating a chain of continuous explosions. Fang Yi landed next to Su Qingying, apologizing for being late. He explained that there were too many swarms of anomalies on the way, while the exhausted Su Qingying warned that they could regenerate. Both looked up at the bat swarm converging into a vortex in the sky, and Fang Yi calmly replied that he already knew. He confidently concentrated dark energy into his palm, declaring that once he said he would do something, he would achieve it, simultaneously deploying the boundless dark domain. Su Qingying looked at him in astonishment, thinking to herself that this city still had an unparalleled pioneer in Fang Yi. The dark energy sphere spun rapidly in Fang Yi's hand as he prepared to strike. He turned to check on Su Qingying, who replied that she was fine and thanked him for saving her life. Fang Yi looked at her with resolute eyes, without the slightest hesitation. Suddenly, he placed his hand on Su Qingying's shoulder, using blue lightning energy to purify the residual dark energy within her. Su Qingying was astonished to realize that this advanced lightning attribute reduced her pain and healed her wounds faster than the association's medicine. Meanwhile, at a command center, an employee joyfully reported that the swarms of anomalies seemed to be thinning out, but a high-ranking official immediately refuted this, announcing that all rescue teams had lost contact and the number of anomalies outside had not decreased at all. He delivered a terrifying conclusion. The pioneers inside the city were dwindling, and an anomaly king was about to be born from the convergence of the bat swarm. The official turned and walked away, sadly thinking that he might never return home to see his parents again. Back on the battlefield, Su Qingying explained to Fang Yi that this was a Super S-class anomaly, even stronger than the one at the Star God War Zone. She called it a great catastrophe, and the energy cocoon in the sky was merely a warning. Su Qingying compared them to people who sensed the disaster but were powerless, because once the entity inside was born, the entire city would be destroyed. Finally, she explained that anomalies evolve by devouring each other. But dark anomalies were different. They served a perfect individual, like minions. Su Qingying concluded her explanation, calling this perfectly evolved individual an anomaly king. She worriedly told Fang Yi that although he was very strong, he had not yet reached the Diamond Realm, and even the strongest pioneer was bedridden after sealing a catastrophe. With an urgent expression, Su Qingying urged Fang Yi to leave immediately and tell the military to abandon this place, as she did not want to lose another genius pioneer. Fang Yi unexpectedly flicked her forehead, joking that perhaps her 20 years of schooling had vanished due to the spiritual energy recovery. He asserted that this was his home, and he would have no regrets, no matter the cost, to protect it. Su Qingying was completely speechless at his determination. Having said that, Fang Yi turned and walked away decisively. He stood atop a tall building, holding his blazing sword, looking up at the massive vortex of countless bat anomalies swirling in the sky. Fang Yi realized they were using the entire city as a sacrifice for the birth of the Anomaly King and decided to unleash his golden radiance power, his entire body radiating a brilliant golden aura. He turned and asked to borrow Su Qingying's wrist communicator. Fang Yi declared that he would go up there to stop everything early, taking the device from Su Qingying's hand. The anomalous vortex in the sky continued to spin, creating a menacing sight. At the command center, an officer suddenly announced that the signal from Captain Su, a missing pioneer, had just reappeared. The screen showed the target accelerating at an unbelievable speed, heading straight for the area with the highest level of contamination, leading them to conclude this was a suicidal act. The commanding officer yelled into the communicator, demanding that Specialist Su Qingying stop immediately and wait for support. The communicator in Fang Yi's hand lit up. He activated it and spoke into the device, asking if they could hear him. The commanding officer angrily questioned Fang Yi's identity, but he cut him off and ordered everyone to connect with him to attack the Anomaly King. Meanwhile, a brilliant golden light shot straight into the sky, heading toward the Great Cocoon, and Fang Yi requested that they provide all equipment and intelligence to help him destroy it. The commanding officer was left speechless, completely stunned by what he had just heard. The commanding officer immediately ordered the entire control center to dedicate all resources to connecting with and providing intelligence to Fang Yi. A liaison confirmed the order, reporting that the giant cocoon was surrounded by a storm of anomalies, and suggested an emergency exit route. Meanwhile, another staff member pointed out that the main routes were blocked, suggesting they should break through via the secondary roads to the southeast. Just then, Fang Yi transformed into a streak of brilliant golden light, streaking across the city sky. The liaison frantically announced that Fang Yi had been spotted by 2 A-rank anomalies, equivalent in power to the 2-star spirit forging realm, and shouted for him to evade. The commanding officer desperately thought that there was no time left to retreat. Evasion was impossible. The entire control room plunged into chaos as the staff screamed in fear. In the air, Fang Yi calmly dodged the attack of a giant shadow anomaly, a strategy already formed in his mind. The commanding officer was stunned when the anomaly source vanished from the screen, realizing Fang Yi was the legendary Tyrant after he effortlessly destroyed the S-rank anomaly. Joy erupted throughout the control room, the staff cheering for being saved by an unexpectedly powerful pioneer. With blazing red eyes, Fang Yi analyzed that imbuing the flame into his blade gave him the upper hand against the dark anomalies. He realized his flame significantly slowed down their regenerative abilities. Slashing apart a monster, he thought that if his power were slightly higher, a single strike would be enough to prevent them from fully reforming. Facing the endless swarm of anomalies, Fang Yi launched a dazzling light attack, feeling frustrated that he couldn't rely solely on speed. Suddenly, a grotesque green energy sphere appeared and began to contract in the sky. From that sphere, countless bat-like anomalies were born, plunging toward the city. Soon, a gigantic swarm of bats completely covered the night sky. A group of observing pioneers noticed something strange when the bat swarm suddenly ceased its attack. Elsewhere, the stern high-ranking leader explained that they were being summoned by the Anomaly King, signaling that its arrival was accelerating. Looking up at the sky, red with tens of thousands of bats, a pioneer wondered if they still had a chance. While in the distance, Garan prepared to unleash an extremely powerful energy strike. A blonde pioneer asked Garan how long it would take to reach the city center, and she replied that it would take at least half an hour. Both looked at the dense swarm of bat anomalies in the sky. Garan worried that the Anomaly King would be born before they could arrive, while her teammate commented that their numbers were 10 times the estimate for an S-rank disaster. A powerful energy attack exploded amidst the bat swarm, but the observer knew that even large-scale thermobaric weapons couldn't wipe them out. Witnessing other pioneers struggling in combat, Garan gritted her teeth, wondering if they truly lacked the manpower to break through. Standing on a military vehicle, the blonde pioneer angrily stated that they were completely short-handed because some other pioneers were just watching from afar. Suddenly, Garan noticed something unusual happening. Her teammate pointed to the sky, where the bat swarm was converging into a gigantic vortex, and Garan realized that was the exact spot where the Anomaly King was about to descend. Suddenly, a brilliant pillar of fire shot straight up into the sky from the city center, making Garan wonder if it was Fang Yi. The blonde pioneer looked at Garan in astonishment, seemingly seeking confirmation. Garan smiled confidently, dismissing her previous worries. Motivated, she ordered all units to increase firepower, declaring that the Star God Warzone would not abandon the city. In midair, Fang Yi rushed forward like a blazing meteor, piercing through the sea of bat anomalies. From another location, Garan and Su Qingying both witnessed that terrifying sea of fire. In a ruined building, Feng Heiju cheered happily, recognizing it as her cousin's swordsmanship. Provoked, the demonic bat swarm, with blood-red eyes, shrieked and rushed toward the intruder. Surrounded by the bat swarm, Fang Yi realized they were all rushing to stop him. He swung his blazing sword, thinking to himself that this was exactly what he wanted. Fang Yi's power erupted into a dazzling explosion of light, engulfing the center of the bat swarm over the city. The attack transformed into a massive energy stream, sweeping away thousands of bats in its path. Fang Yi's eyes blazed with pure power as he unleashed his full capabilities. Fang Yi, burning in the yang fire, felt a familiar sensation. He realized that even in this fragile spiritual energy environment, he could still sense the opportunity for a breakthrough. With a confident smile, Fang Yi decided to accelerate the process. He exerted his strength, creating a vortex of dark energy in his palm. Fang Yi unleashed the boundless dark abyss skill, opening a gigantic spatial gate over the city. Immediately afterward, he summoned his spirit blossom. The desolation spirit blossom appeared, enveloped by lightning, and began to drain the life force of the bat anomalies to aid his breakthrough. The flower bloomed, releasing its full desolation power. From the center of the flower, countless dark tendrils stretched out. The bat monsters were captured by the tendrils, and had their energy drained amidst shrieks. The entire swarm of anomalies was mercilessly devoured by the gigantic flower. Fang Yi stood firm in the center of the spirit blossom after it finished absorbing the enemies. He looked up at the anomalous cocoon in the sky, and realized it was just an illusion, tangible yet untouchable. Nevertheless, Fang Yi could clearly hear the heartbeat of the Anomaly King. He felt it like an ancient war drum, a primal declaration of war against all creation. That heartbeat had the power to stir the darkest and most insane desires within the human heart. Fang Yi deduced that since the enemy was still hiding in fear, it definitely hadn't fully hatched yet. He contacted the command center to confirm the location, and was informed that the Anomaly King's coordinates had been synchronized. Immediately, a device on Fang Yi's wrist glowed bright red. The device shot out a targeting beam, pointing directly at the Anomaly King's true location, causing him to silently confirm the target. Fang Yi utilized the Golden Yang Qi cultivation technique, unleashing his full energy. A blinding, brilliant golden light erupted, sweeping away everything in its path. Witnessing the sight, Garan wondered about this ability in astonishment, while her blonde teammate denied it was the fire attribute. Garan, however, recognized it as the Yang attribute, which counters darkness. In the control room, the commanding officer and communications staff were stunned upon receiving reports that the number of anomalies was rapidly decreasing, with the siege density dropping to only 100. Ground forces reported that all clusters of bat anomalies were receiving a signal and simultaneously retreating toward the city. From afar, Garan observed the brilliant sphere of light and realized Fang Yi was targeting the Anomaly King's cocoon. The blonde youth confirmed that this was the Tyrant, known as the Heavenly Fireblade, while Garan marveled at the pure power of the Yang attribute but remained worried that he had to face the Anomaly King alone. When her teammate urged them to enter the city, Garan suddenly stopped him and pointed in one direction. Her eyes widened in horror at what she had just seen. The gigantic anomaly cocoon in the sky began to crack, signaling that the Anomaly King was hatching earlier than expected. Below, the surviving pioneers roared in fury, swearing to eradicate the source of all the evil that had killed their comrades. Inside a building, Feng Heju's group realized that passive defense would only lead to death, and the creature inside the cocoon was seeking to be born through the blood and suffering of the entire city. Elsewhere, Su Qingying was using energy to heal an injured member of the Ying squad. Feng Heju gritted her teeth in hatred, thinking of the countless families and friends who had been murdered by B, A, and even S-rank anomalies. Suddenly, an idea struck her as she recalled the flower her cousin had summoned. It had absorbed the power of the bats and possessed the desolation attribute. She was delighted to realize that her cousin had also mastered the desolation attribute. Immediately, Feng Heju called upon her teammates to channel all their spiritual energy into the plant network Fang Yi had created to empower him. The entire group responded in unison, raising their hands together to channel energy toward the sky. The high-ranking association leader silently observed the converging streams of energy. He analyzed that the pioneers were gathering spiritual energy, but their combined strength was not powerful enough to directly attack the anomalies at that altitude. Realizing the plan, the association leader understood that the pioneers were channeling energy into Fang Yi's summoned entity. Without hesitation, he also unleashed his spiritual energy and declared that he would join the support effort. Immediately, other pioneers also responded, unanimously deciding to contribute their strength. Countless streams of blue energy simultaneously shot up into the night sky. On the ground, while tending to her teammate, Su Qingying suddenly sensed a massive source of converging energy. She looked up in astonishment, witnessing the entire power of the city's pioneers being channeled into the desolate flame spirit blossom. With a determined expression, Su Qingying also contributed a portion of her energy to the massive attack. Charged with the power of humanity, the desolate flame spirit blossom shot straight toward the cocoon like an arrow of light. Inside, The Anomaly King roared in fury at the impending attack. Fang Yi moved at maximum speed, leaving a brilliant golden streak across the sky. A voice over the communication channel warned him that hundreds of thousands of A and B rank bat anomalies were rushing toward him. Mid-air, Fang Yi radiated a brilliant aura, facing a sea of bat anomalies along with tens of thousands of S-rank entities. He looked coldly toward the cocoon, declaring that he would wipe out all the minions. Fang Yi provoked the Anomaly King, exposing that it was rushing its evolution out of fear of being destroyed. Agitated, a gigantic clawed hand tore through the cocoon's shell from the inside. Fang Yi concentrated the yang fire in his hand, ready for battle as he sensed the enemy's imminent appearance. The cocoon shattered, revealing a monstrous emerald green eye roaring fiercely. The Anomaly King officially descended, manifesting as a gigantic dragon-like creature swirling in a vortex of dark energy. Its appearance caused a terrifying earthquake, cracking the ground and forcing the pioneers to struggle to maintain their balance. From afar, Garan and her blonde teammate looked up anxiously. She silently called Fang Yi's name. From afar, Su Qingying secretly wished for Fang Yi to succeed. With a resolute expression, Feng Heizhu also shouted, wishing for her cousin to win. Fang Yi faced the enemy and declared that it was the king of dark anomalies, the true culprit behind this catastrophe. Standing amidst the blazing desolate flame spirit blossom, he asserted that he was born and raised here, and he loved this life. In response, the Anomaly King let out a furious roar. Fang Yi's eyes flashed red, filled with determination. He poured all his strength into the attack and yelled, demanding that it die. The massive energy sphere collided head-on with the Anomaly King. However, it remained completely unharmed and mocked Fang Yi's one-star spirit-forging realm cultivation level. It roared in outrage at being challenged by a weakling, making Fang Yi realize the gravity of the situation. Immediately afterward, the Anomaly King counterattacked. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed Fang Yi whole. Inside the monster's body, Fang Yi realized that the Anomaly King was truly different, capable of withstanding his full-power attack without dying. He was astonished that despite being scorched by the Yang attribute, it could still swallow him, and he noticed the digestive fluid was extremely corrosive. Fang Yi mused that an ordinary pioneer would have long since dissolved, and he found it strange that an anomaly evolved to this extent possessed high intelligence. He wondered if it feared an attack from the inside, as that was its most vulnerable spot. Deciding to test it, Fang Yi unleashed a blazing punch onto the fleshy floor beneath him. The Yang fire flared up, causing the Anomaly King's internal organs to convulse violently. Fang Yi noticed that although his power was significantly weakened by the mucus, he could still inflict damage upon it. As long as the attack remained effective, he believed everything could be resolved, and summoned the desolate flame spirit blossom. Inside the Anomaly King, Fang Yi analyzed that luckily it had absorbed enough dark energy from other anomalies and the spiritual power of the pioneers. He summoned the desolation spirit blossom, which had now absorbed the dark attribute, and challenged the Anomaly King. Fang Yi realized something surprising. The spirit blossom's desolation attribute was repelling the dark attribute that the Anomaly King had swallowed. Outside, the Anomaly King writhed violently, astonishing Garan and the others who were watching. Feng Heizhu anxiously asked Yi about the situation, unsure of her cousin's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Su Qingying and another person in a black cloak were organizing the civilian evacuation, promising to ensure everyone's safety. Su Qingying was stunned to realize that Fang Yi was fighting from inside the Anomaly King's body. A military convoy moved through the streets as the hurried evacuation order was given, taking advantage of the moment when the Anomaly King and the Bat Swarm could not attack the city. A high-ranking official ordered his subordinates to minimize potential damage. Garan looked up at the chaotic Anomaly King in the sky and urged everyone to act quickly, as they could not afford to take risks. The Anomaly King roared and writhed in extreme agony. The pain continued to torment it as the internal attack grew fiercer. Inside, Fang Yi's eyes shone with iron determination. He began absorbing the massive energy accumulated inside the Anomaly King, his body erupting in brilliant yellow yang fire. He completely devoured the energy source, his entire body radiating dazzling light. His yang fire began purifying and dissolving the Anomaly King's dark essence. His gaze flashed with confidence as the purification process was completed. However, upon exiting, a strange sound rang out, putting him on alert. He was astonished to realize he was standing in the middle of a ruined, desolate city. Behind a building, a gigantic humanoid shadow entity with glowing red eyes appeared, reminding him of the apocalypse. The shadow entity lunged at Fang Yi with terrifying speed. Fang Yi immediately became vigilant and spun around to dodge. He quickly checked and realized his spiritual power was still intact. The monster's gigantic claw struck down where he had been standing. It smashed the ground, revealing the form of a ferocious werewolf-like monster. But Fang Yi had managed to evade it in time. He landed on a rock, thinking to himself that his body was still in peak condition after his cultivation. Fang Yi immediately recognized this as the Anomaly King's illusion ability, a futile attempt to make him think he had returned to his previous life. The illusionary monster continued its attack, raising its foot to crush him. Although repelled by the force of the attack, Fang Yi stood firm. He was confident that the Anomaly King was not strong enough to strip him of his power. Its true strength could not surpass his own. Fang Yi determined that his abilities had not vanished, and the immediate task was to find a way to break this illusionary barrier. He believed that within this illusory realm, there must be a breakthrough point, a weakness that the Anomaly King had inadvertently exposed. The illusionary monster roared, mocking that once he was here, there was no escape, and told him to look closely at the scene. Hearing this, Fang Yi smirked slightly. He understood everything now. While the monster declared this was his final destination, an overlapping image showed that Fang Yi had grasped the situation. It opened its mouth wide, intending to swallow him in a final attack. An illusion appeared, showing pioneers, including Su Qingying, having fallen, and humanity merely serving as nutrients for their evolution. Fang Yi bowed his head in silence, seemingly collapsing under the desperate sight. But then he looked up with a mocking smile, asking sarcastically, "Oh, is that so?" He asserted that this was all the opponent had, then released his full power, his body erupting in brilliant young fire light. Fang Yi's hand glowed brightly, and he stated that his opponent still didn't understand the situation. He affirmed that he was reborn to protect his home and those around him. His yang fire energy converged, preparing for an explosion of power. With fiery hair and eyes, Fang Yi summoned the system to begin the breakthrough process. A notification appeared, confirming he was eligible to advance to the 2-star spirit creation realm. The illusionary scene vanished, giving way to a tranquil space under the moonlight. Fang Yi, with his fire sword in hand, declared he would confront the Anomaly King. The monster's illusion appeared, saying it should thank Fang Yi for helping it realize something. Fang Yi replied that his rebirth was the turning point to change this world. He proclaimed himself the chosen avenger, his eyes filled with resolve. The Anomaly King laughed loudly, creating a vortex and mocking Fang Yi's insignificant power realm. Fang Yi calmly stood firm against the provocation and the incoming attack. Immediately afterward, he was struck and sent flying by an immense force. The Anomaly King's gigantic shadow entity appeared, demanding that he become its nutrient. But then, the monster suddenly trembled in confusion. Fang Yi smirked as the Anomaly King frantically screamed, because its body was experiencing internal problems. A massive yang fire sphere exploded from within the shadow body, causing the monster to curse furiously. Fang Yi raised his hand, preparing to unleash the finishing move called Burial Sealing. He unleashed the 9 Dragons' Heavenly Fire skill, a power that the Anomaly King realized in horror could not belong to the 2-star realm. A blinding explosion of light engulfed the sky, while below, Chu Qingli and the other pioneers watched in awe as the scene purified all anomalies. The Anomaly King roared as its body was completely purified. The dark energy dissipated, returning a clear blue sky to the city. A massive vortex of dark energy formed, sucking away all remnants. Mid-air, Fang Yi stood firm, enveloped by golden flames and the dark vortex. His crimson eyes gleamed with coldness as the yang fire blazed around him. With the blazing sword in hand, Fang Yi displayed absolute control over the battlefield as he unleashed the boundless dark domain. On the ground, the surviving soldiers looked up, unable to believe the battle was over. The crowd erupted in cheers, celebrating that the city was saved, and they had survived. A subordinate asked Jilan why she wasn't celebrating as dawn was breaking. Jilan smiled with relief, replying that they still had much to do. She declared that their mission now was to help the people return to normal life and rebuild the city. Meanwhile, in the control room, the staff embraced each other, overjoyed at having helped prevent the disaster. The commanding officer looked at Fang Yi's silhouette on the screen, silently grateful that without him, they would have borne all the blame. Elsewhere, Su Qingying anxiously watched medical personnel load survivors onto ambulances. A high-ranking association leader reassured her that the medical center was still safe. Su Qingying admitted that without Fang Yi, none of them would have survived, and wondered about his inexplicable power. The leader agreed, analyzing that Fang Yi had broken through to the 2-star spirit creation realm and would soon be sought after by other factions. Su Qingying looked towards Fang Yi in the distance, admitting that he had far surpassed her and was one of the nation's top geniuses. The leader recalled the scene of the fire dragon eradicating the anomaly and affirmed that they must act before the news spread. Su Qingying was surprised by his words, while the leader pondered their next plan. Standing amidst the dragon-shaped fire energy, Fang Yi secretly thought the name Burial Sealer sounded pretty good. Meanwhile, Yi Yi and Feng Heiju were rushing through the city's ruined streets. Feng Heiju anxiously asked Yi Yi about her cousin's whereabouts, but Yi Yi advised her not to panic and to go home and wait. Suddenly, Feng Heiju's gaze stopped as she spotted a familiar figure. Moved to tears, she joyfully called out her cousin's name. Amidst the desolate scene, Fang Yi heard the call and turned around. When the group met, he asked why they had come out to find him, while Feng Heju hastily inquired about his health. Feng Heju explained that she was sure he would need them right now. Fang Yi reassured them that he was fine and praised them, then let Feng Heju help him walk, while Yi Yi secretly thought about the terrifying power of the Anomaly King. He told himself that the final attack had nearly exhausted his spiritual energy right after breaking through to the 2-star spirit creation realm, and now he had made the two of them worry again. Suddenly, Feng Heju received a notification on her device. Both she and Yi Yi were utterly astonished to learn that Fang Yi had broken through again, unable to believe his extraordinary rate of progress. At the same time, news of a mysterious super pioneer, nicknamed Burial Sealer, who had single-handedly saved the entire city, was spreading everywhere, sparking countless speculations. In an office, Jianglu was stunned to recognize the person in the news, while his teammates were skeptical about someone single-handedly defeating the Anomaly King. Jianglu laughed loudly, declaring that losing to such an expert was an honor for his entire life. Immediately, he sprang from his seat and passionately declared that he would go find that person to become his disciple. However, his red-haired teammate calmly dissuaded him, suggesting it was best not to go because many people were now searching for that hero. In the distant Daxia capital, this event had attracted the attention of the highest-level powers. In a dark room, a mysterious council of shadowy figures was meeting to discuss the incident. A member propped his feet on the table, puffing on a cigarette and expressing disappointment, saying he had hoped to see the military and the association tear each other apart. A male member of the mysterious council suggested using guns to deal with the newly emerged hero. However, a female member dismissed it, stating that a mere gun was unworthy of a heaven-blessed savior. The woman looked at Fang Yi's photo, calling him the Burial Sealer. Immediately after, the woman's sharp fingernails sliced the photo in half. The photo burst into purple flames as the woman declared that anyone who stood in their way would be annihilated. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Fang Yi and Feng Heju heard someone knocking, asking for Fang Yi. Two unexpected guests appeared, a high-ranking association leader and Su Qingying. The leader, on behalf of the Spirit Association, expressed sincere gratitude for Fang Yi preventing an S-class disaster, while Su Qingying secretly called him a big shot. Fang Yi smiled and invited them inside to talk. Once inside, Su Qingying was secretly surprised by the hero's simple home and wondered why the military allowed him to live like this. She thought the Spirit Association should request better housing for him. The leader explained the main purpose of their visit. They wanted Fang Yi's consent to promote the title of Entomber. He presented that powerful pioneers were emerging in every city, and their reputations had spread widely within the community. After the S-class anomaly disaster, they wanted to promote the title of Entomber to solidify Tai City as an important strategic city. The leader affirmed that the city needed a strong and renowned leading pioneer to be its captain. Su Qingying continued with a worried expression, warning that celestial phenomena and anomalous invasions would increase, and they could not let the city fall into a nearly abandoned state. Fang Yi was surprised by the word abandoned, but Su Qingying explained that without him, everyone would have died, so the outcome wouldn't have been much different. Fang Yi admitted he understood, and realized that his understanding of this world's cruelty was still lacking, while also reassuring them not to be too pessimistic. He told himself that he had been too focused on cultivation, and neglected the city's developmental structure. Fang Yi mused that Tai City, where he lived, had never been among the top 3 in terms of strategy and development. He realized this crisis was an opportunity for Tai City to rise among other leading cities. The association leader explained that cities were currently competing with the strength of their pioneers to receive more resources, encouraging independent individuals to join organizations. He said that everyone needed a symbol of hope, and the association would protect Fang Yi's identity, turning him into a mysterious legend. Fang Yi smiled in agreement, thinking that a little mystery would be wiser than complete exposure. Feng Hehu also agreed, and Fang Yi officially accepted the cooperation for his own benefit and that of those around him. He extended his hand to shake hands with the association leader. Witnessed by Su Qingying, their handshake was firm, marking a sealed agreement. The association leader officially called Fang Yi the Entomber, looking forward to a good cooperation. Afterwards, with the full cooperation of the association and the military, Tai City began its reconstruction process at an astonishing speed. At the Spirit Association headquarters in Shen City, news of the Entomber resolving Tai City's S-tier anomaly had spread. The staff there were analyzing his profile, impressed by his possession of advanced Yang attribute, which opposed the darkness attribute. Another person astonishingly pointed out that the data showed he also possessed many other advanced attributes, including fire and lightning, which had caused a stir before. As one staff member was still in shock, his colleague was about to reveal something even more astonishing. A blue-haired woman, seemingly a superior, walked over and requested to see the Entomber's file. After reviewing it, the woman thought that Fang Yi's reputation would surely make many other pioneers unconvinced and eager to challenge him. Fang Yi's image appeared on the computer screen. The manager mused to herself that she, too, wanted to witness his power firsthand, and had a premonition that they would meet soon. Meanwhile, at a library in Kang City, the scene was peaceful and bustling. Chu Qingli was trying to focus on her laptop, but was bothered by two young men. One young man tried to strike up a conversation with Chu Qingli, but she coldly rejected him, deeming him noisy in the library. After being rejected, the young man sighed and left, while Chu Qingli secretly thought they were boring fools. She disdained those around her, believing they were completely unaware of the world's changes. Chu Qingli was proud of her new identity, recalling how she had awakened her spiritual power and became a one-star ghost-carving realm pioneer after the exam. She believed this power had helped her escape the disaster in Tai City, and wondered how ordinary people would cope. With a sinister smile, her thoughts turned to the despicable people she knew, wondering what they could possibly do. She recalled seeing Fang Yi with another girl, and simply considered them classmates. Chu Qingli scoffed at the memory of Fang Yi, believing such a useless person must have died long ago, then wondered why she had mistaken a genius for him. Looking at the image of the hero Entomber on the computer screen, she affirmed that this person was 10,000 times more excellent than Fang Yi. Chu Qingli smiled admiringly, believing that only such a powerful and handsome pioneer was worthy of her. Meanwhile, Fang Yi and his cousin Feng Heiju decided to take a day off to look for a new home. Feng Yi reassured Feng Heiju that balancing cultivation and rest was necessary, and they also needed to improve their living conditions. Feng Heiju happily recalled Captain Su's offer, who had promised to go house hunting with them. She was overwhelmed by the high-end residential area Su Qingying introduced, and delighted to know she would also have her own apartment. As they were strolling, strange green mists began to envelop them, while Feng Heiju was still discussing the value of a pioneer's home. Both smelled a pungent, sewer-like stench, a smell Fang Yi had never encountered in Tai City. With his keen senses, Fang Yi immediately dismissed the possibility of it being an accident, and asserted that someone was tracking them. Both Fang Yi and Feng Heiju immediately turned around, wary of the approaching threat. 3 murderous strangers emerged from the mist. The leader recognized Fang Yi as the Entomber, and boasted that they had fallen into his poison trap. The leader attacked while mocking Fang Yi as a mere figurehead, a product of hype foolishly promoted to captain by Tai City. The leader swung his weapon, shouting for Fang Yi to hand over all the benefits Tai City had bestowed upon him. At the same time, the skinny accomplice lunged to attack Feng Heiju, but she quickly created an energy shield to defend herself. His scythe was enveloped by a surge of darkness energy, striking straight down. Feng Heiju strained to withstand the powerful attack, her shield shaking violently. Feng Heiju shouted a warning that all enemies were in the spirit-forging realm, but Fang Yi had easily blocked the leader's weapon with just one hand. The leader stared in astonishment at Fang Yi's hand, now blazing with fire, gripping his weapon tightly. Enveloped in yang fire, Fang Yi contemptuously asked what trash dared to rob in broad daylight. Without another word, he unleashed a fiery punch straight into the leader's face. The leader was sent flying, screaming in disbelief at what had just happened. The accomplice with goggles wondered in shock, as he was certain Fang Yi had been hit by his spiritual power-infused penetrating poison, and should have been completely paralyzed. Yet, Fang Yi stood there, calm and unharmed. His poison was a versatile penetrating agent, concocted from a wood attribute pioneer, capable of piercing through an opponent's spiritual energy shield. The leader struggled to his feet, roaring with his accomplices that they had merely been caught off guard, and with both of them in the spirit-forging realm, Fang Yi would not be able to escape. Fang Yi smirked, realizing they possessed mutated earth and wood attributes, then mused that these dirty tricks perfectly suited their style. He was confident that ordinary spiritual energy shields could be pierced, but for him, that poison was utterly useless. Meanwhile, the skinny man once again leaped into the air, striking down at Feng Heiju. Feng Heiju dodged and countered with a powerful kick to his side, sending him flying and spitting blood. Fang Yi watched his cousin, thinking to himself that he truly didn't want to cause a big scene, but having his daily life disturbed like this was truly annoying. He subtly lowered his sunglasses, revealing his sharp red eyes. His entire body erupting in fierce flames, Fang Yi told Feng Heiju to step back and advanced alone towards the 2 remaining enemies. Fang Yi unleashed a massive yang fire orb, the shockwave knocking everyone nearby away. The energy blast spread out, engulfing the area in brilliant light and screams. Scorched by the flames, the 2 attackers screamed in agony, one of them realizing in horror that this was the power of the Entomber. Just then, Su Qingying suddenly appeared, and asked Fang Yi to leave one person alive. She explained that these individuals were priority targets being tracked by the Spirit Association. Su Qingying stated that the association had begun registering all pioneers for better management, especially the unruly elements. Fang Yi coldly warned the defeated attackers that they were lucky to be alive, and should never bother him again. As medical personnel arrived to take the injured away, Su Qingying remarked that the Entomber spared their lives only out of respect for the association. She thought to herself that they were truly foolish to dare provoke someone officially sponsored by the Spirit Association. Responding to Feng Heju's question, Su Qingying revealed that these individuals would face life imprisonment and have their remaining value exploited. Hearing this, Feng Yi smirked, secretly praising the association's method of utilizing everything. Su Qingying mused that Feng Yi was the future of the nation, and she couldn't understand why there were still idiots causing trouble despite the association's extensive promotion of him. She resolved that the association must dedicate resources to win over powerful pioneers like Feng Yi and could not let fools ruin this good relationship. Afterwards, Su Qingying cheerfully announced that she would take Feng Yi and Feng Heju to choose a new villa and a new car. She secretly decided that she must use the attackers as an example to deter others. Su Qingying presented two options: a penthouse in the city center, and a private 3-story villa perfect for cultivation. She showed the illuminated model of the 16.8 million villa, and confirmed that both properties were fully furnished. Without hesitation, Feng Yi declared that he would take both. To Feng Heju's surprise, Su Qingying quickly agreed, promising to secure special permits from her superiors. Finally, Su Qingying led them both to a luxury car dealership, saying that the association had partnered with them and they could choose any car. At the luxury car dealership, the appearance of Feng Yi and Feng Heju immediately drew the attention of those around them. Two male employees observed from afar, commenting on Feng Yi's extraordinary aura despite his simple attire, guessing he was some powerful young master. When they suggested Feng Yi was there to buy a car for his girlfriend, a female colleague standing nearby overheard and looked annoyed. This girl suddenly realized that Feng Yi was Chu Qingli's ex-boyfriend, who had ties to the military and was welcomed by the principal. She couldn't believe she had run into her roommate's ex-boyfriend just as he was out shopping. She recalled the words she had used to belittle Feng Yi, claiming he wasn't worthy of Chu Qingli, who was now the campus belle. Feeling offended on behalf of her friend, she quickly snapped a picture of Feng Yi next to Feng Heju and the supercar, assuming he was buying it for another girl. In a lecture hall, Chu Qingli received a message from her friend reporting that Feng Yi was at a VIP dealership buying a car for a beautiful girl, but she replied dismissively. She coldly texted back a rhetorical question, "So what?" Chu Qingli secretly scoffed, believing Feng Yi had only survived the disaster by luck, and was now acting as a kept man for some wealthy person. With a smug smile, she believed the gap between them was something he could never bridge. She walked away confidently, thinking that once she stood at the peak of the pioneers, these trivial matters would cease to mean anything. Meanwhile, Feng Yi and Feng Heju arrived at one of their rewards, a new villa, causing Feng Heju to scream with delight as she ran up the stairs. Inside the luxurious interior, Feng Heju was stunned into silence, and Feng Yi casually mentioned that they still had a penthouse in the city center for a change of scenery. Feng Heju excitedly ran upstairs to explore, and Feng Yi smiled, seeing her finally act like a child instead of a miniature adult. He mused, recalling that he had never met his cousin in his previous life, and speculated that she must have been a reliable pioneer then too. Feng Yi secretly vowed not to let her be crushed by responsibility and die again in this life. Just as his phone rang with a call from Garan, he answered, and Garan immediately congratulated Captain Fang on his promotion, saying she had heard about the two properties the Spirit Association had given him. Leaning back on the sofa, Feng Yi casually replied that it was a good habit the association should continue to cultivate. Garan said she understood that a powerful pioneer like him would disdain material wealth, but admitted it was the best reward for improving living conditions, then promised to send him some spirit fruits that were about to be harvested for him to try. Over the phone, Garan reflected on the power gap between pioneers, acknowledging that someone like Feng Yi was on a completely different level. She revealed that she had an internal mission and wanted to know if he was interested in participating. Feng Yi guessed her true intentions and asked her to get straight to the point, so Garan asked if he knew about the Tianbao Tower in Kang City. He immediately recognized it as the city's largest shopping center. Garan explained that the building had been sealed after an anomaly invasion killed many people, turning it into a ghost building. Once the bustling symbol of Kang City, the Tianbao building was now desolate. Covered in dark energy, the local spirit association was forced to completely seal off the area. Afterwards, Feng Yi flew to Kang City, introducing himself as being from the Star God War Zone to carry out the mission. He met the 4 people sent to cooperate, secretly recalling Jilan's instruction to conceal his true strength. The group of 4 couldn't sense Feng Yi's level, only knowing that everyone was hiding their power. The purple-haired woman from the military zone greeted him politely, while her teammate judged that the other 2 also belonged to the military zone based on their attire. Feng Yi, however, recognized that the other 2 had an aura similar to Su Qingying, guessing they belonged to the Spirit Association. The brown-haired man confirmed they were from the Kang City Spirit Association, sent by Officer Jilan to cooperate with him. The group boarded an armored vehicle, speeding through the rain toward the mission location. The association man, who was driving, announced that they would be temporary teammates for this operation. In the back seat, Fang Yi and the two people from the military zone sat in silence, the atmosphere somewhat tense. The association woman turned around and suggested that they should at least agree to support each other once inside. Fang Yi secretly assessed the situation, finding the personnel combination too complicated and the abilities of the local association members seemingly uneven. The silver-haired man from the military zone glanced at Fang Yi, looking worried. He whispered to his teammate, doubting whether Fang Yi was the master Jilan had mentioned, and the girl replied that he just looked like a student. The silver-haired soldier continued to ponder, realizing that Fang Yi had no official armband and his aura was suppressed, making his strength undetectable. Meanwhile, his female comrade wondered in surprise if Fang Yi was the burial sealer who saved Tai City, but then doubted it because he was too young. Elsewhere, Garan recalled Fang Yi's achievements and admitted that such a person truly intrigued her. At the Star God Warzone's district office, an emergency call suddenly rang on Garen's desk. Garan picked up the phone, and the other end reported in a panic that the Tianbao building had completely fallen, with 53 dead and anomaly concentration reaching 12000. She narrowed her eyes, realizing the situation was once again escalating seriously. Garan confidently assured that the people she sent this time would not fail, making the caller curiously ask who they were. She coldly replied that once a mission was assigned, the other party didn't need to ask further. That was the rule of the Star God Warzone. At the same time, a giant red and purple anomalous energy vortex was engulfing the Tianbao building. Back at the scene, Fang Yi's team had arrived. Standing before the cursed building, Fang Yi silently observed, secretly assessing that the situation was very serious, and the entities inside were not weak. The whole team looked up at the skyscraper, speckled with large bloodstains, with one person pointing out that those were indeed bloodstains. A female association member explained that this 40-story building was the tallest in Kang City, and over 2,000 people had been evacuated. However, she added that many people had not cooperated, and the rescue team sent afterward never returned. The silver-haired man asked if anyone inside could be contacted, but an association member replied that it was impossible and the casualty count was only an estimate. He recounted that on the day of the lockdown, he had seen fragments of bodies gnawed by anomalies falling from a window. Since then, the anomalous aura inside had grown stronger, turning the place into a hell in less than a week. Fang Yi sharply criticized the Kang City Spirit Association for being too negligent in reporting casualties based only on what fell out, leaving the association members stammering that they had no other choice. He secretly thought that the actual death toll was certainly much higher, as ordinary people trapped inside were no different from helpless lambs before beasts. With a determined gaze, Fang Yi declared that there could be no further delay, and the entire team would enter immediately, as anomalies would evolve by devouring humans. The silver-haired soldier held Fang Yi's shoulder, demanding that he tell them his strategy. Fang Yi coldly replied that there was no strategy, as they were blind to information, and had to go inside to assess the situation first. The soldier remained unconvinced, continuing to criticize Fang Yi for not being officially registered and claiming he lacked practical combat experience. The purple-haired female soldier immediately interrupted her comrade, emphasizing that time was running out and Fang Yi had taken on this mission because Officer Jilan personally recommended him. Fang Yi secretly thought that internal conflict was the most taboo thing before a mission. He decisively turned and entered the tower, declaring that anyone who didn't want to go in could stay outside. The heavy door of Tianbao Tower opened, revealing a deadly scene with countless bodies and bloodstains. As soon as she stepped inside, the silver-haired female association member felt uneasy at the chilling silence. Immediately, a giant shadow lunged down from the ceiling, ambushing the group. The silver-haired soldier looked up in astonishment. A monster with emerald eyes and jagged teeth appeared right in front of him, making him scream in fear. Fang Yi's eyes flashed with a fiery red light, ready to act. He charged like a whirlwind of fire, easily tearing through a swarm of shadow monsters. Amidst the battle, Fang Yi maintained a calm and utterly confident expression. Another monster was torn to shreds by a blue energy net. Fang Yi finished his attack, his flaming sword now enveloped by dazzling lightning bolts. The silver-haired soldier and the silver-haired female association member stood frozen, unable to believe the battle had ended in the blink of an eye. The purple-haired female soldier was also stunned, wondering how Fang Yi could suddenly conjure such a sword. After clearing out the monsters, Fang Yi knelt down and picked up a strange leaf that had fallen from one of the creatures. Standing up, he identified it as a hybrid mutation between a bird and a gecko, concluding that it must have devoured many people. The purple-haired female officer was stunned as she recognized the creature that had just been eliminated. In her mind, a terrifying A+ grade anomaly appeared. The whole group watched in stunned silence as the monster's corpse completely disintegrated before their eyes. The silver-haired officer realized in horror that an A+ grade anomaly was equivalent to Spirit Creation 2-star, while he had only reached 1 star, meaning Fang Yi could defeat him with a single blow. He skeptically asked if that flaming sword was the Tianhuo Dao and if Fang Yi was the legendary burial sealer. The association member also expressed surprise, as in their impression, the sealer was a reclusive master who never parted with his sword. Fang Yi explained that after his breakthrough, he had fused his spiritual power with the Tang Dao to transform it into a spiritual weapon that could be summoned at will. He immediately urged the group to move faster, and they obediently followed, secretly glad that he was on their side. A flame erupted in Fang Yi's hand, illuminating the path ahead. He led the team deeper into the dark corridor, one hand holding fire, the other holding his sword. They stopped before a blood-soaked staircase, and Fang Yi secretly calculated that casualties might have exceeded 500 people. His face turned cold, his fiery red eyes reflecting seriousness. Upon reaching another area, the purple-haired female officer pointed out something strange. Blood was everywhere, but there were no bodies. Suddenly, another shadow monster lunged out from the darkness right behind them. The female officer frantically screamed to warn Fang Yi of the danger behind him. Without hesitation, Fang Yi spun around and unleashed a destructive attack. The monster was instantly torn apart by flames and shadow spikes. Standing over the anomaly's corpse, Fang Yi left the entire team stunned by his power. He turned back to them with a sharp gaze and asked if anyone noticed anything unusual. Fang Yi explained that although the two anomalies just now were elite grade, they were still not strong enough. He deduced that with such a small number, the rescue teams couldn't have been completely wiped out. Then, he presented a shocking conclusion to the group. This place was probably not the real Tianbao building. The silver-haired soldier confusedly asked what Fang Yi meant. Fang Yi pointed out that there was a lot of blood along the way, but the foul and heavy stench only came from the dark attribute and anomalies, with absolutely no smell of corpses. He judged that the group was like headless flies, and he needed to test something to confirm his hypothesis. As the entire team stared at him in astonishment, Fang Yi hesitated whether to reveal his boundless dark domain in front of them. The purple-haired female soldier agreed, saying that this lifelessness wasn't due to mass death, but an emptiness, as if no living creatures had ever been here. She concluded that this place was like a simple, hollow model. Fang Yi confirmed that her hypothesis was correct. He explained that this place had been turned into a hollow shell by an anomaly, and their true location must be somewhere else. To prove it, Fang Yi summoned his boundless dark domain, causing a team member to exclaim in surprise about the dark attribute. A notification appeared, stating that a corresponding dark attribute object, the inner dark domain, had been detected, and Fang Yi agreed to activate the information. The information revealed, the inner dark domain is a space created by the dark attribute, a nest capable of absorbing the original space. To truly enter the inner dark domain, one must find its gate. Fang Yi understood the problem. He realized that to enter the real Tianbao building, or for those inside to escape, everyone needed to find that gate. He explained that those who went ahead were affected by the darkness, their minds and emotions distorted by illusions, causing them to mistake windows for exits. This explained why everyone who escaped through the windows died. The purple-haired female soldier was stunned, realizing they had been killed inside the inner dark domain long ago, and asserted that they must now find the gate Fang Yi mentioned. A warning sounded. The inner dark domain had been attracted by a corresponding object and began to manifest. Fang Yi immediately sensed its approaching presence. Immediately after, a giant dark energy vortex suddenly appeared and engulfed Fang Yi. Meanwhile, the others were also attacked by the dark attribute, feeling as if something was trying to escape their minds. Fang Yi's eyes glowed brightly as he confronted this power. He and the entire group were pulled deep into the center of the energy vortex. After the shock, the brown-haired association member wondered if that was a direct dark attribute attack. He was astonished to realize that the burial sealer was completely unaffected, and his female teammate confirmed that Fang Yi had saved them. The silver-haired soldier also agreed, admitting that without Fang Yi, they would have been overwhelmed by the influence of darkness long ago. Fang Yi concentrated pure yang fire energy into his hand, declaring that he had found the target. He shouted, "Break!" and unleashed the flames downwards, incinerating the dark threads. The powerful yang flame in his hand pierced through an invisible barrier. He lunged forward, transforming his entire arm into a blade of fire and aiming at a weak point in space. His attack shattered the surrounding space like glass, revealing a different scene. The silver-haired soldier and the purple-haired female soldier were stunned by the sight of the false world crumbling. Fang Yi calmly observed the results of his actions. The illusion completely vanished, revealing a colossal, terrifying gate with ghosts hovering above it. In his hand, the pure yang fire condensed into a blazing sword. He ordered everyone to move and stick close, then led the group into the gate. Stepping through the gate, the group entered a dark space, filled with the stench of blood. The silver-haired female association member exclaimed in horror that she smelled a foul stench. Fang Yi calmly took his first step into the land of death. The group silently followed behind Fang Yi, wary of their surroundings. The scene revealed a desolate place full of corpses, and the woman confirmed it was the smell of dead anomalies. Suddenly, a winged dark creature lunged out of the shadows, blocking the group's path. Immediately, a swarm of giant anomalies appeared from above, vying for the newly arrived prey. A larger monster roared, diving down to attack. The brown-haired association member horrifyingly realized this was another A+ grade dark anomaly. Without hesitation, Fang Yi summoned a blazing pure yang fire sword in his hand. He unleashed a powerful stream of fire directly at the charging monster. The pure yang flame immediately enveloped and incinerated the dark creature. The monster shrieked in pain as it was consumed by Fang Yi's flames. Fang Yi charged forward, swinging his flame sword amidst the swarm of anomalies. He delivered a blazing punch, eliminating another enemy. With astonishing speed, Fang Yi danced with his sword, creating streaks of fire that cut through the horde of monsters. He spun around, unleashing a vortex of fire that swept away everything in its vicinity. Finally, Fang Yi unleashed his full internal flames, creating a colossal sea of fire that incinerated everything. The purple-haired female soldier was stunned. Realizing the flames were so powerful, they instantly melted the anomalies, and they didn't need to lift a finger. The silver-haired soldier noticed that Fang Yi's flames also contained another type of fire, like erupting lava. Fang Yi retracted his blade, and the flames in his hand gradually extinguished. He looked at the charred corpses, grieving for the innocent people who had been murdered by the anomalies and now shared a burial place with them. The brown-haired association member exclaimed in awe, acknowledging that this cremation with a single slash was entirely worthy of the burial sealer's reputation. Fang Yi turned back, assigning them the task of searching for and rescuing survivors, while he would deal with the remaining anomalies. The silver-haired soldier confirmed the first floor was cleared, and he would proceed upwards. Meanwhile, Fang Yi flew through the floors of the Tianbao building, which had been completely overrun by darkness and anomalies. He realized that after slaughtering and devouring each other, the anomalies had strengthened to at least the spirit creation realm, but their core power hadn't changed much. Continuing forward, Fang Yi stepped on the dilapidated escalator on the 15th floor, his fireblade igniting once more. On another floor, a trapped pioneer was dying, feeling his soul shield being pierced by the cold, dark attribute. His teammate, a cyan-haired pioneer, was horrified by the surrounding scene. The cyan-haired pioneer discovered something crawling on the corpses, quickly warning that it was corrosive and should not be inhaled. A drop of pitch-black liquid fell from above onto the floor. Hanging from the ceiling was a dark, centipede-like creature, causing Fang Yi and the remaining pioneer to look up. The monster revealed its true form as a massive, grotesque anomaly with countless glowing red eyes. Fang Yi smirked, finally finding an interesting opponent. The monster roared, unleashing a rain of dark spikes. Fang Yi calmly stood his ground against the incoming attack. He swung his blazing fireblade, ready to retaliate. Fang Yi unleashed a vortex of yang fire, blocking the countless dark spikes heading towards him. Meanwhile, the anomalous monster coiled itself within a vortex of darkness, seemingly attempting to evolve. It quickly revealed its true form as a colossal creature, facing Fang Yi and the burning heavenly fireblade head-on. Recognizing the opponent's attempt to stall, Fang Yi, with his blazing red eyes, concentrated yang fire energy in his palm. He declared he wouldn't give it a chance and charged forward, unleashing a massive fiery slash. The monster could only widen its red eyes in horror at the destructive attack. The flames completely engulfed the anomalous creature, leaving only its final roar echoing. Fang Yi coldly remarked that he had overestimated it, as it couldn't even slow him down. Suddenly, a strange noise startled the silver-haired soldier and the assisting association member, causing them to turn around. Both cautiously looked into the darkness, wondering if it was a survivor. From a slightly open door, a young man hesitantly poked his head out and asked if they were pioneers. He stated that there were still 5 of them hiding there, all shivering in fear. The rescue team saw the survivors, frozen in terror inside a hidden room. Fang Yi smiled reassuringly, saying they were here to rescue them, and everything was fine. An association member stepped forward, introducing themselves as being from the Kang City Soul Association, announcing that the monster had been eliminated. The surviving young man stammered, asking in an instant, disbelieving what he had just heard. He shouted in amazement, asking how they could have eliminated all those terrifying monsters with just one blow. Meanwhile, outside the building, the surveillance team joyfully reported seeing the burial sealer's fire on every floor. Another employee nervously reported that the latest data showed he had reached the 40th floor, an unbelievable speed. The surveillance team announced the burial sealer had reached the top of the building in less than 10 minutes. But they also detected an S-class anomaly surging there. Fang Yi faced the enemy, beginning to recognize its identity. He wondered if the colossal creature in the shape of a bone bird before him was the Anomaly King. He realized that the parasitic insects on the bone bird were actually part of its true body. He told himself not to let his guard down regarding the enemy's true nature. Immediately, Fang Yi charged forward and unleashed a yang fire energy attack. However, he was surprised by the result of his attack. His attack was blocked by the Anomaly King's energy defense. From a distance, a group of observers watched in astonishment, as even the Anomaly King couldn't deal with Fang Yi. The man in the group wanted to act, but his teammate suggested intervention was futile against the Anomaly King's power. Meanwhile, Fang Yi smiled, declaring the probing was over and unleashing his lightning energy. He summoned a colossal bolt of divine thunder that struck the monster directly. The Anomaly King roared in pain as it was engulfed by the lightning. Fang Yi coldly ordered it to stop screaming, as it was too annoying. He mocked that if it could be defeated so easily, it didn't deserve the title of Anomaly King. Fang Yi commented that its power wasn't even comparable to the bat disaster he had faced before. He decided to let the monster experience the pain of helplessly awaiting death. Witnessing the scene, the man in the observation group was horrified, realizing it was a one-sided slaughter, and wishing Fang Yi was one of them. The woman with purple hair also marveled, commenting that every one of his attacks was perfectly calculated and absolutely symmetrical. The association member was horrified to realize Fang Yi was even stronger than the Anomaly King, as he didn't even need to target its weak points. Despite roaring and attempting to regenerate with green energy, the Bone Bird Anomaly King couldn't escape destruction. Fang Yi coldly watched the monster's futile efforts, wondering if it thought he was playing around. Immediately after, he unleashed a blue lightning bolt with earth-shattering power. The Anomaly King was completely submerged by the lightning storm, only managing a final desperate cry. The destructive lightning bolt struck the top of the skyscraper, the epicenter of the battle. The energy explosion spread, wiping out all traces of the anomalous entity. As the storm cleared, the dark clouds were swept away, making way for the brilliant dawn. Witnessing the scene, the association members could only marvel at the insurmountable gap in power between them and a true prodigy. One of them recalled the S-class anomaly incident in Tai City, where an anomaly larva was sealed. That person concluded that Fang Yi's resolution of the recent battle was an unrepeatable miracle. Fang Yi turned back, announcing that the bone bird had been destroyed and they could contact the outside. The woman with purple hair, Song Yue, immediately called to report that the incident had been completely resolved. While Fang Yi quietly looked out at the dawn scene, Song Yue continued to report that the mission's success was thanks to the burial sealer. She also expressed hope that the Kang City Association would cooperate and sent thanks to Tai City and the burial sealer. However, Song Yue became annoyed upon learning that the new captain of Kang City was arriving, believing he only showed up after everything was done. She explained that they had tried to warn him not to cause trouble, but a spear had flown, proving that arrogant pioneers never listen. Song Yue angrily shouted into the phone, asserting that the Kang City captain was challenging the army's authority with unclear intentions. At the same time, a burly figure appeared, but an authoritative voice rang out, warning that anyone who dared provoke the burial sealer would face consequences. Amidst the devastated area, Fang Yi alone advanced towards the entrance of the sealed building. He suddenly sensed something, his gaze sharpening. Noticing someone approaching rapidly, Fang Yi thought to himself that they had arrived. A figure lunged forward like a storm, introducing himself as Yue Fengjiang, captain of Kang City, and asking if Fang Yi was the burial sealer from Tai City. Fang Yi calmly confirmed, while also analyzing that the opponent was a wind attribute pioneer, concealing some of his spiritual power at the spirit creation realm. Yue Fengjiang immediately launched a probing attack with wind energy. Fang Yi easily dodged and neutralized his opponent's attack. Yue Fengjiang swept past, not expecting his attack to be blocked. He thought to himself that the burial sealer was just a kid, and decided he would use Fang Yi to build his Yue family's reputation. Yue Fengjiang spoke, thanking Fang Yi for resolving the crisis, while sarcastically remarking that a captain from Tai City coming here had overstepped his bounds. Fang Yi coldly replied that when he arrived, Kang City had no captain, and he was merely following the army's orders. Yue Fengjiang feigned friendliness, stating that the Yue family greatly respected talent and had no ill intentions. Afterward, he revealed his true intentions, wanting to borrow Fang Yi's blade. Yue Fengjiang unleashed his dark spiritual power, threatening that if Fang Yi refused, he wouldn't be able to leave Kang City. Fang Yi maintained a calm expression in the face of the threat. He smirked, mocking the word borrow. Immediately, Fang Yi unleashed his young fire power, creating a blazing inferno. Yue Fengjiang was utterly astonished by this terrifying power. Enveloped in flames, Fang Yi responded ruthlessly that he would borrow Yue Fengjiang's entire clan. Fang Yi launched a fiery kick, shouting "Rise!" but Yue Fengjiang easily blocked the attack. Seeing this, Yue Fengjiang merely smirked, thinking things were getting interesting. Witnessing the clash, Song Yue hastily ordered her subordinates to inform the military region and evacuate the survivors. Fang Yi coldly warned them they had 10 minutes if they didn't want to lose a captain, causing the black-haired member to panic. Understanding the threat, Song Yue immediately covered her subordinate's mouth and signaled that she understood. While retreating, the group discussed how Yue Fengjiang, newly appointed, had caused trouble, and wondered if they could teach the burial sealer a lesson. With a flash of blue lightning in his eyes, Fang Yi declared that Yue Fengjiang's fate would be decided shortly. Yue Fengjiang arrogantly challenged, demanding Fang Yi use his full strength if he wanted to kill him. Fang Yi lunged forward with incredible speed, swinging his fiery blade at the stunned Yue Fengjiang. Fang Yi's eyes flashed with determination and killing intent. The attacks of both men collided, creating a terrifying explosion on the rooftop. Blown backward by the immense power, Yue Fengjiang wondered about the terrifying sensation he had just experienced. He was inwardly astonished by the pure yang energy and explosive power, admitting for the first time that his body felt fear. Amidst the sea of flames, Fang Yi's silhouette appeared with glowing red eyes. Fang Yi mocked that with all his strength, Yue Fengjiang probably wouldn't last 10 minutes. Yue Fengjiang bared his teeth in a sinister grin. He suddenly recognized Fang Yi's blade, confirming it was the new weapon secretly developed by the Spirit Association. Fang Yi simply looked at his opponent in silence. Yue Fengjiang couldn't believe that a weapon with such terrifying power, capable of splitting mountains and parting seas, could be given to a child. Yue Fengjiang resolved to seize Fang Yi's spirit weapon, believing his trip was not in vain. He unleashed his full power, challenging Fang Yi to fight with all his might, or he would kill him to take the blade. Meanwhile, at the Tai City Spirit Association, news of the Kang City captain's clash with their people caused a stir. The leader's subordinate wondered about Kang City's intentions, while he assessed that this matter was serious and could involve the Star God Warzone. A subordinate rushed in to report urgent news, prompting the leader to turn and question him. The leader questioned his subordinate about Kang City's response, believing there was still a chance if they acted quickly. The subordinate relayed Kang City's arrogant reply that their captain would not lose, enraging everyone in the room. The leader slammed the table in anger, calling the people in Kang City short-sighted fools for underestimating the danger of an S-class anomaly. The subordinate suggested they were merely overconfident, and revealed that Yue Fengjiang had just broken through to the 3-star spirit-forging realm, and had a powerful family backing him. The Tai Association leader scoffed at the opponent, having only just broken through the threshold of 3-star. He was certain that the burial sealer's true power far surpassed his current realm, and since the Kang City Association didn't understand the meaning of that title, their captain wouldn't just lose the match. He asserted that Yue Fengjiang might even have to pay with his life. Returning to the battle, Yue Fengjiang was suddenly sent flying, spitting blood for no apparent reason. Yue Fengjiang was astonished to find himself surrounded by countless fiery slashes from Fang Yi, which he couldn't possibly break through. He felt his spiritual energy vanish instantly upon impact, as if being devoured by an invisible force. Yue Fengjiang couldn't believe that a technique capable of completely nullifying an opponent's swordplay existed. While the opponent was still stunned, Fang Yi calmly announced that they had arrived. Yue Fengjiang looked up and was shocked to realize he was standing in front of the Spirit Association building. Unaware of how far the battle had taken them, Fang Yi declared that out of respect for Tai City and the military region, he would give Yue Fengjiang one last chance. Without giving his opponent a chance, Fang Yi unleashed a powerful kick. Amidst a whirlwind of fire, he declared that he would settle things when someone kept dodging. Yue Fengjiang was completely bewildered by the sudden turn of events. From the ground below, civilians looked up in astonishment at the brilliant energy explosion in the sky. They felt the temperature surge and realized in panic that someone was using magic. A white-haired man witnessed the scene, recalling seeing this flame on the news and believing that the spiritual energy recovery was real. Fang Yi coldly gave Yue Fengjiang 5 minutes, while sarcastically remarking that his opponent had asked him not to use his full strength. Yue Fengjiang could only grit his teeth and mutter in helplessness. Wielding his fiery blade, Fang Yi mocked that Yue Fengjiang was already this pathetic with only 30% of his power. Yue Fengjiang was stunned, unable to believe that someone at the 2-star spirit-forging realm could possess such terrifying power. His face showed extreme terror. Fang Yi's Skyfire saber descended, creating a massive vortex of energy. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Divine City Spirit Association, employees in the control room were working. Their systems detected a massive surge of energy in Kang City and continuously issued warnings. Officials at headquarters confirmed it wasn't dark energy and were confused as they had received no reports of anomalies. A subordinate urgently reported that Kang City's new captain was trying to kill Tai City's burial sealer to steal the Divine Saber. The high-ranking leader roared in anger, deeming Kang City suicidal and ordering them to stop immediately. He decided someone had to be dispatched immediately, as this was a serious incident. A woman named Gu Yuro, nicknamed the Ocean Mystic, appeared and volunteered for the mission.